This incredible manhwa begins with a small boy named Hill, a 7-year-old child with a beautiful face and wide blue eyes that reflect both innocence and intelligence at once. And Hill was standing in front of his small, modest house built of stone and wood, surrounded by a little garden adorned with wildflowers and medicinal herbs. His mother came to him carrying a basket full of fresh herbs. She was a woman in her 30s, possessing quiet beauty and warm tenderness that radiated from her green eyes. She approached him with a sweet smile and said in a gentle voice filled with love and care, "Hill, did you take care of the house as usual, my little one? I see that everything is in its place and the garden is carefully arranged." Hill looked at her with serious eyes and answered with a confident voice despite his young age, "Of course, mother. I did everything you asked me to do, but I ask you to call me by my correct name. I'm Hill, not Hilly, as you always repeat." The mother smiled tenderly and caressed his cheek with her soft fingertips and replied, "But I prefer to call you Hilly. It's more beautiful and tender on my tongue, my dear." Little Hill's face darkened and he said to her with childish firmness mixed with seriousness, "If you call me Hilly again, I won't talk to you anymore. I ask you to respect my wish in this matter." The mother was surprised by her son's sharp reaction and felt sadness creeping into her heart. As his words were harsh on her, she looked at him with sad eyes and said in a broken voice, "Why do you treat me with such harshness, my little one? I feel like you're starting to grow up and change, and I fear that a day will come soon when you'll abandon me completely because of this harshness of yours." Hill was shocked by his mother's words and realized he had overreacted. He saw tears glistening in her eyes and felt guilt filling his small heart. He rushed to her and wrapped his little arms around her waist, saying in a voice full of regret, "Sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to hurt you. You can call me Hilly as you want. I won't mind at all." The mother's face lit up with joy and she hugged him tightly and said in a voice full of love, "Of course you won't mind, because you're my son who loves me as I love him. I want you to always remember that I'm the person in this world who will love you and care for you the most, no matter what happens." Hill left his mother after that and departed the place while saying to himself, "I always lose my guard with my mother. I've managed to adapt to this world in a really strange way." He was walking in the garden while remembering the details of his new life, having lived in this world for 7 full years, but he had lived before in a completely different world. When he moved to this world, his memories transferred with him completely. Hill recalled his memories from his previous life and said to himself, "I was a very simple boy in my first world. I lost my parents when I was young and had to work from an early age to pay off the huge debts they left me." He clearly remembered how he struggled in his previous life, where he was just an ordinary student who couldn't find many jobs to earn the money he needed. Because of this difficult situation, he was forced to work multiple temporary jobs to collect the money needed to pay his debts. The biggest source of money in his previous life was being a professional gamer in secret, where he collected a lot of money from this field until he was able to pay off his parents' debts completely. But after he paid his debt, he discovered that he had lost all his passion for life at that time. Hill's name in his previous life was Jansu, and he was a diligent student at one of the academies. One day, a girl named Hana came to him and said admiringly, "Jansu, I see you studying as usual. This is what's expected from the best student in the academy." Then she looked at his hair and added, "Your hair looks really beautiful today. Do you want me to do like you and tie my hair the same way?" Jansu answered her calmly, "No, I don't think that's suitable for you." Hana was surprised by his answer and asked him worriedly, "Do you hate me, Jansu?" He answered quickly, "No, of course I don't hate you. I just have my own reasons for this opinion." At that moment, another girl named Hina arrived and approached Jansu, removed the hair tie from his head and asked him, "What's special about this tie? I think you look more handsome without it." But everyone was surprised by how he looked after she removed the tie, as he seemed to resemble the famous professional player John. Another girl arrived at that moment and said to them convincingly, "It's impossible for Jansu to be the real John. Jian is someone more refined and skilled than to be compared to ordinary Jansu." Then she gave him glasses similar to those worn by professional Jian. When Jansu put on the glasses, everyone present was shocked and said in unison, "It really is Jian." The whole school started gathering around Jansu and staring at him because of his newly discovered fame. Jansu felt uncomfortable with this sudden attention and tried to escape from them, saying, "I never wanted to be a professional gamer in the first place. The only reason that made me do this was the money and debts I had." Hana arrived at that moment and was feeling guilty, so she apologized to Jansu, saying, "Sorry, Jansu. I think your identity was discovered because of me." Jansu answered her kindly, "Don't worry about it. It doesn't bother me anymore." Hana thanked him for his understanding, then confessed her love for him at that moment in a shy voice. Jansu felt overwhelming happiness and decided to start a new life and to love someone for the first time in his life. But fate didn't give him time, as on their first date, he suffered a terrible accident when a speeding car hit him. In his last moments of death, Jansu wished he could move to another world where he could be rich, instead of this life full of suffering. And indeed, he moved to another world, but as an ordinary boy, and not as a rich person as he had wished. Hill says to himself that this new world is just like games, full of adventures and secrets. At that moment, Hill's mother appeared and called to him saying, "Hill, come into the house. It's lunchtime. The Hill says that this world is full of many amazing things, like drivers who use magical power and powerful wizards who control different elements. But the most beautiful thing in this world is his loving mother. He describes her as a very powerful witch who was able to learn three-circle magic at a young age, which is a rare and distinguished achievement. But she retired from magic after she got married, and after she lost her husband, Hill became the most important thing to her in the world. Hill says to himself that he never wants to disappoint her, and because of this feeling, he started training in magic at a young age. He's now a two-circle wizard despite his young age, although his power is currently limited because of the little mana he possesses. But within 3 years, he believes he'll be able to reach 3 magical circles. The next day, Hill was watching his mother as she received medicinal herbs from one of the farmers in the area. Hill was happy because this day of every month was the day his mother goes to the city to sell the tea herbs she received from the farmers. His mother approached him at that moment and said in a calm voice, "I'm going to the city and will be back later. Are you sleeping or awake?" But she was surprised that Hill was ready and prepared to go out. He said to her enthusiastically, "I want to go with you to the city, Mom." His mother was amazed by her son's exceptional beauty and said to him admiringly, "Your beauty isn't natural, Hill. You're the most beautiful child I've seen in my life." Then she added worriedly, "But I won't allow you to enter the forest. Magical beasts might appear on the way, and I don't want to risk your safety." Hill answered her with the logic of a smart child. "If beasts are going to appear on the road, then these beasts will also appear to you. Mom, you've been suffering for me all these years, and I want to be by your side." Hill didn't tell her that he could use magic, because he wanted to surprise her when he reached 3 magical circles. In these countries, a wizard who reaches 3 circles gets a noble rank called the rank of Viscount, while a wizard who reaches 7 circles gets a much more powerful position and can live a luxurious life, unlike their current modest life. Hill intends to become a powerful wizard, so he can repay the debt to his mother for taking care of him, and he wants to make her live a comfortable life and retire from hard work. But until he makes her do this, he has to deceive her a little and not reveal his magical abilities to her yet. Hill acted with childish innocence and begged his mother to let him go with her, saying in a pleading voice, "I want to be with you on this trip, Mom. Please don't leave me alone at home." His mother couldn't resist his innocent childish beauty, so she agreed to his request, saying, "All right, you can come with me." But she added seriously, "Before we move, I want to warn you that you must always listen to me and not do anything dangerous. And if beasts appear before us, you must hide behind me quickly and I'll handle dealing with them. I'm strong and can protect you easily." Hill answered her confidently, "Okay, Mom, I trust you and your ability to protect me," and the two moved together afterward on their journey to the city. Along the way, his mother asked him worriedly, "Are you okay, Hill? Don't you need to rest? We've been traveling for a full hour." Hill answered confidently, "No, Mom, I've been training physically for a long time and my body doesn't get tired easily." His mother said to him admiringly, "Well, it's clear that you don't intend to be just a wizard, but you also want to be someone with a very strong body." Hill answered her enthusiastically, "Of course, Mom. The most powerful magic masters must also have very strong bodies, and that's why I'm strengthening myself from now." His mother replied, saying, "You're absolutely right. Even the Magic Academy recently started training wizards physically alongside magical training. You're a genius, Hill, and I think you'll become a master wizard easily." And so their journey continued, while Hill hid his true abilities and future plans, determined to become a powerful wizard who could provide his mother with the comfortable life she deserved. Hill thanked his mother with a voice full of gratitude and love, and said to her with determination and confidence, "I'll do everything I can, Mom, and I'll do my best to live up to your expectations." While they were walking through the dense forest, Hill was surprised by a beautiful rest area in the middle of the forest, surrounded by thick green trees and colorful wildflowers. He looked around in amazement and asked his mother curiously, "Who built this beautiful place in the middle of this abandoned forest?" His mother smiled proudly and answered, "I made it with my own magic so I could rest from the long and exhausting journey, and also so it would be a safe place where we could take a break," Hill said enthusiastically as he looked at the comfortable spot. "This is awesome. Let's sit here and rest a bit." When he sat on the smooth stone seat, he suddenly got alarmed and warned his mother in a loud, worried voice, "Watch out, Mom. There's a group of monsters that appeared in front of us." Indeed, 3 scary monsters came out from between the trees. Their bodies were green and muscular, and their sharp fangs gleamed in the sunlight. One of them said in a terrifying, hoarse voice, "It's been a long time since we ate humans, and we're really hungry now. We'll make you into a tasty meal today." His mother was startled and warned Hill with great concern, saying, "Get behind me right now, Hill. There are 3 of them, and they're very dangerous. I don't want anything bad to happen to you." Hannah was very worried and said to herself, This is the first time Hill has seen real monsters, and these monsters are really terrifying and scary. They could cause him psychological trauma, and he could live his whole life afraid of them. One of the monsters attacked them fiercely and said in a terrifying voice, "You're our food today. We won't let you escape from here alive." Hannah said to herself with determination, "I have to get rid of them quickly before Hill gets too scared." But she was surprised that Hill started laughing loudly and asked her in an innocent and funny way, "Mom, are these green-colored pigs? They look really funny." Hannah was surprised by his words and said to him in amazement, "You're acting incredibly calm, like you're not afraid of what's happening. How can you stay calm in such a scary situation?" These orc monsters got angry and furious and asked him angrily, "Who are you calling pigs, you rude kid? We'll kill you and tear you to pieces." Hannah said to Hill with confidence and tenderness, "Don't worry, sweetie. I'll handle them myself and won't let them hurt you." Then she summoned her fire magic, and blazing red flames started rising from her hands, and she said in a strong, confident voice, "There's no one in this world who can hurt my son while I'm here." Hill was surprised and amazed and said to himself, "My mother started using three-circle magic. Her magical power is truly amazing." Hannah attacked the orcs with powerful fire magic, launching huge fireballs at them and defeating them with complete ease. She kept laughing after that and said cheerfully, "I can't believe Hill called them green pigs. That's really funny." The orcs fled from the place quickly while screaming in fear, "We can't face this powerful witch. Let's get out of here fast." Hill said to his mother with great admiration, "You're really strong, Mom. I never imagined your magical power was this strong." She smiled at him proudly and said, "Of course I'm strong. Now I want you to explain to me why I'm the best mom in the world." Hill answered her with love and honesty, "Because you're strong and beautiful and you protect me from every danger, and you're the most precious thing I have in this world." She was very happy with his words and said to him, "It's really good that you came with me here so you can keep praising me like this and make me feel proud." The two sat down to have lunch at the safe rest area. Hannah warned Hill and said to him seriously, "Orcs are actually strong, and they only got scared because they're afraid of fire magic. There are monsters in this place much stronger than them, like ghouls and giants, and they're not afraid of fire like these guys. Because of this, you should always be careful in this forest." Then she told him important information. "When you grow up, you'll be able to hunt these monsters and get a lot of money from selling their corpses and body materials to traders and craftsmen." Hill was shocked when he heard this and said to himself enthusiastically, "I finally found a way to collect a lot of money. This will help me achieve my goals." Hannah said to him, "The city I trade with is called Barnes City, and it's 3 days walk away from here at least. Can you continue with me on this long journey?" Hill answered her with confidence and determination, "Of course, Mom. I'm strong and you don't need to worry about me. I'll endure the hardship with you." The two then continued their long journey until they reached the beautiful city of Barnes. Hill was very happy and said to himself, "This place will help me become a powerful and rich wizard at the same time. The opportunities here are countless." The two kept wandering around the wide city, and Hill was watching everything around him with curiosity and great admiration. He said to himself, "I haven't seen the outside world since I arrived in this world, and everything here is amazing and full of possibilities." The two then arrived at a famous bookstore in the city, distinguished by a beautiful wooden facade and large windows displaying precious books. The shop owner warmly welcomed Hannah and said to her, "Welcome, Hannah. It's been a long time since I saw you here in my humble shop." Hannah greeted him with a friendly smile and said, "Thank you, Dibbet. I came here for my usual monthly trade to sell tea herbs." Manager Dibet asked Hannah about the child with her curiously, "And who is this beautiful child accompanying you?" Hannah answered him proudly, "This is my business partner and my beloved son Hill." Dibet welcomed Hill warmly and said to him, "Welcome, Hill. It's obvious that you're a special and smart boy." But he was shocked when he looked into his eyes and said in amazement, "Your eyes are really strange. This is the first time I've seen eyes like these. Anyone who looks at these eyes will feel like they're evaluating them and assessing their true strength." Hannah asked Dibet with concern, "Are you okay, Dibet? You seem disturbed." Dibet apologized to her and said, "Sorry, but I'm sure your son's future will be absolutely amazing and full of great achievements." Hannah then gave the dried tea leaves to Dibet and said to him, "The condition of the leaves is excellent as every month, and I've taken good care of them." Dibet thanked Hannah and said to her, "I'll give you 5 extra gold coins over every previous time. Tea trade has become very prosperous in our city, and because of this, I should reward you for the excellent quality of your product." Hannah thanked him gratefully, and Hill kept examining the books in the large library with great interest. Dibet said about Hill, "Hill is a good and polite person, and if he wants to do business in this city in the future, I'd be happy to deal with him." Hannah then called Hill and said to him, "We need to move now, Hill. There's an important place we need to visit before we return home." Hill answered her obediently, "Okay, Mom, I'm ready to go with you." After Hill and his mother left, Dibet kept thinking to himself and saying, "This is the first time I've seen eyes like these in my life. I'm sure Hill will be a very powerful wizard in the future." We returned to Hill, who asked his mother curiously, "Where are we going now, Mom?" She answered, "We're going to visit the Great Wizard's Tower, and I want to sell mana stones stones that I drew complex magical circles on. Hill thought to himself, mana stones are very precious magical tools that allow anyone to use magic if appropriate magical circles are drawn on them. He said to himself, I want to learn how to make magical circles like my mother, but mana stones are very expensive and I can't get them easily. Hannah told Hill important information. The Wizard's Tower doesn't just contain magical tools, but also very powerful and rare magical books containing ancient spells and deep knowledge. Hill was surprised and asked her enthusiastically, can I take magical books from there? She answered, any wizard has the right to take a magical book from the Wizard's Tower, according to the kingdom's laws, and the highest level of wizards currently is 9 circles, but the Wizard's Tower contains magical books for the 10th level that no wizard has reached yet. Hill was shocked when he heard this and said to himself, I thought the strongest wizards only had 7 circles. I thought I'd reach this level and retire quickly and live a happy life with my mother, but it seems the matter is more complicated than I imagined. Hill said to Hannah with great curiosity, I want to see the 8 and 9 circle books in the tower. She answered happily, all right, sweetie, I'm happy that you want to be strong and develop yourself. They entered the magnificent tower that rose high into the sky, and Hannah went to sell the magical stones. The tower's deputy Henry welcomed them and said to Hannah, welcome Hannah, it's been a long time since I saw you here in the tower. Hill said to himself, who is this strange person? I find him annoying and I don't like him. Henry took the magical stones from Hannah and said to her admiringly, your skills in making magical stones are still excellent as I've always known them. He then looked at Hill and asked her, who is this handsome boy? Then he grabbed Hill's face and said, he looks exactly like you and he's very handsome. Hill said to him with annoyance, leave me alone. You're a strange and annoying person. Hannah said to Henry, this is my son Hill. Henry enthusiastically replied, I'll introduce you to my son too. He pointed to a young man standing beside him. This is Cedric, my son, and he's a 1-circle wizard. He's considered a genius for a 12-year-old wizard. Henry told Cedric, use your energy ball magic in front of them to show your skill. Cedric got nervous and said, all right, father. He began using magic with difficulty in front of them, where a small, shaky energy ball appeared in his hand. Hannah politely congratulated him and said, I think you'll be a very powerful wizard in the future. Keep training. Henry then grabbed Hannah's hand and boldly asked her, what do you think about marrying me? We definitely have a child stronger than Cedric. Hannah firmly told him, no, I completely refuse your proposal. Henry was shocked and quickly said to her, I was just joking with you and didn't mean anything serious. Hill watched him and got angry to himself, saying, this jerk is harassing my mother. I wanted to hide my power for longer, but I need to show him that I'll destroy him if he tries to bother her again. Hill confidently told everyone, I can also use energy ball magic. Everyone present was shocked and asked in amazement, what are you saying, child? Hannah went to Hill and said worriedly, you've never lied before, so why are you lying now? Hill answered her honestly, I'm not lying, Mom, and he released his magical power in the place. Hill began using the energy ball in front of them, releasing such a huge amount of energy in the tower that the whole thing shook. Henry and Cedric were shocked and saying, what's happening here? This is impossible. Hannah was shocked and said, impossible. My son is a wizard at 7 years old, and he's not even an ordinary wizard but extremely powerful. She went and hugged him tightly and said, I always trusted you. You're the best son in the whole world. At that moment, someone arrived and kept shouting, which wizard used their powerful magical force in the tower now? I felt this energy from my office on the upper floor. Henry was surprised and wondered fearfully, what is the tower master doing here? Hill was amazed and wondered, how can this old man be the tower master? But he sensed terrible magical power from him, even greater than 7th level wizards. He said to himself, I didn't expect this old man to be the tower master, but he's extremely powerful. The tower master saw Hill's eyes and was amazed, asking him, who are you and how do you have eyes that aren't suitable for your age like this? Hill said to himself, I don't understand what he means, but it seems anyone who looks into my eyes will know I'm not a normal child. The tower master asked Hannah, is this your son? She answered, yes. I brought him with me on my business trip. He told her, well, I want to talk with your son privately. The tower master went and spoke with Hill saying, you used first circle magic very easily, and also the amount of mana you have, and your ability to use magic in very little time shows that you're an unnatural wizard. He added, powerful wizards like you are rarely born, and I think you'll be one of the wizards who can compete with sword masters because of your great speed in casting your magic. Then the tower master asked him, tell me how you used magic with such amazing speed. Hill kept laughing with a light sarcastic tone and asked Alan, the old tower master, if he thought he was born naive or inexperienced enough to give him an extremely powerful technique or secret without any real compensation. Alan showed his admiration for Hill's sharp mind and confirmed that he knew he wasn't an ordinary child at all, but realized deep down that he was facing someone whose experiences far exceeded his age, so he asked directly, what do you want in exchange for this technique? Hill smiled confidently and calmly, said he preferred to first know what offer the tower master could make, because it was illogical for him to reveal all his cards before knowing how serious and powerful the compensation he would receive was. Alan didn't hesitate for a moment. and offered to give him 10,000 gold coins at once, telling him this huge amount was enough for him and his grandchildren to live in luxury and comfort for the rest of their lives without needing to work or think about any future financial problems. Hill stood amazed at this extreme generosity, never imagining such wealth would be offered for one secret, but he replied steadily and rationally, refusing the financial offer and telling Alan he wasn't interested in money now. His goal was completely different, and all he wanted was to get a magic book dedicated to 8th and 9th circle wizards, plus some rare and high-quality mana stones. Alan was amazed at the simplicity of the request, and asked in surprise if he was sure these were all his requests, especially since Hill refused thousands of gold coins without hesitation. Hill confirmed he was completely certain of his request, adding that he saw knowledge and ability as far more important at this stage than any money or material treasures. Alan smiled and said he couldn't fully understand Hill's plan or what was going through his mind, but he wasn't worried about that, and told him he would prepare the advanced magic books and powerful rare mana stones he requested soon, confirming he looked forward to greater cooperation between them in the future. Alan admitted he was amazed by Hill, and told him that, while talking to him, he felt like he was addressing a veteran magic master who had reached dozens of years in age, not just a small child who hadn't completed his 7th year. While Hill was careful not to reveal the secret of his previous life, and told him he preferred to keep their agreement secret and not let anyone know its terms or details. Hill finished his conversation and quickly left, returning to his home through the magical teleportation circle, where his mother Hannah received him with great amazement and clear astonishment, asking him about what happened between him and the Tower Master, and expressing her confusion about his ability to use advanced magic at such a young age. Hill smiled at his mother, and told her he had been studying a lot in her old magic books, and during that time began discovering magical symbols, and developing his own methods by mixing his previous knowledge of mathematics with magical symbol science, so he was able to develop his techniques amazingly. Hill explained that magic fundamentally depends on formulating and connecting precise magical symbols, and this doesn't differ much from solving complex mathematical problems and matrices that he mastered in his first life, but he never admitted to having a previous life on Earth, and was content to give his mother partial explanations so she wouldn't have any doubts. His mother was amazed at his speed in casting magic, and how he managed to drastically reduce preparation time compared to all known wizards, so she couldn't contain herself from intense pride and hugged him tightly, saying she was very happy with him, and even told him she wished he would teach her what he learned, and that she believed he would become one of the world's strongest wizards. Believing in the importance of continuous development, she promised herself to also develop her powers so she could protect her son too. 2 years passed after that, and Hill succeeded in teaching his mother his special magical methods and techniques, until she reached the level of a 4-circle wizard, which was a very great achievement, and with their continued development they moved to live near the borders of Nizar City, which flourished with life, commerce, and magic. During a routine trip by Hill to the Wizard Tower, something unexpected happened, where he encountered a violent kidnapping incident. He saw 2 small girls being beaten and dragged violently by some slave traders who were issuing harsh orders about the need to hurry and sell them quickly to one of the city's wealthy people. Hill didn't stand still. He approached and asked them what they were doing. The men were amazed at his boldness and asked about his identity, assuring him this was none of his business and that he should leave immediately. Hill told them that even if he agreed to stay away, his mother Hannah would never allow such a scene and would definitely intervene. And indeed, Hannah arrived and called Hill to help her, explaining that there are types of humans with whom talking or reasoning doesn't work, and that handling the situation required force. Hannah summoned fire magic and threatened them that they had 2 choices, either flee quickly or face death, and began with Hill a coordinated magical attack that made them defeat all the mercenaries in moments. The slave traders fled in terror, screaming that they didn't want to die, and left the place escaping with their lives. Hannah then went to the 2 girls and freed them from their restraints, and asked about their condition, being extremely angry and not believing that someone would dare do something this bad, while Hill told the girls there was no need to worry at all, as they were now free and safe, and he wouldn't let anyone hurt them again because he would protect them himself. The girls were overwhelmed with joy and amazement at their rescue, and after a while revealed they had lost everyone they knew and had no family, so the mother suggested they live with them to start a new life full of warmth and safety. Days passed and circumstances changed, and the girl Selena grew up, and one morning she went to wake Hill from sleep and told him breakfast was ready, using light magic to make him feel new and fresh energy. Hill expressed his amazement and told her that her light magic was very strong and and had developed noticeably thanks to constant training with him, and asked if she felt tired from too much practice. Selena answered that at first it was tiring, but with persistence, magic became enjoyable and became part of her daily life and she couldn't stop. She asked him to get ready as everyone downstairs was waiting for him to come to the table. Hill came down for breakfast and reflected on how quickly time had passed since they became a big family, realizing he was now 12 years old. He asked Selena about Helena and whether she had gone out as usual in the early morning. She replied that indeed every day she goes out and comes back late, and everyone had gotten used to her grandfather's training schedule. Hill commented to Selena with a smile that she was late every day because of the exercises. She apologized and said that when she starts sword training, she feels a physical strength and energy she can't resist and loses track of time. She suggested he should see the results of her training. She had become stronger and more confident than ever before. Hill laughed and told her they would train together at an appropriate time, and that the current place wasn't suitable or their mother would be mad at them. He then explained that Selena was now 2 years older than them, and that despite everything they went through during their days of slavery and suffering, she managed to overcome her painful memories and began to enjoy life. Hill realized that Selena's strong personality qualified her to become a one-circle sorceress with merit, while Helena possessed wonderful physical skills and talent in sword dueling. He was proud of both of them because it wasn't easy for someone who went through such a painful past to overcome it and live a normal life without fear. While they were having breakfast, Hannah came with her usual smile and greeted everyone, asking about their well-being. She seemed unusually happy, so Hill asked if there was a special reason for her happiness. She answered proudly that she was confident he would figure it out quickly. Yesterday, she had reached 5 magic circles thanks to his training and encouragement. Everyone warmly congratulated her, and joy overwhelmed them. Hannah assured everyone that the credit went to her son, and that they should make him feel the value of their achievement, and they celebrated that great accomplishment. And Hill asked cheerfully how they wanted to celebrate, telling them not to worry about the details. They should just leave the celebration arrangements to him. After the family finished their joyful morning, Hill used the teleportation circle and went directly to the mage's tower. There, Alan, the tower master, greeted him jokingly and said he was a negligent student who hadn't visited him even once since their last meeting, and that he had been waiting a long time to know what was new. Hill replied to Alan with a light laugh and said, "I finally came to visit you indeed, but this time I brought my whole family. By the way, I heard you defeated a sword master recently and became stronger than before." Alan smiled and said, "All credit goes to the magical symbols you created for me. They made my magic much faster and stronger." After that, everyone sat in the tower's great hall and conversation began flowing between them. Hannah asked Hill in surprise, "Why did we come to the mage's tower today anyway?" Alan also looked at Hill and smiled. "Really? Why did you decide to visit me after this long absence?" Hill didn't answer them with words, but pulled out a glowing red mana stone from his pocket, placed it in front of them and said, "Actually, I wanted to show you my latest invention." Alan's eyes widened as he picked up the stone and examined it carefully. "Amazing! This is the first time I've seen a mana stone with this density of energy, like high-level mana stones." Hill smiled and said, "Maybe you still haven't noticed the biggest advantage. Unlike other mana stones that run out of energy on first use and need years to recharge, this one can be used more than 10 times and only needs 3 days for a complete recharge." Alan was completely stunned and said, "You always choose to blow my mind. If people start knowing about this stone, I don't know what will happen." Here Hill added, "Actually, these stones are the reason many sorcerers and knights from other towers and kingdoms have been watching our house lately, and even sent people to investigate." Hannah's face changed and she asked worriedly, "Really? Are magic towers watching us?" Hill reassured her, saying, "Don't worry, none of them dared to interfere, and with your magic tower with us, they won't dare, and you're now stronger than most of them." Then Hill turned to Alan and said, "I brought this stone especially for you, so you can sell it and manage the trade yourself, and also so you can be sure you're dealing with the same old kid who met you from the beginning." Alan smiled and said, "And you're still as cunning as I knew you. What do you want in exchange for the stone?" Hill said, "I have 4 requests. First, I want complete protection for my family here inside the tower, because our presence under the protection of a known tower will make any other person hesitate to approach us." Alan immediately agreed and assured him, "That's simple. No one will approach you as long as you're under the tower's protection." Hill continued, "Second, I want copies of master books on magic and swordsmanship, and I want a copy given to Selena and a copy to Helena, so they can master the arts of magic and sword." Alan raised his eyebrow and agreed, "That's easy. I'll prepare the tower's best books for them, and they won't pay anything." Hill said, "Third, I want temporary accommodation at the finest hotel in the city, so we can celebrate my mother reaching 5 magic circles. I want it to be a special day for her." Happiness was clear in Hannah's eyes as she hugged her son and smiled. She thanked him and said she was always happy that he thought of her and the family before himself. Hill smiled and said, "I promised you from day one that I would protect you, and I'll always keep that promise." promise. Alan asked, "What's your fourth request?" Hill looked at him seriously and said, "I want a copy of the Golem magic book." Alan fell into a moment of silence, but soon asked him, "Why do you need something this dangerous? You know it's forbidden to even copy these books." Hill didn't show tension and said, "Don't worry, no harm will come. I just need it for a special project, but in any case, we can print another copy in complete secrecy." Alan shook his head and said, "As long as it's for you and you'll manage everything yourself, I'll prepare it for you." Hill clarified to himself that he needed golem power to protect his family and control his surroundings more, because he realized that future enemies might be stronger than what he had faced until today, and there was no room for weakness ever. 4 years passed since obtaining the golem book, and during that time, Hill focused most of his effort and study on manufacturing golems himself, until he created a small army to protect his family. One night, a group of assassins was spotted surrounding the house, planning to kidnap one of the family members. They were bragging that the house had no magical traps or guards, and that the family relied on the tower's protection and neglected themselves. One of them started warning the other, but they mocked him and said they were professional killers and wouldn't fail. Suddenly, Hill appeared among them and said sarcastically, "Your idea is good for a stupid person." The assassins were severely confused and asked him how he reached them without them sensing him. Within seconds, the golem army emerged to surround the place from all sides. One of the assassins tried to attack a golem soldier thinking it was an illusion, but when he struck it, his sword broke and he was terrified. They realized that what stood before them were real golems and not a trick, and the golems attacked them and defeated them without effort or mercy. And Hill ordered the soldiers to drag the assassins away, then explained that the golems he made were still developing themselves and were a powerful tool for protecting the house. He remembered how 4 years ago he focused all his abilities on the golem book in the tower to ensure protection for those he loved no matter what happened. With the end of the assassins' attack, Hill used his special magic to end the traces of the battle and erase any sign of the fight, so none of his family members would notice what happened outside. The next day, Hill lived his usual routine. He went to Selena and asked if she got tired of constant cooking. She told him she loved cooking and that it was her source of happiness because they were her family. At that moment, Helena entered holding her sword and said she had trained today more than ever and proudly offered to show Hill her new strength. But Hill laughed and refused, saying their mother would be angry if they had their duel here like every time. Hill caught a moment of reflection and said to himself that these two girls hadn't changed in 4 years. Then he asked about their mother since he hadn't seen her in the morning. The girls were surprised they hadn't noticed her absence. The scene shifted to Hannah, who was training outside the house on fire magic. She was angry and calling on herself to succeed in controlling the 5th magic circle, but she failed several times and became frustrated. Hill reached her and said, "Breakfast is ready, come on," and asked her what she was doing. She apologized and said she had to finish her training first. Hill advised her that caring for nutrition and rest was just like training, and told her that her body would collapse if she continued pressuring herself. She said to him enthusiastically and angrily, "If I don't increase my strength, how will I protect you?" So he asked her what she meant, but she became more agitated and said that for a while she had been feeling helpless and afraid of losing her family if she became weak. Hill noticed that his mother had been acting strangely for a while, but he overlooked that and said to her, "I'll teach you my special magical breathing technique today." The family received this surprise with amazement. He explained to them that this method helps anyone absorb mana from the atmosphere and use it to stabilize their magic or increase it inside their body. He asked them to start by gathering the aura in the stomach area, then distribute it calmly and balanced throughout the body. He assured them that with this method, their magic would develop quickly and controlling it would become much better. When they all started trying the new magical breathing technique, Selena was the first to face real difficulty. She suddenly stopped and said to Hill, while trying to catch her breath, "I can't breathe. It's like the mana is blocking my breathing." After her attempts, Helena appeared in turn, groaning in pain and telling him, "This hurts. I felt severe pain in my stomach like I ate fire." Hill explained the reason and said, "You released more mana energy than necessary. You need to control it one by one." They tried again and again, but each time they failed, and each one complained that controlling the mana seemed weak and the method was harder than they expected. Hill assured them there was no need to give up quickly and that it required time and continuous training, and that results would come with patience and persistence. The big surprise came when the three looked toward Hana and discovered with amazement that she was applying the method smoothly and succeeding in controlling the mana and distributing it throughout her body without error. Her ability enchanted them, and Helena wondered in amazement, since when had their mother become this focused? Hill watched his mother with great admiration and noticed that her mana-gathering pace had become very high, and she really began distributing the energy in her body in a perfect and fast way. He felt internal joy because his mother proved her magical genius and learned learned this method quickly, and he knew perfectly well that a strong mother meant a stronger family, and they could return one day to the old family castle they were expelled from. Hana felt a big change in her magic as soon as she succeeded in the distribution. She said with a smile and pride, "I'm feeling a strange power. The mana has become stable, and my fire magic is much stronger." In moments, she released a huge and dazzling fireball that made everyone look at her in amazement. Selena and Helena ran to hug her and congratulate her, and told her how proud they were of her, and she replied to them with happiness and thanks, and also directed words of gratitude to Hill, and told him that she was now getting very close to the level of a six-circle wizard, and that she was ready to work more to reach more for their sake. Hill felt great happiness because his mother regained her smile and vitality. He realized that he had been busy for a long time with his research on the magical golem until he forgot to be close to his family, and if he had communicated with them more, he would have known that his mother was going through a difficult period, and he could have helped her from the beginning. He promised himself that from now on he would always focus on supporting his family and would not be distracted from them. Everyone went in to have lunch after this success. Hana jokingly apologized for delaying breakfast and said she compensated them with this new development, so the children replied that they were very happy just because she became stronger. Hana was grateful and expressed her pride in Selena and Helena, then directed her words to Hill that he should spend more time with the family instead of constantly being busy in his workshop because he was the only one who sometimes made her feel lonely. We move to Hill in the workshop as he carefully reviews his magic books and thinks that manufacturing a really strong golem is not easy, as he doesn't want just muscular strength or fighting ability, but wants a golem that has intelligence and ability for independent thinking. He knew that the only way to achieve this was he needed a core, but obtaining it was nearly impossible because the conditions for producing it required a wizard at the level of at least 3 circles, and the only practical solution now was to use black magic and merge worldly dark emotions into the golem's heart. However, he knew that his ability at 6 circles needed to increase and reach the 7th, and this required first reaching the stage of enlightenment. He remembered in his mind how he helped Hana reach this stage and step quickly to 6 circles, but he realized within himself that reaching the 7th circle was never easy. At that moment, Selena entered and told him they would start their training soon and asked if he had time to join them. Selena was puzzled by a small problem she faced in her training. Despite her ability to use magic and control mana, she felt there were different types of mana in her body, to the extent that she couldn't determine what her main mana was. She expected that only Hill could help her. Hill was initially surprised, but decided to check her words. He took out several mana stones from his collection and began testing his magic on them, and indeed noticed clear differences in the types of mana inside them for the first time in his life, despite all his previous deep study. He discovered that there were precise, varying characteristics of mana, and that it wasn't just power or energy, but completely different qualities and forms. He didn't waste time and began examining the mana inside his body. He entered his inner vessel, where he felt inside as if he was floating in space with thousands of stars of diverse mana, and noticed that he could merge these types together to create a completely new type of mana. He felt he had an exceptional experiment before him, so he immediately began the merging process and drew the distinctive mana from within him and from the magic stones near him and merged them all. His body began experiencing severe pressure with new powers rising, but Hill didn't give up and focused on executing the magical breathing method to control the mana and the explosion of new energy so he wouldn't lose consciousness. With the completion of the merger, he felt a new and strange power sweeping through him and was no longer able to know what was happening around him until he completely fainted and lost sensation of everything. Later, Hill woke up to find himself on the ground while Selena stood before him with her face full of worry, saying, "You finally woke up. You really made me scared for you." So he asked her in amazement what happened and why he was on the ground, and she told him that after he completed the mana merger, the place was swept by strong magical winds, and he lost consciousness and she couldn't wake him up. And Hill quickly began examining his new power and discovered that his magical level had risen enormously and reached the level of a 7-circle wizard. His face filled with happiness, and he thanked Selena and told her the credit went to her, because without her pointing out that there was a difference in mana types, he wouldn't have undergone the enlightenment experience and achieved this accomplishment. Selena seemed amazed and happy with his achievement, and told him that he always amazed them with his strength and constant pursuit of developing himself and protecting his family. Finally, she approached Hill and asked him about his new level in magic, and he confirmed to her that he finally reached the 7th level and suggested to her that they keep this matter secret between them for now. Selena was very amazed by Hill's words, and when he told her that because of reaching the 7th circle, he became capable of making the strongest golem in the entire continent, she agreed agreed enthusiastically and said she trusted his abilities, and signs of pride and self-confidence appeared on him as he planned to create a new precedent in the world of magic. At that time, Hana was standing near the house watching the place with an eye full of emotion, contemplating memories and thinking, "This place was the place where I felt the most safe and comfortable, but it's time to leave it soon for Hill and my family." Hana began to feel that approaching Hill's 17th age rang the bell of big decisions, and she realized that the time had come to face her past, to regain her right and protect her family, especially her son. For this, she spoke with her husband Leon in her imagination, as if consulting him to help her take the next step. The scene moved to Hill, who decided to spend time with his family, so he sat with Selena to learn the basics of cooking from her, enthusiastic to prepare his special dish, and when Selena asked him about his plans, he told her that he finally succeeded in preparing his famous dish that he always wanted to master. The family gathered around the table and ate Hill's food, and they were all happy and proud of him, and Hana told him that he should excel in everything he did, even cooking, and told him that she was planning to prepare him a special meal for his 17th birthday, but he beat her to it. Hill replied and said he didn't care about that, and what mattered to him was seeing them enjoying his food, and declared that after 10 years of being busy strengthening himself, it was time to care more about spending time with his family and give them the pleasure of dishes from the world he came from. Admiration was prevalent among them all, and they praised the cooking and said it was very delicious, and Hill felt great happiness because he achieved a new family accomplishment after years of striving to achieve his dreams and ambitions in power and magic. After an enjoyable meal and exchange of laughter and memories, they finished lunch, and suddenly Hana called Hill and asked to speak with him about an important matter privately. Hill felt surprise and concern from the seriousness of his mother's features, and asked her if there was something that called for all this tension, and confirmed his readiness to listen to everything she said. They went to a side room, and signs of confusion appeared on Hana, as if she was living a psychological struggle that was difficult for her to reveal. After moments, she told him that she had been hiding from him a matter concerning her past with his father, and that this was the appropriate time for him to know the complete truth. Hill was shocked when she frankly told him that she was the daughter of Marquis Reinhard, and the Reinhard family was the strongest and most important magical family in the kingdom of Belmead, and her father possessed power equal to an 8-circle wizard. Hill couldn't find words to describe his amazement, as he had heard about the Reinhard family castle that centered 100 towns, and knew the power and importance of the family throughout Belmead, and he realized that his family wasn't ordinary, especially with the presence of the magical chain and rare books in their home. Hana continued her talk in a sad tone, telling him that her mother died days after her birth, and she lived with her father and family until she reached 7 years old, and her engagement to the kingdom's prince was officially announced. But when the wedding date approached, she discovered that she was just a political tool, so she rebelled against her fate. At that stage, she met Leon, the wizard she wished to live a free life with, so she escaped with him despite the Reinhard family's pursuit of them. But that happiness didn't last. They were captured, and when her father came to visit her in prison and gave her a choice between returning to her family or staying there, and when he felt that his daughter wouldn't give up her lover, he ordered Leon's execution in front of her, under the pretext that he freed him forever. Hana lived indescribable pain, especially after her family continued torturing her and exiling her outside their lands, and she found no way to live except after discovering that she was pregnant with Hill, so she received new hope and decided to live for him. Hana told him that her father expelled her and didn't allow her to return unless she became a 6-circle wizard, and now that she had reached this level, she decided to return and reclaim her position and rights and title again, especially for Hill's benefit and future, because the family's jewel and their real genius should be recognized by everyone. She asked her son about his opinion on returning to the Reinhard family. Hill was shocked by the truth, but he objected and said to his mother, "Why should we return to a family that caused you all this pain and humiliation, even though today you've become strong and can achieve your position here again?" She justified to him that the Reinhard family's power was indescribable, and that she wanted Hill to give his genius its due and make him learn advanced magic among them. Despite Hill's objections, he finally agreed out of love for his mother and to make her happy. Hana seemed overjoyed and told him they would prepare to leave as soon as possible and return to the Reinhard family. And Hill left the room to find Selena and Helena waiting for him, and they apologized for unintentionally overhearing part of the conversation. Selena asked worriedly if they could accompany them or if their past as slaves would prevent that. Hill firmly replied that he would never leave them, and he would find them new identities to ensure no one would recognize them, so the whole family could be together without fear. The two girls reassured him and thanked him for his loyalty and care for them. Then Hill told them he had to go meet someone and that they should prepare for the journey. Hill then went to Daybet, one of his old friends, who thanked him for the precious stones he always sent that had greatly improved his business. Hill told him he needed help related to the powerful information network that Daybet managed, so Daybet declared his complete readiness to help him, even confirming he could find out the secrets of world kings if Hill wanted that. Hill smiled calmly and said to Daybet, I don't need to know King's secrets. I want everything you can find out about the Marquis Reinhard family. Daybet didn't hide his surprise and asked him about the reason with confusion. Hill appeared extremely serious in his speech, so much so that Daybet realized it was a personal matter he had never seen him speak about with such intensity before. Daybet began speaking. The Reinhard family is the strongest after the royal family in the kingdom of Belm. They've produced the largest number of 8th Circle mages, and many great mages owe them loyalty, which is why Marquis Reinhard can lead a complete magical army if he wants. All his influence remained stable, only shaken by that scandal when his daughter ran away on her wedding day. But strangely, the Marquis and the Prince later forgave her and lived with her memory as a closed chapter. In fact, her father's and the Prince's reputation rose because they showed mercy and forgiveness instead of the harsh punishment she deserved, according to people's opinion. Hill's anger intensified, and he realized that the Marquis had exploited his mother's suffering for political influence and didn't defend her, but instead invested the incident to his advantage. He whispered to himself, they used my mother's incident to strengthen their power. I won't allow that cruelty to repeat. Daybet warned him, saying, all I know is that the Marquis is cruel and arrogant, and I advise you, don't deal with him carelessly. If you go back there, they'll try to exploit your mother again, and if they try to hurt you, don't hesitate this time to confront them. Before Hill left, Daybet told him that the Tower Master had been looking for him, so Hill thanked him and promised to contact him again, then went directly to meet Halen. Halen received him jokingly. Finally, you remembered me. You forgot me like I don't exist. Hill replied that he was busy, but never forgot him, then handed him all his complete research on golem magic, as a gift to be preserved for future generations. Halen's eyes widened in amazement, and he asked, you finished manufacturing the golem? Well, Hill replied that he had indeed succeeded in making powerful models, but they still lacked perfect self-awareness. Halen examined Hill's features as if suspecting he was hiding a secret, so Hill smiled and said, you always catch my lies quickly, but no, I'm just tired of experiments. Then Hill told the Tower Master that he would return with his family this period and wouldn't be able to visit him much. Halen wished him well and said, this isn't an ordinary family visit, is it? Whatever the decision, you're now a powerful mage, and I won't be at ease without a letter from you. Hill thanked him and promised he would never forget him and would return to visit whenever he could. When Hill returned to his laboratory, he leaned his head back and thought, now it's time to test the final step. He summoned one of his golem knights with his magic and commanded it to interact, so the golem responded with, I'm ready to serve you anytime. Hill contemplated the golem and said, I haven't put all my capabilities into it yet, but it's very powerful. He instructed the golem to follow his complete orders, but to wait for now, then closed the magical space and said to himself, the mission of protecting the family won't be easy, even if I have to face the entire Reinhard family. At that time, inside Marquis Reinhard's palace, his son Xian was presenting a report to his father about investigations into the smuggling of ancient stones. He explained that their strongest assassin teams couldn't withstand the guards of the place, and that there were mages using ancient magic that even other continental towers found difficult to replicate. He also added that the source of the stones repeatedly mentioned the name Hannah, and some say her son is the real source, but he's still just a young man. The Marquis burst out laughing, saying, my daughter brought us shame before, and it's time to benefit from her now. Send her an invitation to return to the family, and if she refuses, bring her by force, and tell her we'll host her son too, and give him a noble title. Xian asked about the prince, and whether his interference would pose a danger, but the Marquis completely ignored this, saying, there's no one left who can stop us. If the prince wants to be an enemy, we'll destroy him. As for my daughter, she must now benefit the family. The scene shifted to Hannah tearfully saying goodbye to her home, saying 17 years of her life passed here, and she didn't know the value of this house until she was leaving it today. Hill tried to stay strong and told his mother he knew how difficult it was to leave this house, but he would do everything to protect her, even if he had to face fate alone with his power. The family went with Hill, Selena, and Helena to the Mage Tower to use the teleportation gate to the capital Blark. When the tower employee received them, he told them the price would be 800 gold pieces. Hannah objected, but the employee dealt rudely and told her to go to another tower if she didn't have the money. Helena attacked him, defending her mother, and almost hit him with speed that amazed everyone, including the employee himself. The matter threatened that he would regret it if he attacked them, but he was surprised by the arrival of a high-ranking tower official who apologized to them and scolded the employee, then offered them a special discount and reduced the price to 400 gold coins. Hannah continued bargaining and told him they were 4, and there should be an additional discount, then paid only 360 coins. Hill wondered how she managed to get more discount and the employee laughed and recorded their journey, then asked them if they were visiting Blark for sightseeing or staying there, and they all said confidently, "We're moving to live there." The employee smiled at Hannah and said, "You seem lucky. You have children capable of protecting you here." She replied with a brief smile before he led them to the magic circle, where he activated the teleportation magic, transporting them all to Blark City. As soon as they arrived, Lien was amazed by the capital's grandeur and beauty, and within minutes Hannah told everyone they would check into the hotel tonight and must first register Selena and Helena as mercenaries so they could move freely in the capital. They entered the hotel, and Hannah began telling them about an upcoming tour of the city, but before she could finish, she was surprised to find the prince himself standing before them. She froze in place. The prince said with surprise, "It's been a long time since I saw you, Hannah." Hill watched the situation with amazement and anger deep inside. This was his mother's former fiancé, the person who caused the greatest pain in her life and ordered his father Leon's execution. The prince tried to appear friendly. "I don't want you to be nervous. What happened was a series of unfortunate events, and not your fault. I'm not angry with you, but happy to see you again." He then asked her about the children with her, so she introduced them briefly, while Selena whispered to Helena that the prince seemed respectful. But Hill saw the truth. He knew the prince was acting and intended to use his mother again. Hill stepped forward and said firmly, "I'm Hill, Hannah's son. If you're thinking of hurting her again, or exploiting her, I'll crush all your hope of that myself." The prince was slightly shocked and said Hill looked exactly like his mother, then that he had to go due to his busy schedule, and promised they would meet soon. Before leaving, he whispered to Hannah that he wouldn't forget her and would make her his queen no matter what happened. Hannah was shocked and Hill's anger increased. "That bastard thinks he has a right to her, but if he comes near, I'll kill him myself." The prince left with a plan in mind, having understood from Hannah's presence in the capital that she had become a six-circle mage, and there was a possible agreement with the Marquis. He thought he could remarry her with her father's consent in exchange for some gifts, but first he would get rid of this son who had become a clear threat. After the prince's departure, Hill rushed to his mother to check on her condition and asked if she was okay. She remained composed and pretended to be strong. "I'm fine, and now we must go register Selena and Helena as mercenaries. No need to waste time." The group arrived at the mercenary guild where Hannah requested to register her girls. The employee agreed and explained they needed a test and evaluation of their levels. They would fight against the guild leader himself, and as soon as he arrived, he belittled them and asked if they would face him together to save his time. So they agreed angrily, and a real battle began. Helena opened her fire aura and attacked with her sword, while Selena unleashed a storm of magical winds. The leader was actually injured and stood shocked, then congratulated them proudly and gave them B-level classification, which was the highest level in the guild for beginners. The success was great for everyone, except Hannah seemed sad and distracted. They asked about her condition and she reassured them and apologized for her distraction. Only Hill noticed her tension and was angry inside himself at everything happening to her. That night, Hannah kept thinking about things. She felt danger creeping up on her. She knew the prince was still obsessed with her and wouldn't hesitate to use his influence to hurt her son as he did with Leon before, especially after knowing her location. So she decided that if she was going to return to her family, she had to ensure real protection from the Marquis. That night, Hale came to his mother with something important to discuss, but she said she also wanted to ask his advice about a plan. Should she bargain with her family, trading the secret of making magic stones for safety for all of them? Hale was shocked and asked her why. She told him the entire continent was searching for the maker of these stones, and if she revealed her secret to the Marquis, he would protect them no matter what happened. But Hale laughed and answered, "They're not the ones who'll protect us, I will. I'll protect you with my power. There's never any need to hand over our secrets to them." Selena and Helena arrived at that moment and joined their mother's conversation, strongly assuring her that no one could hurt them when they were together, and asked her to prepare for Hyle's birthday celebration. Hannah felt happiness and warmth surrounded by her children's insistence on protecting her, and thanked them because she hadn't felt the strength of family in a long time. Hyle said to himself that in his previous life, he never knew the meaning of family celebration, but in this life, he wouldn't let a single moment of happiness slip away from his family. Before they went to sleep, Hale gave his special order to Golem, "Go forth. If anyone approaches or tries to harm my family, destroy them immediately." Golem replied, "Yes, my lord. I will protect them to my last breath." The next day, Hale began feeling anxious and extremely cautious about the events, so the family prepared and set off for the great Reinhard Palace. Selena was impressed by the beauty and magnificence of the palace, but Hannah told them the palace hadn't changed in ages. She bravely approached the guards and said, "I am Hannah Reinhard. I want to meet with Marquis Reinhard." The guards stood before Hannah and asked her to request an appointment first to see the Marquis, but she looked at them confidently and said, "Tell the Marquis that his daughter Hannah herself has come to meet him." The guard was stunned, immediately apologized and said, "I'll inform His Highness right right away. Hannah advanced with her children, and while they waited to enter the palace, Hannah recalled the pain of the past in her mind. Her father's power had greatly diminished after the tragedy. How could he execute the prince's orders to kill Leon without even giving them a chance to defend themselves? Why did he have to torture her along with Leon instead of protecting her? Hyle tried to calm her and said, "Trust me, mother, I won't let the tragedy repeat itself." She smiled gratefully and squeezed his hand in silence. Marquis Reinhard came out with his son Xian immediately. He was surprised and said to Hannah, "I never expected you to return. I'm sorry for what I did to you before." Hannah was shocked. She knew her father, and he had never apologized to anyone before, so she wondered to herself, "This must be more serious than I thought." Reinhard noticed Hyle's presence and asked her about him, so she introduced him and said, "This is Hyle, your son and your grandson." Reinhard looked at him for a long time and said to himself, "This young man carries enormous mana equal to a 5-circle mage at only 17 years old. Impossible. And my failed daughter reached 6 circles?" Hale was watching his grandfather and realized the Marquis sensed him as only a 5-circle mage, thanks to his concealment, and said to himself, "This man is undoubtedly strong, but he won't be able to perceive my true level." Xian invited them to enter the palace to continue the conversation. In a huge and luxurious council hall, the Marquis asked Selena and Helena to wait outside the meeting. He turned directly to Hannah and boldly asked, "Is it true that you make rare magic stones?" Hannah said to herself that their father wasted no time on pleasantries and was obvious in his greed, then answered that she would indeed help him, on one condition. He asked about her condition, and she replied confidently, "My son, Hale becomes heir to the Marquis position, crown prince of the Reinhard family." Everyone was shocked, even Hale himself. "Mother, what are you doing?" Hannah explained to everyone that Hale was a true genius, the maker of magic stones, and a 7-circle mage at 17, something no one had achieved even among the great 8th circle mages, and he was the one who should inherit the Reinhard name. The Marquis stood stunned by his daughter's stubbornness and asked for a day to think about this offer. She promised they wouldn't wait more than a day, or they would withdraw without cooperation. Hannah went outside with Hyle, and Hyle made sure she was confident in what she had done. She confirmed it, and Selena and Helena joined them, reassured about them both. After that, Hale returned to his room thinking. He needed to know what the Marquis' moves and upcoming plans were. He summoned his magic glasses, completely disappeared with a concealment spell, and snuck into the Marquis and his son Xian's room where they were talking about them. He heard the Marquis say, "This boy is a rare mage. I've never seen his like before, but his problem is he has no loyalty to our family, having grown up in a foreign kingdom, and he might seek revenge because of his father." Xian warned about Hannah's position as a 6-circle mage, so the Marquis answered, "We have 26th level magic guards in the palace. She has no choice but to comply." Reinhard continued revealing their secrets. "We received a message from the prince, offering us lands and power in exchange for delivering Hannah to him, and if she refuses to be handed over, Hale will be taken hostage to force us into revealing the secret of stonemaking. After that, we'll seal Hannah with a slave seal and deliver her to the prince. Control Hyle's mind to serve our family, and send a fake corpse to the prince." Hale trembled at the magnitude of deception and evil in their plan, then heard Xian praise his father's plan and declare his readiness to begin implementation. Hale couldn't control his nerves after what he heard, so he suddenly appeared before them saying angrily, "How stupid you are, you'll never succeed, and you'll pay the price for all this." Reinhard was stunned by what happened. He said in a trembling voice, This was concealment magic. Someone was in the room and we didn't detect him. This is impossible." And while his words echoed, Hale began activating his destructive magic. Whirlwinds of destructive fire ignited in the palace as if the tower was collapsing around them. Reinhard and Xian were shocked and screamed, "Destruction magic! He wanted to blow up the palace with us in it." The magic shield saved Reinhard and Xian from direct death, but the palace collapsed, and the knights fell to the ground stunned. Reinhard was trembling as he whispered, "This 7th level destruction magic, this is a spell to suppress entire armies, impossible for a young man to use." The guard forces arrived terrified by the explosion, but Hale appeared above the rubble and declared coldly, "I held back my power so I wouldn't kill your grandfather with the first strike, but you'll pay the price dearly." The stunned soldiers aimed at him, asking what he was doing and why he was attacking his grandfather with such cruelty. Here Hale raised his hand, preparing lightning magic to surround the entire place, and said in a steady voice, "You have sinned against my family. Today you'll receive everything you deserve." Hale summoned the Golem Knight from his dimensional Gadia giant armored soldier, covered in amazing energy. The soldiers screamed in shock. Golem, the legendary Golem magic. This went extinct from the world, while Reinhard was laughing madly, telling his son, "This boy isn't just special, he's a treasure for nations. If we get the Golem's secret from him, we'll be kings of the continent." The knights tried to crush the Golem, but with one strike it tore them all apart. Xian was trembling. "This is impossible. Its power equals the sword master himself. Reinhard watched the golem and finally began to suspect, you're not 5 circles. This is impossible. There's only one explanation. You're at least a 7-circle mage, maybe even close to the 8th. How? Heil laughed coldly, and I thought my grandfather was smarter than this. Reinhard lost his temper and summoned blue flames, attacked Heil with his last strength, but Heil blocked the attack with just one shield and said, "You are not my family. You've become my enemies, and I'll crush you now just like you crushed all my mother's dreams." Suddenly Hannah and the rest of the family entered the hall. She looked shocked and asked Hale, "What's happening here?" Hale didn't answer immediately and wondered, how did she arrive so quickly? He wanted to settle the matter before she saw them, so she wouldn't know the horrific truth about her father and brother. He thought quickly. Should he reveal the painful truth to her completely? Should he show her the recording stone that preserved the criminal conversation between Reinhard and Xian? Until he finally decided. He turned to her and said, "I have no other choice, mother." He took out the magic stone and merged it with memory and recording magic, and said before everyone, "Hannah, listen to this, and you'll know everything." Reinhard jumped up in terror and realized the catastrophe, because he knew all the secrets and dirty plans had been recorded. He screamed madly, "Finish him immediately! Don't let him leave here alive! Don't let the stone leave this palace!" Hannah was stunned by her father's words and said to him, "How can you say this? How can you want to kill your grandson?" But Reinhard completely ignored her and screamed, "Shut up! This bastard must die right now." Hannah replied angrily, "This bastard, as you call him, is your grandson." But Reinhard didn't care about her and gave his orders to the soldiers to surround Hale and attack him immediately, and to take the highest degrees of caution because he was a high-level and dangerous mage. The soldiers advanced to surround Hale, while Hale steadily gave battle orders to Gollum. "Get ready. We'll use our full power now. Don't kill them, just defeat them." Gollum answered him, "Very well, I will comply with your orders." Then he summoned his legendary golden sword and raised his fiery aura. Hale described this sword before everyone as not only made from the strongest metals, but coated with penetration and protection magic, a blade overflowing with explosion magic, and every strike from it leaves an effect resembling that of weapons, and he borrowed the idea from destruction weapons in his previous life, so his army would always be the strongest in any battle. The soldiers attacked Golem with all their strength, but Golem unleashed a fiery wave with his sword that affected the entire battlefield, and defeated everyone around him in one strike. The Elite Knight's commander tried to resist, but was easily defeated by the fire sword. Another group of soldiers decided to flee in fear upon seeing this level of power, but one of them shouted, "We received orders from the Marquis. We must fight even if we'll pay with our lives." Nevertheless, terror was visible in their eyes. Suddenly, the Central Knight's commander arrived, the highest-ranking member of the Reinhard family. He stepped forward to apologize to the Marquis for his delay, and requested authorization to eliminate Hill and his golem, which was granted. He announced to everyone that he wouldn't allow anyone to insult the Marquis as long as he lived, then threatened Hill with death. Hill laughed mockingly and ordered the golem to remove the second seal. The golem's body and power transformed, shrinking in size while its aura grew dangerously stronger. The golem respectfully declared, "I've removed the seal and am ready for battle." The soldiers couldn't believe what they were seeing, realizing the golem had now become a duelist at the level of master swordsman. The knight's commander led his soldiers in an attack using his strongest aura, but in a brutal duel, the golem defeated him and knocked him unconscious to the ground. The soldiers' morale completely collapsed, with some immediately declaring their withdrawal. The golem attacked the remaining soldiers with his sword aura and destroyed them all, leaving Reinhard and Cyan watching the scene helplessly. Hill proudly announced, "We've dealt with the knights. Now it's time for the mages who think they can exploit some opportunities." Then he turned to his mother and said, "You need to know the truth before I begin the real fight." Hill pulled out memory magic and gave it to Hannah, asking her, "Are you ready to face the truth?" She said with determination, "Absolutely. If things have reached this point, there must be a strong reason that made you fight my family." Hill replied that he had indeed recorded everything and handed her the memory stone. Hannah took the stone, and the magic activated to reveal the truth before her. She saw her father and brother conspiring, planning to seal her magical power and make her a slave to the prince, controlling her memories, so she'd forget the crime of kidnapping talented young mages and turning them into followers of the Reinhard family. She also witnessed her father's plans for how to deal with her son Hill, and all those betrayals and shocks. The truths were revealed to Hannah as she never imagined, and she realized from the recorded conversation that her father and brother intended to exploit her and threaten her to obtain the secret of the magic stone, then brainwash Hill and make him a slave to the family, meaning they were prepared to sacrifice her and her son for the family's interests alone. Hannah was shocked and began crying heavily while whispering, "Impossible. I can't believe it. I thought they would try to exploit me, but I never imagined they'd reach this level of cruelty. There's no mercy or humanity in their hearts. I was naive to trust them again. She kept remembering how she had wished to forget the past and live among them again with her son, but the dream turned to poison, she continued. I knew my family was evil, but I convinced myself they just wanted their own interests. But to hurt me and my child to this extent? She asked Hill to forgive her for bringing him into this, and for trying to restore the luster to childhood memories. But now she acknowledged and confessed, these aren't my family, they're my enemies, and you're the only one I have left. This time, I won't stop you, Hill. Punish them as you see fit, and if you need me with you, I'll stand with you. Hannah broke the memory stone and left, while Helena and Selena asked if she was okay. She replied steadily that she was fine, then turned to Hill and confirmed, there's no room for illusions anymore. I won't run again. Do what you think is right. You have my permission. Hill read her pain and anger, and swore he would avenge her and wouldn't allow any more suffering. Then he faced Reinhard and Cyan. You'll see the meaning of suffering now. Today is the end of the Reinhard family, the strongest family in the kingdom. And Hill unleashed, screaming magic, its sound echoing throughout the area and turning the castle's air into a mass of pain. Everyone who heard it began experiencing actual suffering. Even Cyan screamed, stop, enough. Instead of backing down, Reinhard laughed madly. This is power possessed only by 7 circle mages and above. You're truly my grandson, but my family's power is fundamental. Join us. Don't expose the secrets, and I'll make you my heir and no one will hurt you. This is an offer that can't be refused. But Hill realized the trick and noticed that Reinhard was using mind-washing magic in an attempt to control him, just as he'd done with everyone in the castle. Hill surprised him. You're a deceitful scoundrel. I have one last question before your end. How dare you hurt your daughter and grandson like this? Reinhard replied coldly. It seems you haven't dealt with nobles. Children are commodities to sacrifice for the family. What's always most important is the strength of our name. Hill declared, even beasts have more feelings than you. It seems you must pay the price for your crimes now. Rain is laughing and saying to Lil that he wants to know where and how he learned the magic of the 7 circles. He also mentions that he is 17 years old. Will is still laughing and asking if he thinks his magic will work on him as he keeps talking to him, saying he will answer him. Keeps talking about how he learned the magic on his own and developed his power by himself. Rain is shocked and tells him he's lying, that no one 7-year-old could develop their power alone. He asks him to tell the truth and responds that he's not forced to lie to someone weaker than him. He says he wants to end this fight quickly because the sight of them makes him very angry. He says he'll make him an offer to end the battle, and asks if he and his family leave here and spread everything that happened using his memory magic. What does he expect to happen to his family? Hart is surprised and asks what he means. Then he explained that he had transferred the recorded memory magic to a gold coin ready to spread throughout the entire kingdom and expose all their crimes, including the prince's involvement in kidnapping mages from other countries, which could ignite a war and destroy Blinds and the Reinhard family's reputation forever. Hill challenged Reinhard, saying, if you want to prevent the family scandal, fight me now, just you two. If you win, I won't publish anything. If I beat you, this coin will spread everything across the continent. Reinhard gave an order to his son, Cyan. Prepare with all your strength. We have no choice. We must eliminate Hill. Reinhard accepted the challenge and both stood facing Hill alone, while Hill hid the gold coin and declared, I'll end this false confidence here. The battle erupted. Reinhard and Cyan used dark sphere magic to block his initial attacks, and the place filled with a terrible magical explosion. At this time, we moved to the royal palace. The meeting in the royal palace was dominated by an atmosphere of majesty and seriousness when one of the great nobles, Duke Celan, entered to inform the great king of the kingdom's latest developments. Duke Celan stood respectfully before the throne and said, Your Majesty, I've indeed received disturbing news about massive explosions that occurred at the Reinhard family castle. Some indicate this isn't a natural event, but a brutal magical confrontation using magic at a level beyond what we're accustomed to in this kingdom. The king listened with great interest while looking from his hall's window toward the horizon, where the explosion lights could reportedly be seen from afar, before responding firmly to the Duke, I want you to go personally and lead the investigation there. You know, the Reinhard family has always conducted dangerous magical experiments and power tests in their castle. If you discover that everything that happened is just one of their usual tests or maneuvers, you must severely discipline them and bring them back to their limits. But if the situation is different and there's someone challenging them or causing them serious trouble, leave them until the matter resolves itself and don't interfere. Duke Celan was surprised by the king's response and wondered, Your Majesty, why don't we help the Marquis family now when they're among our greatest allies? If harm befalls them, the kingdom's power might be shaken. Here, the Duke's identity was revealed. He's Celan, the king's friend and strongest advisor for more than 2 decades. The king smiled with a cunning the kingdom had never seen before and said, When I gave the Reinhard family power, I wanted them as support for us, but they exaggerated their ambition and influence to the point they began threatening the royal family's balance itself. We must be careful, Selen, that no ally grows too big. Today, they must receive a strong slap and lose some of their power, so they return under our control and don't dare defy our will. Selen felt great surprise and suspicion, his mind working quickly. So things are no longer as they were. You, my lord, are the source of their power, and now you're planning to partially bring them down so the kingdom's reins don't slip from your hands. The king nodded with a stern gesture, then issued his orders. I'll send 10 senior royal guard commanders and 100 armored knights with you. Handle this matter personally and don't be lenient. Duke Selen nodded respectfully. My lord's command, I'll head immediately to Reinhardt's territory. At that same moment, the throne doors opened and Prince Blind, the king's son, entered, interrupting the conversation, with signs of determination and eagerness showing on his face. The prince approached his father and said, I have an important request, your highness, father. Then he looked toward Duke Selen and asked, are you the one heading to the Reinhardt family castle? Selen confirmed, yes, I'll move within minutes. Here the prince smiled and looked with eyes containing a glint of cunning. Good, I want to be with you on this mission. I'll exploit the chaos happening there to weaken the Marquis family's influence. They've exceeded their limits and pose a threat to us all. The duke and king exchanged surprised glances. This was the first time the king had seen his son, the prince, show open interest in this difficult politics. But the prince suddenly laughed and said, the truth. I'm only saying that as an official lie. My real goal is to kidnap Hannah from there. I've sworn she'll become mine, with her consent or her family's consent, and I don't care who objects. I won't allow her to escape from me or reject me as she did in the past. The king showed no anger or surprise, but asked his son with realism and harshness, do you think you're capable of storming the Reinhardt castle and overcoming their forces? You know, the Marquis possesses considerable power and is an 8-star mage. The prince replied without hesitation, absolutely. I've brought elite knights and the royal guard, and I'll go out with Duke Selen himself. Even if I don't need to, I'll prove to everyone that I'm worthy of the throne and capable of taming any rebellion. The king settled the discussion and issued his approval. Go with my blessing. I want the Marquis to bow under our dignity and return as he was under royal control. As the prince prepared to leave, he smiled at the duke and said, it's been ages since we've tackled a real mission together. I need you with me, because I might use my princely authority in public. But the truth is, I want to crush the Yenhard family myself. You're just my cover. Duke Selen bristled a bit and said, you're still arrogant and reckless, prince. The prince laughed in response. Heh, when you return, tell the king everything will go according to plan. The prince mobilized the royal cavalry, and a massive convoy began moving through the kingdom's roads toward Yenhard's castle. At that moment, we returned to Yenhard's castle, where the battle grows more brutal. Hill unleashed everything he had. He used space magic to form a giant magical hand that descended into the hall to trap Yenhard and Xian. The scene was terrifying, with flashes of fire and magical energy filling the place. Yenhard laughed mockingly and said, my magic is destructive. Anyone who withstands this power gets their body destroyed before they get a chance to counterattack. But we have our family's hidden magic. Suddenly, Yenhard and Xian unleashed their family's special firepower, a wave of flames that swept through everything. He blocked the attack with his advanced wind magic, absorbing the flames and blocking their path. Yenhard laughed, saying, we've got you busy. Pay attention, and you won't be able to withstand our next attacks. Yenhard used lightning magic, and brilliant flashing arrows appeared that destroyed whatever they passed through. But Hill reinforced his body with strengthening magic and shields, and sent the arrows back with force, shocking Yenhard and Xian. How is he reflecting our attacks? Impossible. Hill switched to attack mode and reversed the firestorm on them. Xian shouted in amazement. He only saw it once, but he's not just copying Ides unleashing it faster than we are. Xian struggled to protect himself with his magical shield, but was stunned when Hill's flames pierced his defenses. But then he gets shocked when he sees that Hale suddenly disappeared from his place. Xian looks around, trying to find him, confused. But then Hale appears right behind him and says, that attack of yours was just a trap. Xian's stunned and goes, how did you use teleportation magic that fast? Hale starts using corruption magic on Xian, and Xian freaks out and starts running, thinking to himself, there's no way I can defend against this kind of magic. But then Hale uses mana line magic to attack him and says, you're not going to be able to run away. Even though mana threads are usually weak against fire. Xian was certain that fire magic would destroy them, but was surprised by the flexibility and strangeness of Hill's mana threads. Yenhard tried to finish Hill with a direct lightning strike, but Hill produced an amazing lightning rod and drew the bolt toward him and contained it with his technique, leaving Yenhard and his son witnessing a true miracle. He absorbed it without getting hurt. What kind of magic is this? Their eyes widened in terror. Are we facing someone who's surpassed the limits of great mages, or has his kingdom's magic nearly become legendary? Hill watched the lightning rod while smiling with satisfaction, and said to himself, "Good thing I prepared for moments like this and set up this emergency magic beforehand." He knew that the strongest lightning attacks couldn't be easily blocked, so he developed the lightning rod capable of absorbing all electrical charges and converting them harmlessly. At this moment, Yenhard shouted from intense anger and shock, "Tell me, what type of magic is this?" Hill replied, deliberately getting on his nerves. "And why would I tell my enemy my secret? Do you think I'm that stupid?" Hill's laughter and arrogant confidence rose, while Yenhard was sweating and his mouth was dripping with frustration. "This young punk is experienced like the most skilled mages. Where did he get all this? This is the first time we've seen such a strange type of magic." Thus, Yenhard muttered with suppressed internal anger. Hill explained while showing off, "I prepared this magic specifically for emergencies. In any battle where someone might face me with massive lightning power, they'll discover that any bolt you send toward me will be completely absorbed in this rod, just like lightning rods do in my previous world. You rely on attack and neglect defense, but I've been focusing from day one on studying all defensive magic theoretically and practically, because strong defense is the reason a mage survives even if their offensive power reaches its peak." Hill continued his explanation in front of the shocked Yenhard. "Fire magic might counter water, but if the fire increases, the water boils and injures the user. That's how elemental science works. Attack alone is deadly stupidity. So I tested all types of defensive magic and chose the best for each situation. And he found out that fire magic can be countered by earth magic, and water magic gets blocked by organic magic. Wind magic can be stopped with earth and metal magic. Every element has its counter, and mages use that for defense. But lightning magic was always the hardest to defend against. Most mages would try to block it with earth magic, but if the lightning spell was powerful enough, it could break through earth magic easily. That's when he decided to use the knowledge he had from his previous life, like using lightning rods to absorb the charge and send it into the ground. Even if they used the strongest lightning magic, those rods would still work. Meanwhile, Hale just kept laughing and told him that he didn't know much about magic and that his arrogance was going to be the reason he dies. At this point, Hill turned to Xian and said coldly, "Now it's your turn. You're the first to feel regret." Hill unleashed portal magic, from which emerged a massive magical hand that grabbed Xian before he could respond or defend himself, and knocked him down with terrible force until he hit the wall unconscious, his body bleeding, and his eyes lost in emptiness. Yenhard screamed in shock, "Xian, this is impossible. He defeated my son, whom I trained with my own hands in the blink of an eye." Hill laughed and added, "Your chance of survival has dropped below 0 now. You're the last one left." He looked at Yenhard with gloating and announced, "Xian is lucky he lived, but at best he won't heal for at least a year, if he can move at all. But now, the time has come for revenge against you, great Marquis." And Hill summoned his most beautiful and powerful magic, launching magical light arrows in the hall directly at Yenhard. Yenhard was shocked by the magnitude of the magic's power, so he put all his defenses on alert and brought out his strongest magical shields. Yenhard tried to respond with fire magic, but Hill dodged his attack with lightning-fast speed. Hill shouted in challenge, "You're very annoying. It's time I finish you off." Hill prepared his most violent light magic and warned Yenhard, "Don't dream that your shields will help you against this magic." And as the light arrows began cracking inside Yenhard's shields and hitting him directly, signs of amazement exploded in his eyes. "This is impossible. I'm the strongest mage on this continent. How do I lose to a 17-year-old boy? Impossibly." Yenhard fell severely injured and collapsed on the ground next to his son, unconscious, and with him the prestige of power he had boasted about his whole life was shattered. The soldiers shouted, "This is unbelievable. He finished the Marquis. He crushed the strongest mage with humiliating ease." Hill approached Yenhard's body covered in sweat and blood and brought out his own dark magic, then said, "I won't kill you. That would be too easy for you and would make my mother sadder. I'll strip you of the power you've bragged about your whole life, just as you planned to do to us." He began breaking the magic circles in Yenhard's body with each screaming breath of pain from the latter, and Hill was whispering, "All your pain today is my mother's right, just as you killed her husband and deprived her of this child's father." And in the midst of his torture, Hana suddenly screamed, "Hill, stop!" Hill froze his magic and rushed to look at her in shock. "What are you doing here? You have nothing left here but revenge." He tried to explain, "Mother, all this is for you. They can't escape punishment for what they did." Hana approached with tears gleaming on her cheeks and said, "Enough, Hill. I don't want you to become like them someday. What distinguishes you from them is your kind heart and pure mind. You're stronger than becoming a monster full of hatred like them. That's what I fear for you." Hill froze in place, listening, deep amazement flooding his heart. Hana added, "I knew you were strong, maybe even as strong as my father, but you truly amazed me. Today, you're stronger than all of them, and you built your battle rounds from ancient magic. I never imagined you'd reach a position that my own family never reached. I watched you grow before my eyes, but never imagined you'd become a genius and unbeatable mage. Despite all the difficulties, despite the deep hatred Hana felt toward her father and brother at that moment, she couldn't let Hill finish them off or get rid of them completely, because she realized that if that happened, it would leave a stain on Hill's pure soul, and would make him resemble them little by little. Whatever brutality they were on wouldn't save him from a veil of hatred that would inhabit him forever. She approached her son with tenderness, and her tears gleaming as she said to him in a trembling voice, "Oh Hill, I know that I now despise my father and brother more than ever before, but I can't watch you take their path, the path of vengeance and brutality. You've defeated them, and they won't be able to threaten us after today. I don't want you to corrupt your soul for their sake. You're not like them at all, and you never will be." Hill was hesitant. He looked into his mother's eyes full of pain and said with resentment and anger, "Mother, I can't accept that easily. These two, if left alive, will try to take revenge and will pose a danger to us, even to the whole world. All their hatred will come back at us again. I want to guarantee us a future free from their evils." Hana was calm this time, took a deep breath and said to him, "You're right, they are indeed scoundrels and don't deserve pity, but this time we have the real winning card. We have memory magic that recorded all their crimes and confessions. If they threaten us or try to hurt us, we'll publish everything and their matter will be finished forever." Hill looked at her thoughtfully and finally understood what she meant, and said, "I think you're right. If I finish all their magic and bewitch the Yenhard family, nothing will remain but hatred from the whole kingdom against me. I'll become the enemy of the biggest noble family, and I'll have to run my whole life. Being together is more important than any revenge." He turned to the rest, saying, "I won't seal all their magic, and I won't torture them anymore. Their matter is finished and their power is over." Everyone rallied around him, and Hana announced that they had to leave this place forever. "We won't return to this miserable castle. We'll search for a quiet spot on the continent. No one will be able to defeat us or control us after today." Before they left, Hana turned to him and apologized tenderly. "I was wrong, Hill. I shouldn't have brought you here, and I should never have thought that power and lineage were more important than our small family and your heart. You're my priority now. You and your companions. Nothing is more important than my family." Hill felt real warmth in his heart and continued saying, "Having you with me is my entire life. Power means nothing to me if I lose you. Selena Helena, you're my family too." The two girls smiled and said, "We're your family and we'll never leave you no matter what happens." Hill pulled them to his side and said, "I'll take care of you. I won't let anyone bring evil near us after today." Hill summoned the golem beside him and said, "I have to give you a name that suits you now. From today forward, your name will be Tana." The golem answered in a deep voice, "Thank you, my lord. I'm honored by this name." Hill prepared to activate the teleportation magic to take his family away, but at that moment, a powerful attack broke through the barrier of the place, and they heard a voice roaring, "I won't let you escape." He attacked them with a sword blazing with dark energy. Hill quickly formed a magical shield to protect those with him, and Tana reacted with the force of his massive aura to protect everyone. But the pressure was enormous. Prince Blind appeared while energies were flying, and said with a wicked smile, "As I expected, Count Selon himself entered the battlefield, commander of the Royal Guard Forces Blind. What an opponent!" Fury ignited in Hill's eyes, and with a decisive look he ordered Tana, "Release your third power seal. There's no room for mercy now." The golem removed the seal, and his power escalated to an aura that made the earth shake and electricity crackle around his body. Then he confronted Selon's attack with grace and strength, pushing him back. Count Selon stood amazed, contemplating the golem, then addressing Hill with admiration and warning, "Young man, I don't remember you from before. You're a great sorcerer, and your ability to defeat the strongest person on the continent at this age amazed me. I have a proposal. Join us. For the throne itself, we'll forgive you for everything, even make you higher ranked than a marquis. How much do we need your talent?" But Prince Blind intervened angrily. "Ridiculous. This bastard destroyed our family, declared war on the entire kingdom. I want his head. Kill him now, Duke." The prince waved his sword in Hill's face with clear threat, adding, "And when you're done with him, his mother will be mine, and no one will dare stop me after today." Hill looked at the prince with real contempt and said coldly to the Duke, "I refuse your offers. I have no place in this kingdom as long as this scumbag is in it, and my goal is to end his reign forever." Then he directed his orders to Tana, "Hold your ground against Count Selon. I'll handle the other piece of trash." The golem stood before the count, saying, "Get ready. I'll show you unmatched power." Selon replied with a smile, "Come on then. Show me everything you've got." As for Hill, he launched toward the prince, unleashing his his maximum energy. He addressed blind soldiers. "You're strong sword masters. These powers won't satisfy you, but they're not like any magic you've experienced before." He released giant arrows of light that tore through the air and inflicted serious injuries on them, then summoned a magical hammer of light and struck Prince Blind with tremendous force, sending him far away with his unconscious soldiers and bringing him to death's door. Duke Ceylon was struck with extreme amazement and wanted to rush to save the prince, but Tana's power was enough to disable and pressure him. Hale says that the magic hammer strike causes a lot of internal injuries to its target. He explains that while external wounds can be healed with magic, internal ones are much harder to treat. After his attack, he's sure that the bastard is going to live with some serious damage for a long time. Meanwhile, Doc Sloan, who's fighting the golem, is shocked and says he wants to help the prince, but he just can't beat the golem. Then Tan comes at him with full force, and Sloan manages to block the attack as much as he can, but it's tough. He's never struggled like this before, as Hill ordered him saying, "Withdraw, Tana. Return to your magical space immediately." Tana nodded respectfully, addressing Hill. "Very well, I'll comply with the order," and his aura began to fade gradually as he returned to his safe magical realm. But Ceylon, who was torn between anger and stubbornness, shouted in defiance, "I won't let you escape from here before our battle is finished," and he unleashed his special technique, Aura Swords, to attack Tana's body from all sides, piercing through him and nearly destroying him. Tana's body collapsed momentarily under the strikes, but the surprise was that Tana healed himself in mere seconds, and his aura emerged anew as if nothing had happened. Ceylon couldn't contain his amazement. "This is impossible. I've never seen anything like this." But Tana looked at him for moments, then completed his withdrawal to the magical space and closed the portal behind him. Ceylon smiled sarcastically and said, addressing himself, "I thought I finally defeated him, but he was just toying with me. Even when I hit him with my strongest attacks, he regenerated with amazing speed. It seems everything that happened was just a power test, nothing more." At this moment, Hill approached Ceylon and took out the golden coin in which he had stored his magical memories. He held the coin and destroyed it in front of Ceylon, saying, "I promised Yenhard that I would destroy the coin after we finished, and here I am doing it." But he didn't realize I made thousands of copies of it. He looked at Ceylon with a warning glance and added, "Let Yenhard beware, and the prince, and all my enemies from thinking of pursuing me. If they just try, their dark secrets will spread throughout all the kingdoms through memory magic. I'm not your enemy. You're truly noble, unlike those others. But I advise you, the next time we meet, I hope we'll be allies, not opponents. And be careful. Don't let those around you tarnish your reputation or use you for their vile purposes." Hill activated the teleportation magic and took with him Hana, Selena, and Helena to a safe place far from the palace and battlefield. He smiled as he bid farewell to Ceylon, saying, "Maintain your position. You're stronger and smarter than they expect." Ceylon shook his head in admiration and said to himself, "This boy is truly a genius. I wish we could become friends in the future." Ceylon then stared toward Prince Blind and the Marquis and the rest of the nobles who were defeated, a heavy feeling filling his heart. What am I going to do with all these people now? He wondered as he watched the traces of defeat in their eyes and silence. And outside the palace, rumors spread like wildfire across the continent about Hill, the young sorcerer who defeated the kingdom's Marquis, and spread terror in Prince Blind himself, and was even able to create a battle golem at the level of sword legends. Everyone talked about his power, about memory magic, about an army whose creation could change the balance of power in the entire world. Hill moved with his family to a secret emergency house he had prepared beforehand, in an isolated valley, and sat thinking about their coming fate. How will we live from now on? We can never return to Nizar City, as I've destroyed an entire marquisate and caused serious disability to the kingdom's prince. Our staying there will bring destruction and ignite war against the town itself. He realized that the kingdom wouldn't stop pursuing him, but they were also terrified of the memory magic he possessed. This is my first real battle, and I learned a lot from it. There's no sorcerer who has the ability or magical diversity like my power. If I could develop stronger spells, I'd become invincible. And he thought of Tana, his golem who fought for the first time, so he admired his endurance and genius magical regeneration. Tana is at the same level as the strongest sword masters in the world. Maybe he'll even surpass them with time and support from me. If I could create an entire army like Tana, I'd rule the entire world. But making one of them took me 3 years and enormous wealth. But he remembered the biggest lesson. I can't do everything alone no matter how great my power becomes. I needed allies and helpers to win this battle. In the midst of his thoughts, Hana entered with Selena and Helena and said with a serious look, "Hill, I want to ask you a question I've had for a while." He was surprised, then smiled and asked her, "What is it, Mom?" she said. Since when did you become this powerful? How did your magic grow to become the strongest on the continent? Hill paused for a moment and said, I was powerful from the beginning, Mom, but I hid it. I was afraid your view of me would change or you'd fear me. I always wanted you as a mother, not a magic teacher. Hana felt sorry and interrupted him. I'm sorry, Hill. I never meant to treat you like a stranger. Even when I saw your near miraculous magic, I felt you were my son before anything else. Hill smiled and said affectionately, no matter what changes happen, you're my family, and I'll remain Hill, your son, even if I become the strongest person in the entire world. Helena and Selena laughed and said to him, you're our family and your power can't change that. Then Hill took the leader's position again and said to everyone, because of recent events we can't return to Nizar, and this will drag the town into unbearable troubles. We have to choose another kingdom to move to. The five sat discussing, and Lena asked in amazement, and will we build our own magic tower there like you say? Hill answered confidently, exactly. Magic towers are signs of power on the continent, and making them is limited only to sorcerers of the 7th circle and above. Our tower will warn everyone against approaching us or trying to harm us. It's a symbol of protection and isolation, and from it we'll start building our future. And while rumors scatter across the continent and Hill's fame increases day by day, his family began their journey to choose a new homeland and build a power base that no one could penetrate or threaten them again. Because of the importance of magic towers and their enormous defensive value, and also because they control surrounding areas and ensure safety from monster attacks, most kingdoms are prepared to fund the construction of these towers, and even sometimes compete to get sorcerers who build them. Here amazement appeared on Lena's face at the extent of this privilege's influence, and she said, really, kingdoms fund sorcerers to build towers? Hill smiled confidently and answered, absolutely. In most places where there are no magic towers, their people face huge losses with monster attacks. That's why they'll accept any offer from a powerful sorcerer capable of building a tower to protect them. Hannah asked about the noble's situation there, so Hill told her, the kingdom's king is a respectable person loved by his people, and his nobles trust him. There are only problems around the conflict between his sons over the throne, especially with the princess, but that's not our problem. Our only mission there is to defeat the monsters, not political interference. He continued explaining his plan. The kingdom needs someone to defeat the monsters in Venta Valley. If we control the valley, we'll gain power and prestige in addition to our own magic tower. The family showed their agreement and enthusiasm, and Helena said, will we find a swordsmanship instructor for me? Hill laughed and said, Dolian has a very strong knight army, and I'll find you a better teacher than you could wish for. Selena also asked Hill to continue training her in magic, admitting that she felt weak for the first time in front of his battles, and that she was determined from now on to become stronger and protect the family with him. As for Hannah, she said insistently, I want to learn magic and become strong too. I want to protect you all, not just rely on you. Hill embraced them all with a proud smile. I'll do everything I can to make you the strongest. And together, they decided to prepare immediately to travel to Dolian and start a new life with strength and a clear plan. In the kingdom of Dolian, the king was in the middle of the forest with a group of his soldiers, and monsters were attacking them from all directions. The soldiers warned the king anxiously, Your Majesty, there are too many monsters. You must retreat. The shocked king stared at the approaching hordes and screamed, They'll destroy the entire kingdom. When will a miracle appear? After a bitter escape and the king's survival with his companions, Duke Aelius, the captain of the royal guard, came to him and asked with honesty and concern, Your Majesty, are you all right? You look sad. The king confessed his burden. I'm thinking about my 3 sons. Their struggle for the throne intensifies day after day, and I fear this will lead to the kingdom's destruction. Aelius reassured him. The atmosphere is tense now, but it will pass. In the end, your family, the king said with a sigh. The throne isn't just a title. The people's tears and their lives are on our necks. The eldest Maxil is cruel and shows no mercy to anyone. The second Fram pretends to be kind, but has equal cruelty inside. The third Goodwin is kind and compassionate, and the others hate him. Unfortunately, most nobles support the first and second. Only Elias and Count Lomir are by Goodwin's side. If the brothers ally against him, he's finished. I fear I'll struggle with this conflict and leave you to fight after me while the monster's evil increases. I must resolve this now. Suddenly, the forest's alarm interrupted the king's thoughts, where Duke Elias was preparing for a new battle. Your Majesty, prepare. There are enemies among the trees. One of the soldiers was laughing, then attacking his companions, revealing himself as a traitor among them. One of the guards was killed and everyone was on alert, so Elias screamed, You traitor, why? Mysterious men appeared among the trees laughing mockingly. We were in disguise, waiting for this day. You won't save the king tonight. The king and guards were shocked by the open betrayal, and the king understood. There's betrayal from within. One of my sons did this to seize the throne. Far from the forest, In a magic tower in the middle of the kingdom, the wizard Carsaman was communicating magically with someone named Raisin. Raisin, why are you contacting us without our master's permission? We have difficult orders. Carsaman, calm down. Your master is busy, and this is a message from him. 2 missions. First, the king's assassination has already begun in the Mantis Mountains. Soon the first prince will become king, and he'll unleash his golem to clean the Monster Valley and gain popularity and consolidate his rule. Then your plan to invade neighboring countries begins. Raisin, amazed, and no one will compete with our master's golem. Carsaman, that was true, but recent news from the kingdom of Blard changed everything. A 7-circle wizard appeared there who summoned a very powerful golem, defeated the strongest marquis in Blard with it. His golem was distinguished by special awareness unlike any other. Raisin froze, his eyes widening. Impossible. No one but me could do that. Who is this wizard? Raisin couldn't believe his ears when he heard what Carsaman said about the appearance of a new golem that possessed special awareness. He looked extremely stunned and wondered with signs of worry and amazement drawn on his face. Special awareness? How? This is just a legend. His breathing was quickening as he thought about the possibility of a real competitor in the field of golem manufacturing, he who thought himself the only one capable of that through years of effort and experimentation. But Carsaman remained calm and told him in a practical tone, actually, there was an incident that happened in the kingdom of Ballard. Someone used a powerful magic with 7 circles, and he was able to summon a golem that was insanely strong. That golem completely wiped out the most powerful mage family using just that magic. Raisin is shocked and asks, are you sure about this? Carsaman nods and says, yeah, I'm sure. I found out that the golem he summoned was as strong as swordmasters, but then he adds, and more than that, it had its own consciousness. Raisin's eyes widen the moment he hears that. Its own consciousness? How's that possible? That's just a legend. Carsaman continued while changing the subject, saying, I just want to know, how strong is the golem you make compared to the strength of that new golem that appeared? Signs of worry appeared on Raisin's face as he replied, the truth is, I can't make a golem that possesses self-awareness, because that requires special dark magic that I don't possess. All I can do is make only 1 golem monthly for the kingdom's army, and its cost is very expensive in terms of resources and energy. Deep impact appeared in Raisin's voice as he confessed, this information you're talking about is surprising to me. How can someone other than me be able to make a battle golem with power equal to great swordmasters, and worse than that, it possesses special awareness. This certainly seems like a lie or just a rumor, hard to believe without seeing evidence, but Carsaman showed no hesitation, continuing with a confident tone. It's certain that making this type of rare golem takes a very long time. For this reason, we don't need to worry about it now. But despite that, I'll leave the investigation file with the wizard who attacked the kingdom of Blard and the golem he summoned in your hands. You must know everything about his power and how he managed to make something like this. Raisin listened to the instructions and replied firmly, absolutely. Even without you asking for it, I intended to go myself to the wizard, who was able to make a golem with this power and awareness, to discover for myself how he did something I couldn't do myself throughout my life. We then moved to Hill, who had already arrived with his family to the kingdom of Dolian, using his own teleportation magic quickly and skillfully. And Hill stood on the city's outskirts, looking at the buildings and crowded streets, confirming to himself that he must find a way to meet the king without attracting attention or creating chaos that might reveal his presence to the kingdom of Blard at this time. He realized he had to be extremely careful, as appearing openly with his current power would attract the attention of all wizards and all state agencies. Hill kept thinking deeply, should I infiltrate the royal palace secretly, or look for another way to meet the king? Hill's mind kept spinning with many thoughts, examining the options before him, trying to balance the risks. At that moment, Hannah arrived with Selena and Helena, showing some exhaustion and hunger. So she asked Hill, what are you doing, Hill? Don't you feel hungry like us? We should look for a nearby restaurant and sit to rest. Hill smiled and said, all right, we'll look for a restaurant and rest first, then I'll think calmly about how to meet the king. But before they could move, Hill suddenly sensed a huge magical aura rising from the far end of the city. So he stopped suddenly and began examining its source with extreme caution, saying, there's a tremendous aura that appeared suddenly, an aura containing the power of a terrifying swordmaster. I think it came from the northern side, from the forest near the royal palace. Serious events must be taking place there. Confusion appeared on Hannah and she asked Hill, what will you do? Is it dangerous? He replied quickly while focusing his attention toward the aura's source. I feel something suspicious is happening. There's more than one person releasing their aura. Clearly, it seems a decisive battle is taking place now near the palace. No one risks doing this without an extremely dangerous reason, Hannah said worriedly. We need to move quickly. Hill agreed and added, you go to the restaurant without me. I'll investigate the truth and catch up with you quickly. Then he used flight magic and moved like lightning toward the forest. At the same time, the king king was indeed in the middle of the forest, surrounded by loyal soldiers with tension controlling the situation. While Duke Elias was warning the king, there are a large number of soldiers surrounding us, using magical tools that hide them and make them hard to hit or see. The king felt real fear as he whispered, "This way we'll all die here. The kingdom's fate hangs on our fate." Suddenly, a knight who was hiding in the shadows appeared and pounced on the king with his huge sword, saying savagely, "This is your end, king." Finally, the king felt terror and imagined a tragic end, but suddenly a solid magical shield surrounded him, blocking the violent attack. So the king wondered in amazement, "What's happening? Who protected me with this strange magic?" Hill appeared powerfully and confidently from among the trees, saying in a strong voice, "I don't know exactly what's happening in this place, but I won't allow any gang of scoundrels to hurt innocents like this." Then he looked at the knights around the king and said, "Will you withdraw quietly, or do you want me to be forced to eliminate you all?" The knights refused to withdraw, so Hill answered them with extreme firmness while staring at them, "I warned you from the beginning. Now you chose your fate." As for the king and Elias, they were watching in amazement. Who is this mighty wizard who fights with such power and confidence? When one of the soldiers addressed Hill pleadingly, "Please, save the king! Move him away!" Hill stood surprised and asked the king, "Are you really the king of Dolian? This is the first time I've seen you." The soldier confirmed his royal identity, and here Hill looked at the knights who attacked the king and said, "Now I have an additional motive to eliminate you. I won't allow you to survive." Hill started using his dimensional space magic and commanded Tana to come out. "Tana, come out now! You must destroy all our enemies." Tana appeared from the dimensional space and greeted Hill, saying, "Your command, my lord. I'll start immediately." The king and Duke Elias watched Tana emerge from the heart of space, and amazement and terror showed on the king's face as he said, "Impossible. I heard about a golden golem that appeared in the kingdom of Blard by the hand of a terrible sorcerer. This young man doesn't look strong, but he's hiding immense power equal to a 7-circle sorcerer." Hill moved immediately, releasing a powerful ice spell that froze all the knights' movements directly. He then turned to Tana, saying, "I've stopped their movement. Now it's your turn to finish them all, but leave only 2 so we can interrogate them later." Tana executed the orders with precision and calm. "They will die as you commanded, my lord." He advanced toward the knights, unleashing his golden sword, wrapped in a terrifying fiery aura. He rushed at them with amazing force and finished them in seconds. The scene was shocking to the king and Elias, who said, "My word, this is unnatural power. This is truly the legend of Blard." While everyone was in shock, Hill approached the king and checked on him. "Are you all right? My name is Hill. I'm a 7-circle sorcerer." The king thanked him, saying, "You saved us from certain death today. I don't know how to thank you." Hill replied briefly, "This is the duty of any strong person. I can't stand by and do nothing in the face of such injustice." Then he pointed to the wounded soldiers, saying, "I left you 2 of the traitors. Interrogate them well to find out who's behind this betrayal." The king was impressed, saying, "You didn't just save us, but also thought about exposing the real traitors. Inviting you to dinner would be a great honor for me. I hope you'll accept." Hill sat for moments contemplating the situation, thinking about his family and the next step, and he began thinking with a slight smile that showed his confidence in himself and his choices. Hill was surprised by the king's offer and official invitation, and stopped for a moment wondering to himself whether it would be better to accept this invitation or not. Signs of confusion appeared on his face for moments, but the king stepped closer to him and insisted, saying with sincere pleading, "Please, I must thank you in a way that befits what you did for us." Hill laughed and answered the king with unexpected cheerfulness, as if he couldn't believe his situation. "I never imagined even in my dreams that the king of the country would be the one asking for my friendship with such insistence first." Then Hill added simply but said it firmly, "Well, I accept your invitation and will be happy to meet you at the palace tomorrow." The king smiled immediately, and pure happiness showed on him, and he thanked Hill warmly, saying, "Thank you. I'll ask my palace's personal sorcerer to keep the magical teleportation circle active, so you can use it tomorrow without any trouble or waiting, and enter directly into the palace to meet me." Hill greeted him with a smile and said, "It's agreed. I'll be there as soon as possible to meet your majesty tomorrow." The king replied while nodding with a look of relief, "I'll be waiting for you eagerly." As for Duke Elias, he approached the king after Hill's departure and said to him with great respect, "I didn't think anyone in this world could save us like this at the right time. Now I'm completely sure that this is the 7-circle sorcerer whose fame spread in Blard, the same one who owns the legendary golden golem." The king looked at Elias and answered him, "If we could just communicate with him and make an agreement with him, I think we could erase the threat of monsters from the kingdom forever." Elias nodded in agreement and said, "This sorcerer seems to be approaching the 8th circle. If he becomes part of the kingdom, that would be the greatest gain among all its glory and treasures. No doubt this day, when we almost got killed, has brought us priceless luck." As for Hill, he returned from his royal meeting and hurried to meet his family where everyone was waiting eagerly. He sat among them and told them the details of what happened, including his meeting with the king himself and his intervention to save him from the assassination attempt. Amazement was clear on their faces, especially when Hill said, "I never expected to meet the kingdom's king personally, and after saving him, he invited me to visit him at the palace to thank me officially." Selena quickly asked him with interest, "And did you think of a clear plan to get his support and build the sorcerer's tower?" Hill answered her confidently, "Don't worry, I've already thought of a guaranteed plan to win his full support for building the tower, and I'll execute it tomorrow." Hannah was struck by curiosity and asked him with great interest, "What is this plan, Hill? I want to know its details now," Selena said supportively. "Right, tell us." Hill laughed and said, "You'll see everything for yourselves after I execute it. I don't want to spoil the surprise now." While they were exchanging conversation and laughter, two strange young men appeared approaching Hannah, Selena, and Helena, as if they were seeking attention. One of them approached, and without any respect, grabbed Selena's arm, saying, "Haven't you thought that you deserve someone better than this failed boy?" At the same moment, Hill pulled the young man's hand away with cold force, and looked at him with an angry look. "And who allowed you to touch my family?" The young man looked around in surprise and said with emotion, "Why are you interfering? This doesn't concern you." Hill answered firmly, "This is my family. I advise you to flee from here and not try your luck or your end will be here." The young man felt fear, so he pulled himself back and looked at his friend and said, "Come on, let's leave." They left the place quickly without any resistance, and after they went away, Helena and Selena looked at Hill with great admiration for his courage and defense of them. Selena said, trying to get Hill's attention with a nice gesture, "I knew these two were impressed by you, Hill, but now I'm completely sure of their feelings." She added teasingly, "It's true I was scared, but your presence makes everything better." Hill answered calmly, "You're capable of defending yourselves, and I don't understand why you didn't act directly. We'll intensify training soon." They said to him, "We promise you, Hill, if anyone tries to approach us again, we'll act quickly." Hana, for her part, smiled and said in a warm tone, "You're smart, Hill, but many times I don't know if you're really a genius or a fool." The next day, Hill prepared to go to the royal palace to accept the king's invitation. He said goodbye to his family gently. "I'm going to meet the king and I'll return to you quickly. Use your time training while I'm there." They responded supportively. "All right, we'll continue our training as you requested, and be careful, Hill." Hill used teleportation magic and headed immediately toward the royal palace. Meanwhile, the palace sorcerer sat nervously waiting for the strange guest to appear. He said to himself, "I didn't think a day would come when I'd activate a teleportation circle to receive a guest by direct order from the king himself. Who could this person be, I wonder?" Suddenly, the magic whirlpool ignited, and the teleportation circle began to glow, and Hill appeared from its heart. The sorcerer felt great shock. "Impossible. I sense the aura of a seven-circle sorcerer. Who is this boy?" Hill advanced to the great hall and contemplated the palace with magnificence and amazement. "This place is much more luxurious than I imagined." The palace sorcerer approached Hill and asked him eagerly, "Are you the sorcerer who saved the king?" Hill smiled and replied, "Indeed, I am." The sorcerer burst into tears and laughter and hugged Hill warmly, saying, "I never imagined that a seven-circle sorcerer would appear in the kingdom. Only now do I feel relief. I can hand over my responsibilities." Hill was surprised and wondered about the sorcerer's identity and why he seemed so emotional, then said questioningly, "Are you all right? Please leave me alone for a bit." The sorcerer apologized embarrassedly and said, "I'm just affected by the enormous mana power you released. I apologize if I caused you any disturbance." Hill reassured him and said briefly, "No problem." Then the sorcerer began asking him with amazement, "And how did you reach this power at your young age? In the world of sorcerers, this is almost impossible. Most genius sorcerers don't reach the seventh circle except after many long years." Hill was surprised by his questions and thought for a moment that he was facing someone with strange quirks. Hill looked around inside a room full of books, spells, and complex magic studies. He was sure in himself that he was facing a sorcerer obsessed with magic no less than his own obsession. The sorcerer introduced himself, officially saying, "My name is Nelson, and I apologize again for my behavior. I'm obsessed with studying types of incomprehensible magic. I've never seen a sorcerer with strange abilities like you, and that's why I admire you so much." Then Nelson continued enthusiastically, "We must go to the king now. He's waiting for you eagerly in the great hall." Hill agreed and said smiling, "All right, let's go." The two walked through the palace corridors decorated with magic and gold engravings, and Nelson couldn't stop looking at Hill with amazement, saying to him from time to time, "Your magic is unnaturally dense. I've never seen magic with this composition. How do you do that?" Hill gave him one of his magical theories and said to him, "I thought you were annoying at first, but talking with you is enjoyable, because you have real passion like my passion for magic." Nelson contemplated the theory with amazement and said, "Why are you this exceptional? Even your magical concepts and theories are different from all the sorcerers whose works I've studied." Hill answered, "I don't intend to share my magic secrets or theories with the public. I'm allowing you to see them only because I really appreciate your genuine passion for magic." Nelson said gratefully, "Thank you very much. It's an honor for me." While they were on their way to the king, Hill stood in front of one of the windows overlooking the sea and the green forests of Tolian and its distant mountain peaks, and thought admiringly, "This kingdom is indescribably wealthy. Its land is fertile and its mineral resources are enormous, and it seems to be the best place I can start my future for my family." Then Nelson asked Hale if he could take a look at the theory he wrote. Hale said, "Sure," and handed him the magical theory. Nelson was stunned and said, "Your magic. It's completely different from how other mages use it." "The way you study and approach it is on a whole other level," Hale replied. "I don't usually share my magic or theories with the public. I'm only letting you see this because I respect your curiosity." Nelson thanked him sincerely. Finally, when they arrived, the king was waiting and saying, "Where's Hill? I wonder if he got caught up with Nelson and his studies and didn't come." At that moment, Dalton, the king's assistant, appeared and informed His Majesty, "Mr. Hill has arrived with Nelson." The king warmly welcomed Hill and said, "Welcome to our palace. It's an honor for us to have a wizard of this level and power among us." The king asked Hill, "What do you think of our country? Do you like it?" But Nelson interrupted him enthusiastically. "Hill, you must stay with us. You're simply a new definition of magical genius, and the level of the entire kingdom will change with your presence." The king smiled and said, "Don't worry, Nelson. I've seen Hill's talent with my own eyes, and I don't need your confirmation." Then he asked Nelson to leave them to talk privately, saying, "Leave us now. I want to discuss an important matter with Mr. Hill." Nelson left the place accepting the order and whispered to Hill, "I hope you'll show me more of your ideas and theories at the earliest opportunity." Hill replied with a smile, "Promise." Hill and the king remained alone in the hall. The king said bashfully, "I hope you'll excuse me. Nelson must have bothered you with his chatter. He's extremely curious and loves magic like crazy." Hill answered, "Don't worry about it, sir. I enjoyed talking with him. I really thank you for the warm reception and hospitality." Before Hill could bow respectfully, the king stopped him and stepped toward him, saying, "On the contrary, I'm the one who should bow to you and thank you for saving me and the entire kingdom. Without your courage and timely intervention, the country would have been lost." Then he ordered the servants to bring a grand feast to celebrate Hill and told him, "I didn't know what foods you prefer, so I ordered the preparation of everything you could possibly think of." Hill laughed and said, "Anyone who deals with you, Your Majesty, will realize that you're a noble man. I've been convinced for a long time that anyone who treats me with generosity, I'll respond in kind and support them as much as I can." The king looked at him optimistically and said, "And that's what I want from you." Hill took the initiative to ask him, "Did you invite me to ask me to build a magic tower and be your personal wizard?" The king was genuinely surprised and said to him, "You guessed well, Hill. Indeed, I want you to build a magic tower in the heart of the kingdom, not with the aim of increasing the kingdom's military or political power, but to protect my people from the monsters that attack us every year from the monster lands. We suffer greatly from them, and at the same time, we're caught in a vicious cycle of succession war among the king's sons, and the country is about to split at any moment because of their greed and poor management." The king shook his head sadly as he spoke to Hill about the state his kingdom had come to, and said with deep sadness and concern, "Because of the increasing conflict between my sons over the throne, both the first and second princes have withdrawn their strongest army units from their natural positions and concentrated their forces in disputed areas in preparation for any possible civil war. The result was catastrophic for the western regions of the kingdom, as they became practically unprotected and turned into an open arena constantly exposed to monster attacks that destroyed entire villages and spread terror among the inhabitants." The king paused for a moment, looking at Hill with a gaze that carried real hope and a last glimmer of hope in his eyes, then said, "All I want now, Hill, is for my kingdom to one day return to the security and peace it once had, for every citizen in it to be safe and secure in their village and city. But for me to achieve this goal, the first step must be eliminating these monsters first, and that's why I'm forced to stay with the existing forces and focus on ending the conflict between the princes myself. As for you, if you agree to build the magic tower here, all enemy kingdoms will fear even thinking about interfering or attacking us. Only then will I be able to protect my throne and give the position of king to the third prince who deserves it and end the conflict permanently." Then the king looked at Hill intently, emotion filling his voice, and asked him quietly and pleadingly, "So, do you agree to my offer, Hill? My kingdom really needs you. We need any power that extends a helping hand to us. I beg you, no one here has your strength." Hill was moved by the king's honesty and sincere intentions, and surprise appeared in his eyes before he smiled reassuringly, and said while looking intently into the king's eyes, "I saw nothing in your eyes but real determination and insistence on protecting your kingdom. If you were just trying to use me, me, I would have felt it immediately. I saw in you a ruler who truly loves his people. I'll help you and build the tower, and I'll strive to enable your country to have the security and peace you wished for." The king was extremely happy and his face filled with a smile of hope, and he said to him, "Thank you. I'll provide you with all the materials, experts, builders, and wizards you need to complete the tower. I'm counting on you and I hope you'll finish it as quickly as possible." Hill raised his hand to calm the king's enthusiasm and said firmly, "But there are some conditions, Your Majesty. The most important is that I'll need 3 full years to finish building the magic tower completely. I can't make it in less time no matter what happens, because building a tower at this level requires great concentration, power, and time." The king was surprised and said with emotion, "3 years? That's way too long, Hill. The kingdom won't endure all this time while facing the danger of monsters. Count Love's region has already been devastated, and the ruling family there is about to disappear completely. You must save them as quickly as possible, as they're the family that always handled the monster problem and protected us from their danger. But recently their powerful wizard disappeared, and no one knows what happened to him. After his kidnapping, the number of monsters increased terribly. The region of Count Lovis was the one that suffered the most. Hale was surprised and started wondering if the fallen noble family he'd heard about was actually behind the kidnapping of that mage. Just like the rumors said, and now Countess Lauren Lovez, the Count's only daughter, is the one defending her lands alone. She's a strong swordswoman, but the burden exceeds her ability. I don't want to witness the fall of the Lovez family or the destruction of their region. Hill wondered to himself in surprise. Could the disappearance of the Lovez wizard be because of the Reinhard family? Their thinking about kidnapping wizards isn't something new to them. The king said emphatically, "Countess Lauren is doing her best, but the situation is beyond her capacity. We need you now more than ever." Hill thought for a bit, then answered, "I appreciate your position, but shortening the tower construction period is impossible. However, I can start by directly eliminating the monsters present in Vinta Valley, which is the most dangerous source of threat now, then continue building the tower at the same time. This way we practically protect the kingdom from the monster danger, and there won't be another threat for a long time." The king breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Are you sure you want to face the monsters of Vinta Valley? Many master swordsmen and powerful wizards have failed at that, as they're the most dangerous monsters in the entire kingdom," Hill said with great confidence. "I'm completely confident that I can eliminate all the valley monsters during the tower construction period." He asked about the number of monsters in the valley. The king replied, "Every year around 10,000 monsters come out to fight, but I believe there are around 50,000 still in the valley." Hale nodded. "Yeah, that's a lot. It's gonna take some time to wipe them all out." The king agreed, "Definitely. Are you sure you don't need help? Facing 50,000 monsters is insanely dangerous." Hale just smiled and said, "Don't worry about it. Also, you shouldn't forget who I am, and that I have one of the most powerful magic weapons ever, the Golden Golem. With this power, nothing will be impossible." The king laughed, realizing his power, and said, "True, I forgot for a moment that you're the person whose legend spread in Blard. I was feeling sorry for you because of your young age, but it seems that pity has become a thing of the past. With your presence with us and your Golden Golem, I see that the mission might be one of the easiest battles, despite its difficulty." Then he added with greater confidence, "You'll be the kingdom's hope, and we'll provide you with all the support until you achieve your goal and save us from this nightmare." Hill stood up and thanked the king, and said, "I'll start preparations immediately and return to visit you soon. Thank you for your trust and kind hospitality." Before he left, the king asked him, "Did you get all the information you need?" Hill replied with confirmation, "Yes, and waiting for the teleportation circle to open any time when needed." The king said, smiling, "The teleportation circle will always be open waiting for you." The king hesitated a little, then asked him, "How old are you, Hill?" Hill said, smiling, "Only 17 years old." The king kept looking at him with great amazement as he said, "I never imagined that my kingdom would be saved by a young boy this age, but you're stronger than 1,000 men." Hill left and immediately began gathering information about Vinta Valley, saying to himself, "This valley is famous as the Valley of Death. It has approximately 50,000 manti monsters, and they're bigger and more dangerous than any creatures in the country. The most dangerous among them is the Manti King himself, and he can be distinguished by the glowing jewel on his head, and his ability is enormous, controls all Manti monsters by his will alone. It's said that he equals the power of hundreds of Manti monsters at once, and only a few master swordsmen have faced him, but victory over him is a legend that history will never forget." He added, "Villages and towns near Vinta Valley are constantly exposed to monster attacks, and that's why the king urgently requested me to eliminate them as quickly as possible. And the area most exposed to danger now is Keen Village. In Keen Village, chaos reigns. A number of Manti monsters are violently attacking the village, and the guards are lining up facing despair." One of the guards was saying with obvious tension, "What are we going to do now? These are Manti monsters we can't handle alone. We need 10 strong swordsmen to control just one Manti, let alone 2 together." Their leader Mater, the village's most formidable knight, heard them and said boldly, "Stop your complaining. Focus on the battle. You must not let these monsters enter, whatever the cost. Fight like you're the last wall of protection for the village." The soldiers looked at each other admiringly and said, "This is Mater the Knight, as we know him, always enthusiastic and fears nothing for the sake of protecting our village. And he's the strongest swordsman we have in the village, in the heart of Keen Village." And under the shadows of thick trees, a fierce battle took place between the local guards and the savage Manti monsters. A huge Manti monster roared and attacked directly toward leader Mater, roaring and moving at tremendous speed despite its large size, directing its massive claws toward Mater's chest, trying to finish him off. Mater pulled back with the experience of a veteran warrior and barely escaped the attack, using his speed and instincts to dodge the devastating blow. In a quick, skillful move, he planted his long spear with its sharp tip toward the beast's head, piercing through to inflict a deep wound above its eye. Mater shouted with enthusiasm and strength as he waved to the fighters behind him. "Now, take advantage of the opportunity. Pour all your arrows on them. Don't give them a chance to escape." The volunteer guards cheered. "Yes, Commander." They unleashed a large volley of sharp arrows toward the bodies of the Manti beasts. The arrows tore through the air and embedded in one of the beast's body, causing it to let out a painful scream as its body shook under the iron rain. One of the guards shouted from behind the barrier, "Our arrows hit their targets well. It looks like these beasts can't resist this many arrows. If we could just pin them down." Mater rushed forward, seizing the moment, and sprinted toward the other injured beast. He jumped high with his distinctive acrobatic move, then drove his spear with all his strength into the beast's heart, dropping it to the ground motionless. Mater sighed as sweat dripped from his forehead and smiled happily with pride, saying to his soldiers as he wiped blood from his face, "Well done, heroes. I think we're finally done with this round. Get ready to return and treat the wounded." But he didn't finish his words before his facial features suddenly froze, as another massive Manti beast appeared from the forest shadows that no one had noticed until now, its eyes glowing with anger, roaring with a force that filled everyone with terror. Mater said with surprise and panic as he stepped back, "How? When did this beast appear? We didn't track its movements. They're multiplying unnaturally." The new beast approached Mater, and before anyone could start to act, Mater shouted, warning his men, "Everyone get ready. It looks like our mission isn't over yet. We won't let this beast destroy what we defended." But some of the tired guards began panting from exhaustion, and one of them said with broken breath, "Our commander, we can't hold on anymore. Our energy is depleted and we're just volunteers anyway, not a real army." Mater looked at them with sad eyes, but his determination didn't fade, then said to them confidently, "Don't worry about yourselves. If you can't continue, then I'll fight it alone. I won't let this beast hurt any of you, no matter the cost. You are this village's hope, and I swear I'll remain its last shield." Mater gathered all his battle aura, and everyone felt the energy flowing around him. Then the Manti beast launched its attack, surprising everyone when it opened its giant mouth and breathed a fire breath attack, creating dark, fiery clouds heading directly toward Mater. Mater spun with rare vitality, raising his spear trying to block the fire attack, but the explosion was massive and filled the place with dust and fire. Some terrified guards screamed, "Commander Mater, are you all right? Answer us!" The dust began to gradually fade, to reveal Mater severely injured, blood on his armor, and his breath breaking, his eyes wide with shock. He muttered as he stared at the beast walking toward him, How could this beast block my attack and resist my aura? This Manti's power is strange. I've never seen anything like this before." One of the fighters tried to crawl to help him, saying, "Sir Commander, retreat, don't get close, you're badly injured." But the beast ignored them all and approached roaring at Mater, raising its claws. Mater closed his eyes, realizing he was unable to even use his spear, surrendering for a moment, thinking this might be his end. Suddenly, from the corner of vision, a small girl launched forward with extraordinary speed and energy, screaming, "No one gets near my commander!" It was Lena, Hill's daughter, carrying her agile sword in her hands. She unleashed a quick attack that tore through the entire Manti beast's body with consecutive strikes, until the beast fell to the ground motionless amid everyone's shock. Mater jolted with terror and amazement, looking around stunned as he asked with a trembling voice, Who is this girl? How did she turn into a killing storm and finish off a Manti beast that was about to kill me in just one moment?" Lena stepped forward and smiled confidently, saying calmly and firmly, "As you asked of me, father, I'm done with this beast." Hill appeared from among the trees, walking calmly and laughing with pride. "Excellent work, Lena. You've become much stronger than you were before." Lena said to Hill boldly, "I still need more training, father. I know I've improved a lot, but I want to master all the skills and magic you have. I'm counting on you." Hill smiled. "You've already become strong, and I promise your training isn't over yet. The road ahead is long, and I'll train you until you surpass everyone." Then Hill approached the guards and residents and said to them in a calm calm voice with reassuring confidence. "No need to worry at all. We didn't come here to hurt you or dominate any of you. We're here to help you, and we'll cleanse these lands of manti beasts soon." As for Miter, he couldn't believe his eyes when he heard these words, crawled near Hill with suspicion showing on his features and asked him roughly, "Who exactly are you? And why did you come to our village? We don't welcome strangers with this power. What are your motives?" Hill announced calmly, "I'm a mage. My name is Hill. I came here because I intend to build a magic tower to protect this area after completely eliminating all manti beasts. Soon this land will become safe and will be under my responsibility." Miter's words exploded as he said intensely, "A magic tower. Do you realize what you're saying? Building such a tower in our area means the province will officially become yours. We won't accept a mage controlling us and our lives. I won't allow that to happen." He raised his spear threateningly, but Lena jumped in front of Hill, grabbing the spear, her eyes glowing with power. "Be careful. If you raise your weapon against our Lord Hill again, I'll crush you with my hand. Don't you know the identity of our great lord? He saved you and saved the village. The least you could do is show respect." Miter froze from the strength of her aura and felt his heart tremble, replying with shock, "Impossible. You're at such a young age and have this terrifying aura. Who are you strangers?" Hill intervened, gently placing his hand on Lena's shoulder to calm her. "No need for violence, Lena. They have every right to be cautious of us. We're strangers and their circumstances are difficult. We should explain ourselves properly." Lena lowered her head respectfully and said, "Sorry, father. I'll do whatever you command me and won't do any other action. But I warn everyone here, whoever mistreats our Lord Hill from now on, I won't forgive them." Then Hill continued politely addressing the villagers, "I apologize to you all. I didn't explain my intention clearly enough. I'll build a magic tower here after I erase all manti beasts. I have no intention of driving you from your land. On the contrary, when the area is cleansed, the livable spaces will increase, and any of you can live wherever you wish. No special taxes will be imposed on you, and I won't exploit my power over you. You are the people of this area, and will remain free in your land." Miter looked between the soldiers and residents, and asked Hill seriously again, "You mean you won't expel the province's residents or prevent them from living here?" Hill replied with a calm smile, "I assure you of that. I came here because I spoke with King Rodril, and our goal is one. We want security and prosperity for the kingdom's people, and I'll never be a tyrannical mage. All I ask is that you help me so we can achieve this goal together." Silence prevailed briefly amid the residents' confusion, before being interrupted by another roar from manti beasts in the forest. Hill said with annoyance, "It looks like I'll have to first get rid of these annoying beasts before anything else. Dealing with this large number requires additional power." Hill opened a massive magic portal and said with high confidence, "I don't have time today to deal with each beast individually, so it's time for my special army to work." A large number of battle golems emerged from the portal, massive machines glowing with golden and silver magic auras, lined up waiting for Hill's orders. Hill said to everyone, "These golems will protect the village and forest, and will cleanse all areas of manti beasts. Don't worry at all. Your safety is my family's safety." Then turned to the golem army he had brought out through his magic, commanding them with a strong voice carrying authority that brooked no argument. "Activate now. Move immediately into the forest. Eliminate every manti beast that crosses your path quickly. Don't leave any danger threatening the people or crops." As soon as he finished speaking, the golems began moving with their massive metallic bodies, emitting powerful golden magic auras, some walking on 4 legs, others charging on 2 feet like giants, their glowing eyes searching the forest for any signs of movement. Suddenly, a new manti beast appeared, threatening the village outskirts. So one of the powerful golems pounced on it and lifted it with its metallic arm, then crushed its body with one blow. Even the sound of breaking bones echoed throughout the area. Mater witnessed everything and stared at the golem in complete bewilderment, muttering in a barely audible whisper, "Impossible! This golem took down a manti beast with just one strike. We needed dozens of men and tons of sweat just to defeat one of them. How can this sorcerer possess power beyond our wildest dreams?" The golem then approached Hill, carrying the dead beast's carcass, and stood before his master awaiting the next orders in remarkable calm and obedience. Hill chuckled lightly as he turned toward Mater and said, "What do you think now, Mater? Can you finally give us your trust? I think you've all realized by now that we didn't come here to harm you or occupy your lands. Our only goal is to help you and protect your village and all the surrounding villages." Mater remained silent for several seconds, then bowed his head respectfully and said in a rough but honest voice, "With you here and this army of golems, our village and all neighboring areas will be completely safe. I didn't believe it at first, but now, I believe in your power. Since King Rodril placed his trust in you, there's no reason we shouldn't do the same. I hope you'll excuse my hasty judgment of you. Forgive me for insulting you without knowing you and your true intentions." Hill smiled calmly and told him, "Don't worry about it at all, Mater. That's any leader's duty. A good leader is one who fears for his people and country from strangers before trusting them. You did what reason and defending your people demanded." Mater thanked him warmly, then turned to his men and said, "We need to check on the rest of the village. There's probably an attack on the other side side. Manti beasts always come from both directions at once. Hill replied reassuringly, "Don't worry, I sent someone to deal with the beasts on the other side of the village. Everything's under control, and no one will be harmed." The scene shifted to the other side where Hana and Selena were. Hana looked at the battle in amazement, and said as she watched the golden battle golem defending them, "We were supposed to act as Hill told us and take out the Manti beasts ourselves, but the truth is this golden golem didn't even leave us a chance to attack any beast. Its power is truly enormous." Selena replied with genuine admiration, "Now I understand why Hill insists on keeping the golden battle golem by our side all the time when he's away from us. Its presence makes us feel safe, as if Hill himself is right next to us." As for Hill, he began calmly gathering the village representatives and surrounding area delegates, asking Mater to quickly organize everyone so he could speak with them. Indeed, the representatives began gathering in an old hall by the square, and Hill was surprised by their appearance, thinking to himself as he looked at them, "I thought village representatives were usually older folks, but these are all young, yet I sense a hidden sword aura from them, as if they were all swordsmen once. I wonder, what happened in this province to produce all these young fighters?" Hill stood before them and said, "Thank you all for coming. I'd like to introduce myself again. My name is Hill. I'm a sorcerer, and I've come with power to protect this land and bring it peace. I intended to show you my powers myself, but it's clear that most of you are skilled knights whose eyes can detect hidden auras." One of the young men said in amazement, "How did you discover our identities? We never told anyone." Hill smiled and answered, "The eyes of great sorcerers see what ordinary eyes cannot, and that's what made me notice you're not just farmers." Here Mater intervened and clarified the matter, addressing everyone, "I heard long ago that sorcerers of the higher circles can see auras clearly, and now I'm certain of that truth. Most of us were once knights in Baron Jimmy's army, and Baron Jimmy was a true knight, a sword master at 30, a respected noble who stood against greedy nobles during the Succession War." Mater sighed, and the attendees' heads drooped as he continued. "Baron Jimmy refused to join any prince against the other, and said, 'The throne belongs to the king to choose his heir, and we're here to protect the people, not fight in power wars.' So everyone abandoned him, and both princes refused to send any support, and during the Manti invasion, we fought alone. The Baron gathered 5,000 knights to repel the invasion from civilians, but the beasts were endless. In the end, the Baron and the first rank decided to draw the beasts away to allow us, the region's youth, to escape to the villages and save whoever could be saved." Hana, who was listening from behind, raised her eyebrows in amazement and asked, "And what did you do after that?" Mater answered, "We survived thanks to their sacrifice, but we later refused any offer to join any noble family, whether inside the kingdom or outside. They all abandoned us when we needed support. We stayed here to defend our land, whatever the cost." Hill paused briefly, then said with admiration, "You had many opportunities to gain titles as knights and nobles in other kingdoms or families. Your decision to stay here and risk yourselves and your families is a very difficult decision. Frankly, I can't judge you. Maybe Baron Jimmy was like a father to all of you, and homeland means family. I was only raised on loyalty to my family, so I might not understand this feeling, but I value and respect it greatly." Hill added confidently as he turned to all of them, "Actually, my mission to cleanse the Valley of Manti Beasts isn't too difficult, thanks to the golem's power and my magic. I intend to cleanse the valley quickly and provide protection for all areas. But Manti Beasts are connected to their king. This beast is the source of the disaster. If I kill the Manti King, the control commands will collapse, and all beasts will lose their mad aggression." Lena asked him with childish enthusiasm, "You mean you'll kill 50,000 Manti beasts quickly?" Hill laughed and said jokingly, "That's a waste of time. The plan is to eliminate the Manti King first, and then there'll be no threat and no attack will have meaning after today." Then he directed his speech to the young knights, and everyone moved their heads respectfully. "I'll need all of you soon, knights, not to fight with me against the beasts, but to protect civilians and reassure them, and make sure no one gets hurt, until we make this region of yours a safe land forever." Silence filled the hall, but eyes were filled with hope for the first time in years. Mater stood before the alert Hill in the middle of the meeting, his eyes hesitant, filled with gray hair, fear, and hope together. He said in a voice full of honesty and a mixture of seriousness and pleading, "But do you really think you'll succeed in facing the Manti King yourself? Even the kingdom's mightiest soldiers and masters failed at that. It's difficult, extremely difficult." Hill smiled calmly and looked at him confidently, saying, "Don't worry at all, Mater. I'm not one to distribute meaningless promises, and I only promise you what I can do. The Manti King, for me, just easy prey. I'll handle him myself, and I'll prove that to all of you very soon." When Hill finished his speech, teleporting to Nizar City, his birthplace and the city where he was raised. As soon as Hill arrived, he felt the breeze of his childhood in the narrow streets and the sound of craftsmen and merchants. So he smiled to himself, "How I miss this place. I haven't entered Nizar City in many long years. Here I remained a child, and here I began my first steps in the world of magic." He then headed to one of the most famous shops for magical stones and metals, entering the old Daibel store. Inside, Daibel was busy signing some papers and giving them to his young assistant, saying, "These are the new contracts with southern traders. Make sure to finish them and report back to me with the agreement results at the end of the day." The assistant replied seriously, "All right, I'll finish everything as quickly as possible, Mr. Daibel." Daibel sighed and said while turning a rare mana stone between his fingers, "Since we received the rare stone shipment from Hill, our profits and expansion have surpassed almost all competitors. Even our names reached the royal court itself. That makes me happy, but I worry about Hill a lot. The first time I saw him, I knew he would be a very special person." He paused briefly and thought out loud with concern, "Especially since I heard the news of the complete destruction of the Yenhard family castle due to a powerful sorcerer's attack. Hill had asked me a lot about them the last time I met him. I even felt he intended to visit them himself, which scared me. Was that sorcerer really Hill? And why did he go clash with the Yenhards in the first place? I just hope he and his family are okay." His assistant came to interrupt him gently. "Are you all right, Mr. Daibel? I kept talking to you and you didn't answer me." Daibel looked at her apologetically and asked, "Sorry, what do you need?" She smiled and said, "The most important customer is waiting to meet you now. I'm talking about Hill. He's outside." Daibel froze in place and muttered in amazement, "Is it really Hill himself? Really? My goodness." Hill entered smiling, saying, "It's been a long time since we last met, Daibel." Daibel stood amazed for a moment, then ran toward him quickly and hugged him tightly. "Hill, I couldn't believe I'm seeing you with my own eyes now. I missed you so much. Tell me, you're okay, aren't you? And how's your family? I was so worried about you when I heard about the Yenhard castle destruction. The last thing you told me was that you were going to them. I thought you were in danger." Hill laughed and reassured him, saying, "Everything's fine, my friend. No one was harmed, and you deserve great credit for standing by me and caring for my family. I thank you for it." Daibel let out a sigh of relief and said, "Forgive me. Maybe I overreacted, but you know I consider you like my little brother. I can't stand the thought of something bad happening to you." They sat together, then Daibel asked, "All right, what brings you here after all this absence? Do you have a request you need from me?" Hill answered seriously, "That's why I came back today. I want to help you, Daibel. I plan to build a massive magical tower, and I need people, resources, and support from you. You're the only one I trust." Daibel's mouth fell open in amazement, and he said, "A magical tower? So the rumors were true then?" Hill nodded and said, "Yes, I'm a seven-circle wizard now. I know it's hard to believe, but it's become reality." Daibel was silent for a moment, then burst out laughing. "All my life I've known you're a boy with rare abilities and a bright future, but to be a seven-circle wizard, this surpasses all expectations. And where do you plan to build the tower?" Hill said in a confident tone. "In Venta Valley, the most dangerous region in the kingdom, where the monsters are, where the Mantis King lives." Daibel was stunned and said, "What? Venta Valley? One of the three most dangerous areas on the entire continent? Why insist on choosing such a dangerous place? All the northern and southern kingdoms would have welcomed you and built you a tower and given you 1,000 rewards. It would have been easy for you to choose." Hill smiled and said, "That's exactly why I trust my strange choices, Daibel. I know if I went to any other kingdom, doors of paradise would open for me, but I'm not looking for comfort. There's a bigger goal. I need you with me, and I need you to just trust me." Daibel looked at him seriously, then smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. I've known you since childhood, and I know your choices are always right. Just tell me your plan, and I'll always be with you, even if it's the strangest plan in the world." Hill began explaining the details of his plan: how to cleanse Venta Valley, build the tower, transform the region into one of the world's most fertile and powerful lands, and provide protection from it instead of it being a source of terror for the entire area. Amazed, Daibel listened until the end, then said enthusiastically, "Now I finally understand why your plans are crazy. If you succeed, our store will be among the richest stores on the entire continent. I won't hesitate for a moment. I'll support you and gather workers and wizards and everyone you need. But when do you start?" Hill said, "As soon as possible. Just let me finish the Mantis King problem before anyone starts working, so no one will ever fear the monsters." Daibel said cautiously, "Gathering people for this project will be difficult. People are afraid to even mention Venta Valley, especially with the Mantis King there. As soon as they know the work destination, most of them will run away." Hill replied firmly with a reassuring smile, "Leave that matter to me. I'll eliminate their king in the coming days and secure the entire area before any worker takes a single step." The scene quickly shifts to Venta Valley, one of the three most dangerous areas on the continent. Among the rocks and cliffs, the Mantis King was lying among his herd, his massive body rippling with muscles, a terrifying aura filling the space around him. Suddenly, his senses picked up a tremendous flow of energy streaming from the edge of the valley. He jumped up instantly, his red eyes glowing with the anger of a wounded and proud beast. He tried to pinpoint the direction of the strange force that dared invade invade his territory. He roared violently and released a black aura over the entire area, stronger even than Swordmaster's auras, and the entire Mantis herd responded immediately, preparing for war. The Mantis King, with his pride and arrogance, focused his attention on the newcomer and roared, "Who dared cross my borders? I'll erase any threat with these two hands." He launched in a straight line at brutal speed toward the energy source, beginning the Clash of Legends. Under normal kingdom circumstances, it would be natural for any king to send his army first, to scout the intruder's identity and deal with dangers, but the Mantis King was different from all beast kings. His pride and dominance over everyone wouldn't allow his ego to let anyone defile his territory, so he insisted on confronting the intruder himself to prove to the herd that he alone was the absolute authority among them. As for Hill, he was watching the scene from above and saying to himself, "The Mantis King is very confident. He knows humans can't hurt him, and everyone who entered his valley was just easy prey every time. His pride won't even allow him to delegate one of his followers for this fight, as every intruder here is a direct insult to his pride." As the Mantis King approached the Oasis Center where the strange energy was detected, he was shocked by the presence of a large number of battle golems surrounding him in a tight circle, trapping him to prevent escape or sending a distress signal. Rage exploded in his amber eyes and he released his power all at once, making the earth shake with the force of his aura. Hill finally appeared among the trees and said in a calm tone that challenged the madness of the situation, "Clearly you're angry, Your Majesty. The moment you felt trapped, you started releasing your aura with maximum stubbornness. Now I understand why this massive herd follows you. Your power isn't ordinary at all, but even this power won't change anything today. You came here today to end, and this land of yours will be reborn." The Mantis King let out a thunderous roar and released a wave of darkness aura unlike anything Hill had ever felt. He whispered to himself, "This is the first time I've encountered an aura with this depth of darkness. An aura capable of instilling terror in any swordmaster's heart no matter their status. Truly a terrifying king." The king began approaching Hill in obvious anger, ready to crush any human before him. Hill said calmly, "Before I kill you, I must test your true power." The battle erupted immediately. One of the golems jumped to attack the Mantis King, but the king suddenly turned and used his tail with smoothness that didn't match his massive body, smashing the golem with one blow that made it crash into rocks and collapse into scattered pieces. Hill looked in amazement. What speed! His power and speed in that massive body is unbelievable. The remaining golems moved to attack in one wave. One used a flaming fist and directed it straight at the king's head, who took the blow without being affected. Hill said in astonishment, "Even golem punches at maximum power don't scratch him. Impossible." The Mantis King didn't give them a moment, attacking the next golem with utmost violence, biting its neck until he crushed it and finished it off, then charged directly toward Hill with killing intent. The last golem tried intercepting him from behind, but the king surprised it with a kick to the head and crushed it completely. Now, only Hill remained alone in the confrontation. Internal dialogue. "I misjudged the Mantis King. I thought the battle golems would be sufficient, but his power exceeded all expectations." Hill looked at the remains of his golems saying, "Their automatic repair systems are slow. They won't return quickly. I have to fight alone now." Hill began preparing his magic, but was surprised by the Mantis King advancing at amazing speed. Realizing the king wasn't just powerful, but smart too, he breached the distance between them and struck him brutally, making him fall unconscious for moments. The king approached, wanting to finish him off, but suddenly discovered that Hill's body had vanished from before him. Hill's voice came from the mountain peak as he said, "Powerful strike. If I hadn't prepared illusion and quick substitution magic, I wouldn't have come out alive. Clearly you're no ordinary opponent." Hill smiled and said, "I misjudged you. It was wrong to send golems of this level against you. Time to bring an opponent worthy of you." Hill summoned a special battle golem, Tana, and told him, "Tana, don't use the golden sword. I want you to defeat him without killing him. I want to know his true nature." Tana launched into the arena with a flash of his spark, face to face meeting the Mantis King, both releasing their maximum auras. Tana attacks with movements only few can perceive, but the Mantis King parries his attacks with supernatural speed. The duel continues and blows follow. Tana surprises and wonders internally, "He counters my attacks so fast. Even absolute acceleration didn't confuse him." The Mantis King gathered his darkness aura and launched his special attack, relying on Breath of Darkness to breach Tana's defenses and gradually weaken him. Tana began suffering from the aura's toxins and terrifying powers until his strength started failing. Hill watched the battle with a commander's eye. "Tana is starting to be affected. This isn't an ordinary battle at all." Hill ordered decisively, "Tana, release the power. Lift the first two seals." With one move, Tana removed the power seals, and a fire aura exploded around him, completely changing the battle. Tana met the Mantis King's darkness with his fire, and when the auras collided, there was a terrible explosion that shook the earth. Finally, Tana's strike succeeded in hitting the Mantis King powerfully, making him fall bleeding from his wounds, but still alive, trying to get up. But Tana prepared to use destruction magic to finish him permanently. Hill intervened quickly. "Tana, stop the magic!" Tana looks puzzled. "Master, why?" Hill said. "No need to kill him. The Mantis monster problem won't be solved like this. There's a chance to understand his nature and control him without destroying everything." The Mantis King heard that, and knew from Hill's look that he was sincere and didn't want to kill him, so he crawled with his wounds, then knelt before Hill, raising his head in submission, declaring his absolute loyalty. Hill remained standing in place, amazed by the massive beast's behavior, and said, "Really, I never expected that at all." After a while, Hill returned to the village with the Mantis King walking beside him, a sight that stopped the entire village in its tracks. Mater ran to him amazed. "What brings you with the Mantis King?" Hill laughed, saying, "I defeated him, then he declared his loyalty to me." Mater said hesitantly and fearfully, "Where will you keep him? This beast, if it loses control for one moment, will destroy the entire town." Hill approached reassuringly, "Don't worry. As long as I've subdued him with magic and spiritual binding, he won't disobey my command. You can even touch him." With hesitant steps, Mater touched the king, who began approaching and playing gently, even rolling before him like a giant cat, leaving Mater standing motionless, frozen by amazement and fear in place. Mater finally asked, "What are you gonna do with this king?" Hill answered while pointing to the residence. "He's even stronger than the greatest sword masters and can control all the mantis beasts around him. I'll make him an ally to help me oversee the tower construction and guard the entire area. Then, this land won't be a place of fear anymore, but a peaceful province safe for everyone." Silence fell over everyone, but a spark of hope had returned for the first time in years. 3 months had passed since the mantis beasts completely disappeared from Vinta Valley. In that short time, the world around Hill turned upside down. Construction actually began on the massive magical tower he'd always dreamed of. And he didn't stop there. He created an amazing magical teleportation zone that instantly connected Dable's shop to the tower area, helping him move resources and people with unprecedented ease and speed. Thanks to the absence of the mantis threat, workers and engineers from across the kingdom agreed without hesitation to participate in building the tower project without fear. Even the kingdom itself rushed to support Hill, providing him with materials, costs, and everything he needed to complete construction faster than all expectations. Hill stood one evening at the tower's base, watching the massive outer structure, now complete, with a smile covering his face. He said with deep affection, "Finally, I'm starting to see the features of the tower I dreamed of, the place that will change the face of this region forever." Hill's goal wasn't just to build a magical tower in an isolated, empty area. He also began constructing massive residential buildings next to the new tower, encouraging the poor, immigrants, and young people to leave their lives of fear and live in a protected, safe, and modern environment. This way the region would flourish, and its reputation in the kingdom would grow rapidly. Securing the old province's residents was also one of his priorities. For this reason, he redirected the remaining mantis beasts into the depths of the inner forest, under the Mantis King's authority, and bound them with a tight magical agreement that guaranteed summoning them and protecting them when needed. Hill chuckled under his breath. "The whole plan went better than I imagined. The tower's here, the city's growing, and the province that was terrifying forever has now become a new home for hope." With the influx of immigrants and workers, the area that had been one of 3 forbidden zones on the continent transformed into a thriving city famous among cities, teeming with life and proudly embracing the magical tower. Hill took a moment to rest, sitting with his family watching the sunset over the new city. Hannah said admiringly, "I really can't believe it. Do you believe this same area was one of the forbidden terror zones just months ago? I can't believe the transformation that happened." Selena laughed and added, "Because of you, Hill. Ever since you eliminated the mantis beasts, this land became a completely new place. No more fear." Lena was very excited and said, "But the construction work isn't finished yet, Dad. The tower's still only halfway done, and I know you have bigger plans for all of us." Hill nodded in agreement. "You're right, Lena. The work isn't over. There's a lot ahead of us. The magical tower still needs massive funding to be completed. The king's money we got is almost gone, so we need to get support from the kingdom's nobles." Selena was surprised and asked, "Who'll support us besides the king? Are you meeting with one of them?" Hill answered with a mysterious smile. "Actually, today I have an appointment with someone very important to me. I need to convince him to support the project and complete the tower." Lena and Selena's thoughts collided. Lena spoke with childish indignation. "Important people? I thought we were the most important people in your life, Dad." Hannah raised her eyebrows and said, "It's fine. Let's see who this really important person is. I just hope it's not a young woman." Lena and Selena got flustered and replied quickly in unison, "What do you mean, Hannah? Hannah laughed while apologizing. Nothing. I won't say anything until we get there. While the group walks with Hill, Lena asks him, where are we now? Why the seashore? Hill replied while looking at the horizon, we're in the western part of the Tulian kingdom. This area is very famous for luxury seafood. There's potential for exporting it and making big profits, but unfortunately, the lack of teleportation mages makes direct export to the capital difficult. Then he remembered and said, I should tell you who we're meeting today, the leader of the new region, and he's someone with great influence in the kingdom. Suddenly, the ground shook under their feet. A violent earthquake echoed throughout the area until dust rose and birds stopped singing. Everyone asked with worry and panic, what's happening? Where did the earthquake come from? Hill quickly turned toward the source of the tremors, noticing thick smoke and an explosion rising from the nearby forest. He said in a sharp voice, there, something dangerous must be happening in the forest direction. In the heart of the forest, a massive stone castle appeared under attack. Western orc beasts, with giant bodies, were leading a fierce assault on the gate. The guard captain shouted, attack quickly! Use all your arrows! Don't let them get close to the castle! Arrows began raining down, but the huge orcs were laughing mockingly as the arrows bounced off their tough skin with no real effect. One of the orcs said sarcastically, these little sticks will never hurt us. Show us everything you've got, you bugs. One of them jumped with amazing agility for his massive body, grabbed the castle walls and began climbing them, challenging everyone. One of the soldiers said terrified, they're trying to get in. If they enter the castle, we'll lose everything. The captain ordered using oil to defend the castle. Pour oil on them. Quickly, they must not reach the walls. One of the soldiers replied desperately, the oil's gone. We used it all in the first attack. We don't have anything to stop them. The captain froze in place, then shouted in confusion, what are we gonna do? If the orcs breach the castle, the entire region will collapse before them. And here everyone's fates intertwined before a new challenge that might threaten the future of the city and the entire province. Under the pressure of crisis and violent attack from the orcs, Countess Roland appeared on the castle walls with complete calm and confidence. She shouted a clear order to the soldiers, defend the walls! I'll deal with the climbing orc myself! The soldiers exchanged looks of amazement. What's Countess Roland doing here herself? She's really strong and beautiful. Will she really handle the orc herself? With warrior-like grace and noble anger, Roland jumped from atop the wall and attacked the first orc who was about to sneak in. She said to him with sharp confidence, this is the second time today you've attacked my castle. You're really stubborn. You know, stubborn ones make things more fun for me. She rained swift and precise sword strikes on the orc, piercing his defense and hitting him in multiple spots that made him fall from the wall. She turned toward another orc, looked at him and said, I see you're angry about losing your companion. That's fine. I'll hurry up and defeat you too, so you won't be sad. She released her special aura and used the secret sword technique that the Ovis family had mastered for generations, finishing him with one strike. Then she looked at the remaining orcs and said with genuine regret, you guys are strong, but I'll defend my region to the end, because I'm the only remaining countess. The soldiers began applauding her enthusiastically, cheering, Roland! Roland! You truly deserve leadership! But Roland suddenly noticed that the first orc she fought didn't die, but began climbing the wall again. She shouted, watch out! Looks like his stubbornness isn't over yet. The remaining orc gathered his last strength and pounced violently on the soldiers atop the wall. In the moment of danger, great fire magic erupted on the wall and consumed the orc in just one attack, turning him to ash in an instant. Roland was extremely surprised and looked around. This, fire magic? Who cast it? There's no mage of this level in our region. Hill appeared at that moment, greeting her respectfully. Sorry for my sudden interference. Your soldiers were in clear danger, and I had to intervene. I also wanted to ask you for some time for an important conversation. So do you have any free time now? In the nearby forest, Selena, Lena, and Hannah were searching for Hill after he suddenly disappeared. Selena closed her eyes and focused her magic to search for his special mana echo, then opened her eyes with a smile. Found him! Let's go! When they arrived, they saw Hill talking with Roland, and heard him say to her, I came today for you, because you're someone very important to me. Lena and Selena froze in place, shock appearing on their faces. They whispered, who is she? Why is he saying she's important? Do you know her? No, first time I've seen her. Roland laughed and said jokingly, and why should I matter to you this much? Do you want to make a deal with me, or are you proposing marriage? If that's the case, I'll need a better offer. Hill laughed and apologized. I wasn't being clear. I'm Hill, the kingdom's mage, and I actually came today to offer you a helping hand. Roland replied suspiciously. The kingdom's mage? And why should I believe you? Your power is strange and you're mysterious. Hill replied calmly, and released his magical aura completely, enveloping the place with indescribable power. Roland trembled in awe. Crap, your mana level is terrifying. I was wrong. You're a top-tier mage. She bowed apologetically. Forgive me. I wronged you and should have thanked you for saving my soldiers. Let me invite you and your family for dinner in my castle. I only have my family's tea to offer. I hope you'll accept it from me." Everyone moved to the modest reception hall in Ovis Castle. They sat drinking tea, and Hannah noted warmly, "Ovis tea is always different. I miss this taste so much." When Hill noticed the poverty in the castle and the absence of any servants, he understood how much Roland was suffering because of the beast attacks. Roland asked expectantly, "What's the important matter that made you visit me, Hill?" Hill smiled and said, "I know how much you've suffered with the monsters, especially the Manti attacks. I came to reassure you. You won't get any more Manti attacks after today. I dealt with them in Vinta Valley and built a new headquarters and magic tower there. They'll stay away from your areas, and I promise to protect you and your family." Roland's face went pale and she stared at him in disbelief. "Are you saying that you personally killed the Manti monsters and their king? That's impossible." Hannah nodded gently. "Believe him. Hill isn't an ordinary person and everything he said is true," Roland said in a choked voice with tears in her eyes. "It never crossed my mind in my life that someone could stand up to that king. Because of them, I lost everything and lived in constant fear. Only now do I feel like I'll be able to rest for the first time." Hill approached and reassured her, "You won't be alone anymore. I've decided to help the Ophis family and make it the strongest family in the kingdom of Tolian. My first duty is to protect my family." Roland was shocked. "Your family? Why?" Hannah said, smiling. "Hill is your nephew, Roland. My husband Leon is his father, and the wizard Leon protected this province for years, but disappeared when he was kidnapped by a mysterious group." Roland's eyes filled with tears. "Uncle Leon, I never believed he lived after his kidnapping, and now I see my cousin here to help me." Hill smiled and confirmed, "Family comes first. From today on, Ophis province won't suffer again, and you're a member of our family just like Selena and Lena and my mother Hannah." Roland burst into tears and thanked him from the heart, feeling a relief she hadn't tasted in ages. Hannah said, "No need for formal barriers. You're our sister now." Then she introduces her to Alina and Serena, saying, "These are my children and I consider you my child too." Roland laughed and the hall's atmosphere lightened, and she invited them to explore the sea. "I'll take you to see the enchanting Ophis Sea." Everyone headed to the beach, and Selena seemed surprised. "Yes, it's even more beautiful than the rumors," Roland said. "The sea is full of rare herbs, and treasure is right under our hands, but the monsters and our isolation prevented us from exporting anything." Hill's eyes gleamed and he said, "That will change from today. I'll arrange teleportation magic and protect your area, and Ophis Sea will become a source of great wealth for our new family." And the future began to unfold before Roland and Hill's family, and new hope dawned over Ophis Sea. Hill smiled as he looked at Ophis Sea and said to Roland confidently, "I want to buy all the rare sea herbs in your province, all of them, and at the best price." Roland's eyes widened with pure amazement. "Why? Why do you want to buy all these herbs?" Hill answered calmly and strategically, "I have a big project I'm working on. I'll export what I need abroad using my teleportation magic. You just need to collect and prepare the quantity you can sell, and I'll handle everything else. This will generate huge resources and lots of money for your city. What do you think of the offer?" Roland didn't hesitate as she said, "I'm really surprised, and I trust you. I'll do exactly what you want." Hill nodded with a smile. "Then as long as you trust me, I'll help you with all my capabilities." Then he stood for a moment and said while thinking out loud to his family, "People in our world depend on magic potions to heal from diseases and wounds, and the most important ingredient in those potions is Manti monster blood. Usually, only senior temple wizards possess this blood to make potions, which is why these potions are extremely rare and very expensive. The struggle over Manti blood never ends, but I'm determined to end this monopoly soon." In the Empire, the kingdom's high priest was meeting with Dibel in a luxurious hall, with worry filling his features. "Are you really saying you know someone who can provide 300,000 potions of Manti blood?" Dibel answered with a successful smile. "And even more, and I've already brought you 100,000 potions. This person can supply you, or the entire kingdom." The high priest was amazed. "We really have a huge need for them. We use magic and distribute potions among the sick and injured. I need only 30,000 potions right now." Dibel smiled confidently. "And you have here 100,000 potions ready for sale." The high priest was astonished by the abundance of the quantity. "I'll contact the kingdom's temples immediately. This matter will greatly increase our temple's influence. I agree to buy the entire quantity." Dibel said decisively, "This commodity is in demand across the entire continent, and your financial tools are ready, and there are no discounts. The price is 300,000 gold pieces for 300,000 potions." The high priest agreed quickly. "I'll bring the money immediately, and I thank you for favoring our temple over others. Just, who is the source of this amazing blood?" Dibel said while smiling, "He's the most powerful wizard in the world today." At that moment, Hill was atop his tower in Vinta Valley, watching the area he had transformed from a land of death into a home of wealth and harmony. He walked searching with his eyes on the horizon and said, "Who would have imagined this was the deadly Vinta Valley? Now it's become my main source for extracting and exporting Manti blood to all the world's kingdoms. I controlled the Manti King, and moved him with his followers to the magic space and made sure they'll never harm any humans again. But instead, they live in harmony with people, and their blood is used for potions. I fed them rare sea herbs to increase their energy, and whenever we need blood, it's collected from them in a way that doesn't hurt them, as they have a strong ability to replenish their blood quickly, and I guarantee them nutrients and comfort. This way, my province became the wealthiest, with real coexistence between humans and monsters for the first time. He knew that his distinction and his province's development put him under scrutiny. Only a few know the tower's location. Even the workers who helped me didn't know the correct location of the magic gates. But the news spread and other kingdoms started taking interest. So, I must be prepared for any danger. Suddenly, Hill heard Lena's voice screaming from the top of the tower. "Dad, come quickly!" He teleported to her immediately, finding Lena terrified and panting. "Help me! Selena is in danger!" Worry struck him. "What happened?" Lena answered. "I don't know. Suddenly she collapsed. Got sick suddenly and I can't understand why. You have to examine her yourself." Hill rushed immediately to Selena's room. He asked his mother what happened and why Serena was sick. His mother said, "I don't know what's causing it. She just collapsed all of a sudden." Then she looked at him and added, "Please, use your magic and your knowledge. You have to find out what's wrong with her." Found her unconscious, sweating calmly and breathing with difficulty. He began using deep examination magic, pumping his mana into her body, but was shocked. "Impossible. Her body's mana is destroying my mana immediately. This isn't human mana, nor natural magical mana, nor demonic, but something else." He examined more and found himself whispering, "Selena has started using a completely different type of power, magic. This will make her targeted from all over the continent." Lena asked him in panic. "What do you mean she's targeted?" Hill said seriously and quickly. "No time for explanations. Selena's mana has become a target for all magical powers, churches, and temples. Many have sensed the energy of this type of power appearing. We must act now. We must protect her immediately," Lena said to him. "And what are you going to do?" Hill declared with determination. "I'm going to raise an extraordinary magical barrier that protects the entire area. Selena needs time to learn to control this power, and I won't allow anyone to threaten her or any member of my family." Hana stepped forward with fear and asked Hill, seeing his determination and the surge of power in his eyes, "Can you really build this powerful magical barrier quickly, Hill?" Hill smiled tiredly and said firmly, "It'll take some time, and I'll pay a price from my mana and effort until the shield works completely. And that's why I need you to protect Selena no matter what happens until I return. This is your mission." Hill went out to stand alone atop the magic tower, anger and emotion in his chest, watching his province that had become divided between danger and hope. He whispered, "I must start now, even if the barrier rituals take days. As long as Selena is in danger, nothing else matters." He began spreading his forces around his territory's walls and sent out a simple reassurance message. "Don't be afraid, Selena. I won't stand idle. I'll protect you even if I destroy all the continent's kingdoms, and I promise you all, no one will touch you." He raised his hands and began drawing complex symbols in space, mana flowing and penetrating the earth, and great power circles glowing over the entire countryside, drawing energy from the tower's depths and his province's surroundings to envelop it with a magical barrier their lands had never known before. Meanwhile, the kingdom's high priest was walking in the temple corridor, his face joyful, saying to himself, "Finally, the day we've waited 300 years for has come." The prophecy was born in this generation. Around him, priests began chanting in unison a part of the eternal prophecy. "A time comes when the power of darkness is defeated by a purifier who establishes justice on earth." The high priest asked his assistant Ardmos, "Did you understand the prophecy's words, Ardmos?" Ardmos said with concentration, "The prophecy speaks of dark powers, and I believe their center is in Radazen, where the ancient spirit of darkness is, and the forbidden zone mentioned is one of the 3 forbidden areas because of their terror." The high priest nodded and continued, "And what about the promised saint, the place of her trial?" Ardmos replied, "If we understand the ancient verses well, she will be born amid tribulation in a forbidden area. Now all evidence points that the saint has appeared there." The high priest smiled decisively. "Send obedience orders immediately to all thrones of Dolian and neighboring kingdoms in the state of Labatine. Tell them to begin searching for the saint. This isn't a request, but an order from the most powerful kingdom on the continent. If they cooperate, we'll reward them, but whoever refuses or hides her, we'll declare war on them, whether king or commoner." The scene returned to Hill and his family. Selena was still feverish on her bed, Hana embracing her and whispering with tears, "Please, get well quickly, my daughter. I hate seeing you like this." Hill watched her with sad eyes, explaining to the family, "The body's mana is connected to vital vessels, and Selena had enormous mana. Now it's completely changing to mana. That's why she's suffering. Her vessels are in pain from the transformation, and she's overwhelmed by pain. She won't wake up now, and we can't stop the transformation." He continued explaining, "The kingdom definitely sensed the saint's awakening energy, and they've already started searching." Lena screamed in anger, "As far as I know, the kingdom of Gaia is obsessed with saints. They won't let Selena stay here freely. They'll lock her up for years under the false banner of protection protection. I'll die before I allow that. Hana supported her with a mother's burning heart. I'll never give them my daughter. I won't let her suffer like the women of our family did. Lena was listening closely and watching everything they said. She spoke up. I'll do the same. There's no way I'm gonna let my sister Serena suffer alone. Hill reassured them with determination. And me too. I won't let anyone touch any of you, even if I have to destroy the kingdom of Gaia itself, Lena asked with trembling. And what will we do? Hill said with confidence and depth. Calm down. I have a plan, and everything will change in our favor. Suddenly, the air around them trembled and a glowing magical message appeared before everyone. Hill wondered as he read it with amazement. A message directly from the royal palace? What does the king suddenly want? Hana stared in amazement. This is the first time they've contacted you. What does the king want from the kingdom's mage? Hill read the message and answered, It's an official invitation to attend the nobles' meeting in the kingdom. Hana asked in confusion. And why? Will they announce the appearance of your tower publicly, or are they siding with one of the princes? Hill shook his head. I don't think they're changing the system. Magic towers are always neutral, but there might be a new political scheme. In any case, I won't let anyone exploit me or exploit the tower's appearance. Instead, I'll make the meeting an opportunity for me. Hill turned hurriedly. Take care of Selena until I return. Everything will be fine. Hill quickly moved to Roland in Ovis province, finding her watching the success of trade and economy in her region with a smile. She told him, My region is really starting to flourish, all thanks to you and your monster slaying. But you came yourself today? Hill answered warmly. I was checking on you, but I also have a request. I want you to come with me to the nobles meeting as the ruler of Ovis. This is your chance and your family's to return to noble power, and I'll support you with everything I have. Roland looked shocked. Me? With you at the nobles meeting? The Ovis family lost its status years ago. Hill smiled confidently. With the magic tower's support, you'll return to the forefront. You won't face monster problems or money shortages. If you can prove your influence at the meeting, new allies will join you, and power and prestige will return to your family. Roland stayed silent for a moment, then said, But there's really a problem. Some families will stand in our way, the strongest being Marquis Trandle's family. Here Hill looked at her with greater interest and asked, The Trandle family then? Hill smiled calmly while giving Roland a confident look. She suddenly asked him in amazement, How do you know the story of the Trandle family with me? Hill smiled and said in a tone carrying many secrets, I always monitor all noble movements and gather information constantly. I know that the heir of Marquis Trandle's family tried more than once to propose to you, but you firmly refused him. They didn't like the rejection and considered it an insult to them, so they started harassing your family and even claimed before the royal palace that they were the ones who saved your region from monsters, even though I was the one who did it. Roland sighed and said with sadness and bitterness, That's exactly what happened. The Trandle family has no honor, and they did everything to pressure us until I'd accept the offer, but I never will accept being a tool in their hands. But the Marquis's power is stronger than my position as a countess, and our family's strength doesn't allow me to confront them directly. I've lived recent years enduring their harassment, so I wouldn't humiliate myself or my family by accepting. Hill stopped in front of her and stared into her eyes forcefully. That's enough, Roland. You can't continue bearing these insults forever. The time has come to respond. I'm now the owner of a magic tower, and my power and influence are higher than any marquis in the entire kingdom. As long as you're with me, no one will harm you. I'll give you the chance to take revenge and raise your family's head again. Her eyes widened in amazement, and she asked in a low voice, Why are you doing all this for me? Why are you helping me like this and exposing yourself to a clash with the kingdom's most powerful families? Do you also want to marry me like Trandle as a reward for what you've done? Hill laughed lightly and said, Don't you see how the same questions keep repeating from everyone? Then, we're cousins according to what you told me, and marriage isn't strange in our family. If you're going to talk about using marriage in exchange for protection, this time you're the one who wants to exploit me. Isn't that right? Confusion reflected on Roland's face, as she had always been used to any man's approach, meaning he coveted her power or land, but this time she felt a new kind of safety. She stammered and tried to justify, I've suffered more than you can imagine. I'm not used to accepting help from anyone without payment. Everyone who tried to help me wanted something in return. I don't want to feel weak in front of you. Hill approached and shook his head, smiling. This isn't called weakness. Allow yourself to rest a little. Regain your strength and your true nature. A promise from me. I'll never leave you to the wolves. Prepare yourself tomorrow. I'll return you to the nobles' hall as a true ruler and heir of the Ovis family, and you'll stop everyone who tried to humiliate you. Then he turned to leave, leaving Roland stunned, whispering an embarrassed apology. Sorry, I didn't mean to think you were a bad person, he replied with his familiar smile. I know that, trust me. Just get ready for tomorrow. The path to restoring your family starts here, and on the other side of the royal palace. The emergency meeting of the second prince's allies was convened in an atmosphere charged with tension. Anxiety dominated those gathered, internal harassment among them, increasing after their failures against the first prince and the strengthening of the third prince's power. One of the nobles shouted, "Chaos is growing, and our plans have failed. If we don't find a way out soon, our enemies will eliminate us one by one." Marquis Pearl stepped forward. He looked around at everyone in the room and asked, "Does anyone here have a plan for dealing with this? We can't let the second or third prince take the throne if we do. We're all dead." Everyone went silent. They finally muttered, We don't have any ideas." He snapped at them. "Then what the hell are you thinking about? We need a plan now." That's when Marquise Beryl spoke up. "I might have an idea, and honestly it's the only move we have right now." He explained, "Right now, the first prince and his allies are still the leading candidates for ruling the kingdom. The third prince is growing stronger, fast, and he might challenge soon, but that doesn't really matter for us." They looked confused. "Why not? What do you mean it doesn't matter?" Mix Beryl replied, "Because the second prince's military power and that of his allies is stronger than all of them combined. That means we can launch a direct military strike against all the remaining factions while the kingdom is distracted. If we do that, we'll take the throne." Everyone was stunned by his suggestion. "That's a dangerous idea." But Tram just laughed. "That's exactly what I expected from you, Marquis. Your ideas are always bold." The Marquis nodded. "Thanks. I'll start preparing, but only on your orders, or the second prince's." Tram replied, "Good. Get yourself and all our allies ready. We move soon." The next morning, Hill and Roland wore their finest clothes and moved together to the royal capital. Hill expressed his admiration for the city's beauty, its luxurious buildings and golden decorations of the markets and squares. He asked Roland lightly, "You certainly visited this capital often in childhood with your family, didn't you?" Roland was confused. She announced calmly, "Actually, my feet haven't touched this place since I became a countess. That years, and I've been fighting monsters alone. I even forgot the streets of our city." Hill felt a pang in his heart and said with sincere regret, "If I had known how much you suffered alone, I should have come to you long ago. I won't let you stay in the shadows anymore." Roland smiled with emotion, so she extended her hand in embarrassment and wanted to withdraw it, but he gently held it and said, "Let's enjoy a small tour. If we're late, the tower's gate will get us to the noble's hall in 1 minute. The capital deserves to have its beauty discovered." From there, they passed near the royal palace, then entered a spacious adjacent restaurant. Roland thanked him shyly for her different day. "I really don't know how to express my thanks. It's been years since I was trapped in gloom, and here you are opening a door of new hope for me." Hill answered, "Don't thank me. Just get ready. Every neighborhood in your province will match the capital's areas. I'll help you until you and your people enjoy prosperity and honor." And suddenly a spiteful voice was heard calling in a mocking tone, "Is this really you, Roland? I didn't think your time allowed for diversions and restaurants, and who is this?" Roland froze in place and looked in shock. Loke, heir of Trandle, stepped forward and asked her rudely, "Who is this you're walking with? Didn't you refuse my marriage because you were busy with the region? Or were you lying from the beginning? Have you known him for a while? Is that why you refused me? Are you betraying me with this nobody?" He directed his speech to Hill in a challenging tone. "Who are you? Say your name immediately. If you were really important, you wouldn't hide your identity. You're certainly just a small three-circle mage from your pathetic family." Hill held the coffee cup in front of him and sipped calmly with an examining look at Loke, then smiled a dangerous smile. "You should know who interrupts dining tables." Locke's face flared with anger, and he rushed forward saying, "You're going too far with your insolence. Reveal your identity now, otherwise you won't see daylight." Roland stepped forward and intervened firmly in the conversation. "Shut up. Hill is my guest, and I'm responsible for every word that comes from you. Don't raise your voice in front of me and don't threaten anyone in my company." Everyone gathered around them, stares increasing and anticipation growing. Roland smiled with calm sarcasm as she directed her words to Loke, the arrogant heir of the Trandle family, saying, "If you still think Hill is just a three-circle mage, then you're more of a fool than I always thought you were." His eyebrows furrowed angrily, and he shouted, "And what do you mean?" She turned to him with defiant eyes and asked him in a tone full of confidence, "What's your royal rank in the kingdom, Loke?" His chest puffed up and he spoke with pride. "I'm the son of Marquis Trandle and his heir," she replied cunningly. "Exactly. You still haven't gotten an official title and don't carry full noble status. You're just the heir. But I am a legally recognized countess, and according to noble laws, I can punish you for your disrespect toward me and throw you in the royal prison until you officially become a marquis, and no one will stand by your side." Locke stopped, stunned and unable to find a response, his lips sealed in silence and his gaze confused. Roland turned toward Hill, apologizing to him in a calm tone. "I'm sorry for this disturbance. I think we should leave this place now." Hill nodded approvingly and stood up, and they moved to exit the restaurant while Locke gritted his teeth in rage, watching them leave. He whispered to himself, "I've wasted years and many resources trying to make the Ovis family submit to me, and in the end this bastard comes and steals her right in front of my eyes. I'll never let them get away with this. Roland walked out with Hill to the outer plaza. Roland sighed and said calmly, "Let's get away from here. I don't want to be in the same place with that bastard any longer. Seeing him at the nobles' meeting is enough for me," leaving behind Locke's anger and wounded pride. On the other side of the palace, the king was holding a private meeting with Duke Elias, discussing recent developments. The king said in amazement, "I can't believe the Manti-Beast problem in Ovis province ended like that." Elias smiled and replied, "All credit goes to Hill. His power is limitless, and he has rare-type energy, and even his combat skills rival the greatest sword masters. His personality gets deeper with every face he reveals. That's why I describe him as an onion. Every new layer shows you something amazing." The king laughed. "Your comparisons are always strange, but I understood your point. Hill's presence in the kingdom has greatly relieved me of the burden of conflict between my sons. His attendance at today's nobles meeting will be a new key to solving crises, and perhaps supporting the third prince. I want to see how he'll deal with them." Duke Elias seemed astonished. Hill is a magic tower lord, and tower lords don't usually interfere in politics, but he is indeed different every time he acts contrary to expectations. The king replied with confidence and calm, "I know that. From my first meeting with him, I felt I needed his help, and that's why I invited him today. We'll see how he changes the balance." A little later, the annual nobles meeting began in the palace's grand hall. The major families gathered with the crown princes and the king in the center, the atmosphere charged and conflict evident in eyes and exchanged words. The king opened the discussion, saying to everyone, "Our meeting today is in search of the kingdom's future. I want each family to present their vision and projects without reservation." Duke Tyrion stepped forward, saying in a stern tone, "We are at our strongest after eliminating the beast that threatened us. We must prove our military strength to all other kingdoms. And this begins with displaying power and occupying the neighboring kingdom of Nisan. They've stolen from us and insulted us for years under the pretext of border problems. This is madness. They might declare us an aggressive state and lead us to a continental war." Tyrion replied coldly, "Our armies are stronger, and I have 20,000 fighters to deter any threat. This is the time to prove sovereignty." Here Marquis Trandel intervened and said firmly, "This is nonsense. Our strength is still fragile after the beast invasion. Instead of occupying other kingdoms, focus on fortifying defenses and political negotiation to avoid any future crisis." The king watched the conflict calmly, knowing each side's goals. Trandel to protect the first prince, and Tyrion to glorify the second prince and domination ambitions. The king laughed after the scene of argument. "It's like I knew you wouldn't agree, but I have a reason that made me hold this meeting early this year, and it's time to invite you to welcome the new guest, Hill." The hall door opened and Hill entered calmly and majestically. Everyone stood in amazement, especially Locke, who stood up angrily and shouted, "This bastard from the Ovis family, what is he doing here?" All eyes fixed on him, and some nobles began whispering about his identity. Locke shouted, having lost his composure, "He insulted me in public, and we met by chance with Lauren at the capital's restaurant. He tried to stop me and interfered with my marriage proposal to her, and he even dared to insult me in front of people. And here he is now challenging me here. I demand he be tried." Locke exploded in anger in the hall, his voice rising defiantly, addressing the king and speaking to the rest of the nobles. "Your Majesty, I demand punishment for this bastard for insulting a noble like me. He's a fraud. He insulted me in front of everyone, and he must be punished. Otherwise, the entire kingdom's sympathy with the nobles will be shaken." The hall turned into a tense scene, with everyone awaiting the royal response. As for Hill, he tilted his head and laughed gently, saying sarcastically, "Strange. Why are you so fanatical like this, Locke? But I have a surprise for you that you never dreamed of." The king intervened firmly at that moment to settle the argument before it got out of control. "Stop it, Locke. You don't have the right to punish Hill or try him. Hill isn't an ordinary person in the kingdom. He's our priceless treasure. Let me formally introduce the attendees. We have here today the new Magic Tower Commander, Lord of Kingdoms, the wizard who built the Mana Tower in our land, Hill." The hall exploded in surprise, and stunned silence prevailed, and the nobles whispered, "Magic Tower Commander? A seven-circle wizard? This will change all the power balances in the kingdom. Is he really this young? And how can his power equal Duke Tyrion's power? If he joins a certain side, he'll decide the throne struggle." Hill laughed calmly and responded to their questions. "I see you're incredulous because I don't look like old wizards or white-haired ones. So, witness the truth for yourselves." Hill raised his hand. Mana gathered in the air, creating a massive mana circle that released energy pulses that scared even Duke Tyrion himself. The Duke's face turned pale and he whispered, "A wizard, with 7 circles. How did we get him? Do the invaders themselves have such wizards?" As for Marquis Trandel, he rushed forward, chewing his lips nervously. "We're in trouble. His presence is dangerous to the future of all major families." The royal cover returned to the king, who said, "Thank you, Hill, for this display. I think your presence today was enough to convince everyone of your actual weight. Stop your magic now, please, as you've become clear proof before them." Hill smiled. "As you wish, my lord," and suddenly withdrew the mana, calming the atmosphere while gloom remained dominant on the faces of Locke and all who opposed him. Locke stammered, barely believing. "A wizard, with 7 circles. His status surpasses all nobles, and he's stronger than any marquis here," Hill answered with a sarcastic smile and eyes shining with unstoppable power. "Now you know my worth. Try to anger Roland after that, and you won't find anywhere to hide from the mana that will crush you." Marquis Trandle looked at his son Locke with rage reaching its peak. "What have you done? You've put our family in a major crisis with your ignorance and arrogance." Hill stood up and rose. "I came to introduce myself to the nobles with good intentions, but it seems my presence undermined many plans, so I'll withdraw now. I won't waste my time with those who think themselves the center of the universe." The king apologized to Hill politely. "No worries, Hill. I'll arrange a better meeting than this for you in the future. Your presence with us is an honor, and I guarantee you'll be on the best terms with everyone from today." Hill bid farewell to the hall in his way. "I hope you treat me with respect, as this is in your interest before mine." Roland laughed and whispered to him as she left beside him. "Your personality is strong even before the strongest nobles, as if you weren't born among them, but to lead them." The king sat after Hill's departure, addressing the nobles. "From now on, Hill is the savior and safety valve for the kingdom. Whoever bothers him will put himself in a predicament he'll never escape. Just learn the lesson." All the nobles supporting the first and second princes felt frustration and defeat, and were certain that the third prince's chance at the throne became almost certain with Hill in his ranks, and that any of their plans for domination would fail before the magic tower's power and its new commander. As for Duke Tyrion, he was angry at the scattering of war dreams and said to himself, "The presence of a magic tower with this power on the borders of Nisan Kingdom means my plans to invade our neighbors won't work now. Everything is over." Then the king ended the meeting quickly. "Since you witnessed today the strongest wizard on the continent, and your old plans were withdrawn, the meeting is over. I don't want to see anyone bothering Hill. This is a warning, not a suggestion." The king left the hall to head toward his library, where he found his daughter Princess Alice reading quietly among the books. He smiled tenderly and asked her, "I looked for you everywhere. I didn't expect you here for 2 days. You're truly a lover of knowledge." Alice closed the book and looked at her father with a warm smile. "I love books more than all royal conflicts." "What's the matter, father?" The king sat beside her and whispered gently, "You've become 17 and this is the age of making big decisions. You're the most precious jewel in our family, and my most trusted child." Alice warmly thanked her father and asked him cautiously, "What exactly do you need from me?" The king looked directly into her eyes and said seriously, "The entire future of the kingdom hangs on you. There's a big party tomorrow. All the nobles will gather there. I want you to meet the wizard Hill and study his character well. I'm asking you to propose marriage to him if you're convinced. His marriage to you will protect our throne from all the prince's conflicts and unite the kingdom behind me, and it will turn you into the most powerful princess in the kingdom in the future." Alice's face reddened slightly from the weight of the request, but she nodded calmly. "I've heard a lot about his power and intelligence, and his personality too. I didn't believe someone like this existed at my age. I'll go to him tomorrow and see for myself. But I won't marry anyone without being convinced, and I promise you I'll do my best for the family." The king was delighted and hugged her tenderly. "What I'm asking of you is only for the future, and your freedom is as you wish, because you're smart and I trust you more than everyone." The princess left the library with books in her hands and thought to herself, "Is Hill really this intelligent and mysterious? How will my brothers react if he gets close to me? And will he agree to be central in the throne game himself?" And so, the royal palace prepared for a decisive night, where power and politics and love and betrayal might all meet in one party, and where no one knows who the kingdom's coming fate will smile upon. The atmosphere of the luxurious royal party began glowing that evening, and the lights of the great hall reflected on the decorated walls, and tropical fruits and elegant music danced among the guests. Hill entered the royal palace alongside Roland, and their footsteps created a soft echo that filled the place with majesty. Roland looked around and spoke with a cheerful laugh, her words full of gratitude and humor. "It seems like the moment your power showed up, even the most terrifying men in the kingdom started being wary of you. You didn't ask for their respect. You just proved your strength in front of them and made them stop risking playing with you or your friends. Even me. All eyes are on me now because you're beside me. Who would have thought I'd get this attention someday?" Hill smiled with half sarcasm and asked her, "Do you know this is a real royal party? So, why are you wearing knight's clothes? Wouldn't an aristocratic dress have been better?" Roland shrugged with childish defiance and said, "Knight's clothes are way more comfortable. I'm here for my name and position, not to attract marriage proposals. But, if you really want to see me in a dress, wait for the next meeting." Hill laughed with his his dry response. Are you stupid? Nobody cares about these things except you. What's important is that you succeed in your role with us here. She smiled at him with sarcastic tenderness. You're the harshest person I've ever known. You didn't even try to flatter me with a simple lie. The two entered the ancient castle, and all the attendees stared at Hill with amazement and curiosity. Hill's plan was simple. Being the biggest star, the nobles would try to get close to him through Roland first. And so, Roland suddenly found herself the center of attention from nobles who just yesterday despised her family's name. She felt indescribable euphoria and whispered to Hill, I never imagined I'd regain my place this quickly. Even the weakest noble families yesterday are reliving memories of old glory with me. But now, everyone's begging just to talk to me. Hill stood, watching her from afar, feeling satisfied, wishing she'd get maximum benefit from this rare opportunity. King Rudolph and his daughter, Princess Alice, arrived amid celebration and warm greetings. The king climbed the platform and announced to everyone that the party was being held in honor of the strongest and youngest tower wizard, Hill, savior of the kingdom from monster attacks and conflicts. The king approached Hill and spoke to him respectfully. Everyone here is for you today, Hill. Would you honor us with a word before the nobles? Hill stood proudly before everyone, and after a simple greeting and royal courtesy, he said in a steady tone, using nerve magic to calm the atmosphere, I want you to consider me an ally to all of you from today. Our goal is one, the kingdom's prosperity and its people's happiness. I don't want any hostilities between me and you, or between you and my partners. Let's only be strong if we unite. A strange wave of warmth swept through the hall, tensions dropped, and the nobles began looking at each other with new hope. Even the troublemakers felt a desire to turn over a new leaf. Hill finished his speech saying, I wish you an enjoyable party, and I won't forget your good deeds and our relationships that will flourish in the future. Hale said, this party's full of people who can't stand each other because of the whole fight over the throne. He added, that's why I used a tension relief spell on them. It should help calm things down a bit. Maybe they'll treat each other better, at least for now. Then he sighed and said, I really hate conflicts, especially ones over the throne. I just hope these people stop fighting. And soon, Hill stepped out to a side balcony away from the hall's noise. He muttered, the noise exhausts me. No matter how hard I try, I'll never get used to noble life. My life was and will remain simple, even if I become Lord of the Tower. Suddenly, he heard quiet footsteps. He turned to find Princess Alice herself. She approached him with friendly looks and a bit of tension. I expected you'd be here in a quiet corner. I want to talk to you if possible. Hill was surprised by her appearance and said, smiling, the kingdom's first princess, I know you. The king hasn't stopped talking about you in our last meeting, and I respect you. I've heard a lot about your brilliance. Alice replied calmly, I was looking for a chance to welcome you. Meeting a young magical tower lord like this is rare, even unprecedented. He noticed her embarrassment and kindness in speaking, so he smiled and thanked her. Alice said, I think you know why I came to you in the first place. At least, someone like you is smart enough to know what the country's king brought me to you for. Hill answered her directly, all I understood from the king's talk and your expressions now is that your kingdom values my power and ultimately wants me to protect it by joining the royal family, meaning by marrying you. Alice admitted shyly, that's partially true, but there's a small error in your analysis. I'm here to propose marriage to you indeed, but not just because my father asked me to, but because I'm interested in you yourself and your rare talent. The first wizard in history to reach 7 circles at this young age. I want to know your story. How did you reach this level? And how did you develop? Do you have a secret teacher or great source of influence we don't know about? Hill laughed and stepped back. Your boldness amazed me. Actually, I taught myself everything. No teacher and no secrets, other than diligence and repetition until it hurt. I'm human just like you. Alice was shocked and declared her admiration. So, geniuses really are born. I always thought outstanding people like you stay away from reality. You're supposed to be arrogant, but you're humble. You even surprised me. Alice sighed and continued, I'm a princess and have everything, except my freedom. Every request from my family involves a political deal or arranged marriage, and I'm lost between them. They want me to marry you to save the kingdom. I don't really know if I'll save it this way or not, but it's my responsibility, Hill replied with confidence and warmth. No one can force you to marry, even if you're a princess. Help the kingdom as you wish. I'll stand with you with my power, as long as you choose that of your own free will. You should look for your own happiness too, not sacrifice your soul serving others. Alice's eyes teared up slightly from being moved. She smiled and said, I never imagined finding someone this honest. Now I admit I'm impressed with you even more. You weren't just a genius, but also human. She said to herself, I'm not just impressed with him, but I'm actually starting to fall in love with him. How rare you are, wizard. Hill left the place quietly, and was surprised by Lolan waiting for him outside the balcony with her familiar smile. Hill was breathing the cold night air outside the royal hall when he was surprised by Roland's appearance, so he smiled, saying with wonder, What are you doing here? She replied with a calm smile, I was waiting for you to finish your talk with the princess. Don't worry, No one hurt us. Hill shook his head and said seriously, "Good. Now I want you to control the nobles you allied with today at the party and achieve what we agreed on. All your allies must support the third prince from this moment." Amazement was clear on her face, and she wondered, whispering, "Are you planning to put the third prince's scale in the balance of the royal conflict's power and use these families' votes to support him until you create a new balance in the kingdom?" Hill smiled. "As I expected, you're smart. The whole kingdom is now divided between supporters of the first and second prince. If you stand with the third, you'll make a big difference that's hard to overcome." She looked at him confidently and said, "You knew my answer. As I told you in our first meeting, I'll stand with you and I'll execute everything you ask. My trust in you is greater than even my trust in any noble in this kingdom." Hill thanked her warmly and added, "Rely on me too. The road ahead is difficult, but our success is guaranteed by our solidarity." And on the other side of the kingdom's borders, amid the dense forest shadows, a group of knights wearing pale black clothes began sneaking through the trees. Their leader spoke with an excited voice. "We've finally reached the lands of Dolian Kingdom. The High Priest ordered us to bring the saint no matter what it costs. Get ready. We won't leave anything to chance tonight." And in the royal palace, the envoy went to the king and told him, "We need to take the saint back to our kingdom." The king was shocked. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. The envoy, whose name was Paul, nodded. "We're sure. That saint was born in our kingdom before she was moved to the kingdom of Toulon. We've already checked all the neighboring kingdoms, and we're certain she's here." The king was stunned by what he heard and asked, "So what should we do now?" He added, "If the saint really is here, and they manage to take her, their kingdom's power will increase dramatically." He continued, "The Holy Kingdom's military strength is about equal to ours. But what sets our army apart is the presence of one of the top 10 swordmasters in the world. His strength alone is enough to wipe out entire armies. They wouldn't stand a chance against him." Then he paused for a moment and said, "Still, for now, we'll cooperate. It's better to avoid conflict." The king turned to Paul and asked, "So how exactly can we help you?" Paul replied, "Our kingdom can easily control the saint's sacred power. We don't need anything from you except for access. We just need you to help us reach her in the land of prophecy." The king's eyes widened. "The land of prophecy? What are you talking about?" Paul explained, "It's a region near Ravaitan, on the edge of your kingdom. We believe it's a valley filled with monsters, and that the source of the saint's power is coming from deep inside it." The king was completely stunned. "Impossible. That land belongs to Hale." He looked back at Paul. "That journey will be dangerous. Are you really sure about this?" Paul answered calmly, "We're sure. I'll send you a guide tomorrow, someone who knows the way to that territory." Then he turned and left the room. The king rushed to Ceylon's room, the palace's head wizard, and said urgently, "I need you for something urgent. Contact Hill's tower immediately through the magic circles. I have to talk to him now." Ceylon was surprised and said, "Your Majesty, all right, I'll do it right away." At the massive magic tower, on the outskirts of Hill's province, Hill stood with Hana in front of a blue mana barrier surrounding their city. He said proudly, "We're done. No external force can easily penetrate our province anymore. The binding magic will weaken even the strongest wizards, and it'll give our people time to prepare for any military invasion." Hana looked around in amazement. "You still amaze me with your power every day, Hill. I didn't expect such a mighty magical barrier." He smiled gently and replied, "This will suffice for a short while, but we need to prepare for a large-scale attack if the Saint's army tries to breach the province." Lena arrived, running and calling out, "Hill, the royal palace is trying to contact us through the magic tower. It seems something serious has happened." Hill raised his eyebrow with concern. "There must be a serious problem now. Hana, rest tonight. The coming days will be very exhausting." He quickly bid them farewell, preparing for the crucial call with the king. Hill stood, after saying goodbye to Hana and Lena, in the middle of the towering magic tower and cast a teleportation spell to return directly to the heart of his tower. His eyes were full of determination, knowing that the coming days would be difficult for him and his small family. Hill activated the large magic mirror, and King Rudolph's image appeared before him. The king spoke first, exhaustion and worry evident on his face. "I wanted to speak with you alone, Hill. There's a big problem that will affect not just your tower, but the entire kingdom. Do you know something about what's happening, or should I explain it to you?" Hill replied calmly as he sat facing the mirror. "I think the kingdom's mission has raised your concerns. Their demands aren't simple, and I believe you are waiting for me to inform you of what they're planning." Real surprise appeared on the king's face. "How did you know about their arrival?" "They entered the palace in disguise, and no one knew of their presence," Hill answered with a cold smile. "I've been monitoring the kingdom's borders for days, and I saw the mission even before they entered the capital. They also have supporting knights hiding near the borders, ready to strike at any moment if they feel their request won't be fulfilled." The king's tone changed and he asked directly, "Is the saint in your tower, Hill?" Hill shook his head and declared frankly, "Yes, Serena is part of my family and I won't hand her over to anyone. What she's been through doesn't deserve to be repeated, even if it's under the name of saint or blessed. The king stared at him with serious eyes. You don't need to explain your feelings for her. You have two choices. Either hand her over to them or prepare for war. The kingdom won't stop, they're crazy, and everyone avoids confronting them. And the girl in your hands means achieving the prophecy for them, Hill said firmly. If they want to get close to Serena, they first have to get through me. I'll destroy the entire kingdom if I have to. Serena is still sleeping. All her power is converting to massive energy, but I won't allow anyone to return her to slavery, even if it's called sainthood. My mother and I went through to give her a human life. I won't let anyone take her from us again, even if it costs me my life. The king felt the pressure and said, this is your choice. But the only thing I ask of you is to know that the kingdom will attack you with their full force. They have one of the greatest swordsmen on the continent, and if you alone can withstand them, that would be a miracle. Even 7 circles aren't enough. These aren't like any other army. Hill smiled and said, no problem. I'm ready to fight them whatever the cost. What matters is that no one dares to hurt my family. The king sighed sadly and said, I know your feelings. Life has no taste if you know that those you love are treated like slaves. Death is easier for all of them. The king continued, what exactly do you need from me? Hill said, I just want your kingdom to remain neutral to any side. Don't send aid to any party so you don't drag the entire kingdom into a war. I'll fight them alone, and I won't allow the kingdom's name to be used as an excuse to burn our country. The king agreed immediately. Alright, this is the simplest request I've heard in my life. Staying neutral is the only solution to protect the people from destruction. I'll continue misleading the mission. I'll let them get lost in dangerous areas, and give you a full month to prepare. By then, they'll have lost your trail for some time. Hill thanked the king with a rare smile. This is the first time I feel that someone outside my family actually cares about me. I'll remain indebted to you for that. The king answered as he cut the connection. I'll inform you of any developments immediately. Take care of yourself, Hill. After the call ended, Hill went out to the tower balcony contemplating the sunset over his land, his eyes sparkling with determination. I'll protect you all. Whoever tries to hurt one of my family will perish. I swear it. In Count Ovis's province, Paul, the kingdom's envoy, had finally arrived, exhaustion evident on him. He met Roland, who welcomed him and apologized for her delay due to numerous tasks and fighting monsters. Paul said while catching his breath tiredly, it took me a month to get here. I think the guide King Rudolph sent doesn't know directions at all. Whenever I pointed to a route on the map, he disagreed and said he knew the place better than me, but he finally got us here. Roland smiled and replied warmly, these province borders are difficult even for the locals. Tell me, why does an envoy from the kingdom come to me? This is a rare honor for our small province. Paul said seriously, we're looking for the saint. Our prophecies and investigations say she's now in the kingdom of Telian. Do you know where she is? Roland shook her head calmly. I don't know about that, Paul. If I knew, I would have pointed you to her immediately, but I'll help you with whatever else you need. Paul continued questioning, in the La Vitan region, is there an area filled with magic and monsters? The oracle told us this is the place where the saint will appear. Roland looked puzzled, then shook her head. I've never heard of such areas here. I think the oracle made an error in her description. She might have woven stories to add excitement and caution for searchers. Paul asked her after a while with hesitation. I also heard about the appearance of a massive magic tower in the kingdom some time ago. Do you know its exact location? Roland smiled initially with tension while trying to hide her wariness. I actually heard about rumors of the magic tower, but I was busy fighting monsters recently, so I didn't verify those rumors. Paul looked at her with focus, and it appeared he didn't believe her, then said, I heard the magic tower is in the Venta Valley area that's full of manti monsters. You definitely know that valley, right? Roland replied. Venta Valley is very dangerous, and if you want my advice, avoid it. The monsters there could kill you and all your forces. Paul smiled with half sarcasm and added, but you said you have many monsters that came out of that valley, and that you fight them. And the strange thing is that while I was searching in the forest here, I didn't even see a trace of a single monster. Where are the monsters you're fighting? Roland laughed confidently and said, the monsters were definitely scared of your power and the soldiers with you. They always say that demonic monsters flee from energy. Paul laughed quietly and said, your lie is obvious, and I don't have enough energy to make all monsters flee like that. Anyway, thanks for your confidence in us. He signaled his assistant to leave, saying, move out. We'll search for the tower in the neighboring area. It's clear they're trying to hide its existence. Paul and his forces left quickly, and when his assistant asked him, where are we going now? Paul said, the saint is in the magic tower, and the tower is in Venta Valley. It's clear they're trying to mislead us, but I'll find the valley's location faster than they imagine, and anyone who stands between us and our goal gets executed immediately. Roland kept watching the scene from afar while laughing to herself. Hill told me to lie as much as I can so they'd walk into the trap. The rest is up to him. As soon as he needs me, I'll be ready to move. Paul finally arrived with his soldiers at Venta Valley. Everyone stood before a towering rock wall that blocked the valley. The force commander said warily, there are no monsters like we heard, but we need to be ready. There could always be a trap. One of the soldiers asked Paul while wiping sweat from his forehead, why did the tower master choose to build his tower in a valley full of monsters, Paul replied harshly. Either he's a genius with weird habits, or he hates humans and wants to live isolated from them. What matters is our mission is one, the saint only, and we don't care who he is. They began attempting to destroy the wall until Hill suddenly appeared among them, smiling sarcastically, saying, "Strange that I see a priest from the kingdom with such violence. Isn't priesthood supposed to be an example of mercy? You guys are closer to mercenaries." Paul was astonished and said, "Who are you?" Hill laughed and said, "Never mind the questions. What matters is, this is my land and I didn't allow any foreign soldiers to enter it. Please go back. It's better for you," Paul said after realizing Hill's identity. "Are you actually the Tower Master? Impossible that you're this young and have 7-circle power," Hill answered coldly. "You can call me King of Venta Valley Land. Why did you enter it without permission?" Paul got a bit flustered and continued, "I heard there's a young Tower Master who crushed an entire noble family in the neighboring kingdom, and he has a golden golem at the level of Master Swordsman. Was that actually you?" Hill smiled coldly and answered, 100%, and this is a chance to revisit your memories of them." Paul looked around nervously, then declared, "We came here looking for the saint. We learned she's here. If she's really here, hand her over and save yourself." Hill answered, "True, I have the saint, but I won't hand her over to just anyone, because the saint is my fiancée, and our wedding is soon." Silence fell over Paul and he screamed, "Impossible! If the saint gets married, her power will end. This is wrong of you, and we can't let this happen." Hill replied sarcastically, "That's not your problem, and understand that you're on my land, and if you push it, no one's going back." Paul issued orders to his soldiers, "Get ready. We'll get rid of this scoundrel and retrieve the saint immediately." In the blink of an eye, Hill drew a massive magic circle on the ground beneath all their feet and said, "I love idiots. They make my job easier. Now you'll see types of magic you've never seen before." Dark fog rose in the sky, surrounding the soldiers of the kingdom and completely blocking their vision. They began screaming, "We can't see anything. This is terrible mental magic." Paul was shocked, trying to control his nerves, and the soldiers were confused, experiencing the terror of real power and inescapable isolation for the first time. Inside the thick fog, Paul tried to calm his soldiers and said in a firm voice, "Stay calm. It's clear this scoundrel prepared a mental manipulation magic trap for us, but we can get out of it. Use your anti-magic shields immediately. We need to cancel his magic, gather our strength, and get back to the saint." The soldiers followed orders and began channeling their energies into the shields. Indeed, they succeeded in breaking a large part of the fog spell. Hill was watching them from afar and laughing, saying with his usual sarcasm, "Good, they're using light magic to cancel the spell, but it's clear I have to show them that my fog is just the beginning." Then he raised his staff and cast mental confusion magic, sending intermittent waves that hit everyone in the fog with complete loss of senses. "Your ability to see isn't the only thing you'll lose tonight. Try to escape, if any of you can." Paul's assistant screamed among their ranks, "Can't see anything. If this continues, we could easily be hunted down one by one." Hale said, "My magic isn't something anyone can just escape from. Even I would be affected if I stepped fully into it." Then he pulled out his enchanted glasses, so he could see clearly through the thick magical fog. He stepped forward and muttered, "The mages inside are strong, but the moment I seal their senses, they become weaker than regular humans." Meanwhile, Paul's assistant was panicking. "I'm trying to keep track of what's happening, but I can't see a damn thing in this fog. This is bad. He could hunt them down one by one." He added, "He's using conscious magic. We need to use light magic to escape. That's our only option." The group began casting light spells, trying to pierce through the mist, but nothing worked. The light just vanished inside it. Paul's assistant tried again, pouring all his energy into one big light spell and yelled, "Everyone, push all your magic out at once. We have to get out of here first. You can recharge your mana later." But to his shock, their magic was draining fast. He looked around. "Why are you stopping? Keep going." One of them shouted, "Something's wrong. It's absorbing our magic. We can't keep it up." They looked around frantically. "Where's Priest Paul? We need his help." And scene shifts to Hale's knights waiting outside. Their commander, Mater, looked around. Hale's taking a while. Just then, Hale appeared out of the mist, tossing Paul's unconscious body in front of them. "I was dealing with some pests," he said coldly. Mater asked, "Is that the bastard who was chasing the saint in our region?" Hale nodded. "He's one of them." Mater stepped forward. "Should I end him now? It'd be better for us." But Hale shook his head. "Number, we're going to use them in the war against the Holy Kingdom." Mater nodded. "Got it. We'll do whatever you command." One of the knights stepped up. "We've pledged our loyalty to you for a long time, but are you sure we can win this? They're powerful." Hale calmly replied, "Relax, we'll win." He then used his storage magic and pulled out enchanted goggles and magic sealing shackles. Mater looked surprised. "What are we doing with these?" Hale smirked. "The goggles will protect you from the fog. It's coated with magic. The shackles? They seal holy magic. Once you bind the priest with them, they'll be even weaker than average humans." He handed them over and added, "This task is yours now." Mater's squad entered the fog. The enemy mages couldn't see anything, but suddenly, they were grabbed and bound with the enchanted shackles. As soon as the priest's magic was sealed, they collapsed to the ground completely powerless. Paul's assistant charged at Mater, shouting, "Who the hell are you? I won't let you beat us that easily." But Mater took him down with a single strike and said, "You're too weak. You're all under my master's spell now. And this is your fault, for challenging the strongest mage alive. He sealed the assistant's magic like the rest, and the squad returned to Hale. Mater reported, "We've captured them just like you asked. They were weak." Hale nodded. "Good. Take them to my magic tower. We'll use them as leverage against the Holy Kingdom." Then he turned to his forces. "Get ready for war. The battle against the Holy Kingdom won't be easy, but it's the only way I can protect my family and my region. I'll stand against anyone who tries to hurt them." We moved to the kingdom. The high priest gathered in the vision chamber, and their elder Dyer said, 2 weeks have passed since the mission to retrieve the saint departed. The last contact was directly before they entered Finta Valley in the kingdom of Tolian. After that, all trace of them was lost. Worry dominated the faces, and everyone whispered to the other, "Did they fall into a trap? Is the saint now in enemy hands? Did they face an unknown force in Finta Valley?" Some wondered anxiously, how does a group this powerful suddenly disappear? There must be someone very strong who attacked them, or Manti beasts got them. But High Priest Dyer shook his head and said, "No, the last message from Priest Paul was clear. He said he heard about a new magic tower appearing in Finta Valley, and was sure the saint was there, so their disappearance probably has something to do with that tower." Everyone present changed their expressions to shock. "A new magic tower? How does it suddenly appear, and no one in the kingdom knows about it, and also in the middle of a valley full of Manti beasts?" "Impossible," Tayer said. "The information isn't sufficient, but it's clear the matter is bigger than any ordinary possibility." One of the priests delivered his decisive words. "What matters now is that our mission disappeared, and the kingdom's saint herself is missing. We need to send a stronger mission immediately to search for them and take revenge if something happened to them." Priest Secret agreed and added firmly, "I have a suggestion. We haven't had a saint appear for 300 years. Our top priority now is retrieving her, even at the cost of anything else. We need to prepare a mission with almost the entire army's strength, led by Duke Riyadh himself, commander of the Silver Knights." Shock appeared on Dyer. "Duke Riyadh? He represents 30% of the army's strength, and his departure from the kingdom has dangerous implications. The other kingdoms avoid entering conflict with us mainly because of him, to the point that he's one of the 10 strongest knights on the continent." Dyer asked the other priests for their opinions, and they supported Secret's words, saying, "Unity is necessary now, and we need to show the kingdom's true power to the entire continent, and we need to support Duke Riyadh with our strongest mages for any emergency." Dyer completed the decision. "We'll send Duke Riyadh with the Silver Knights and powerful mages. The entire kingdom's fate depends on the mission's success. Prepare the mission with all weapons and tools. Destroy anyone who blocks your path and retrieve the saint, whoever your opponent may be." The scene moved to Hill arriving at Nizar City to meet Dibble. Dibble was at the peak of his shock hearing the story. "Repeat what you said, Hill. You're saying you have the saint, attacked kingdom knights, and actually captured prisoners. Everyone's going to go crazy." Hill laughed and said without fear, "Yeah, it'll be an entertaining war." Dibble stood stunned before him. "You're planning to enter direct war against the kingdom with all its power, especially with Knight Riyadh present, who alone terrorizes half the continent," Hill said confidently. "I don't have any other choice. If I were a man, I wouldn't let anyone kidnap my wife from my home." Dibble caught the lightning in Hill's eyes and asked him seriously, "What do you mean by your wife?" Hill replied firmly, "Serena, the saint is mine and my wife, and no matter what happens I won't give her up, and anyone who tries to get close to her, their end is known." Dibble sighed and said, "The matter is very difficult. You need to have a clear plan." "What's the plan?" Hill said, "I expect the kingdom is now preparing a stronger new mission, led by the Silver Knights. I'll first try to offer them peaceful withdrawal. If they agree, the story ends, and if they refuse, there'll be war, and I think they'll refuse." Dibble, "It's clear you won't let anyone interfere, but know that I'll stand behind you and provide secret help if you need anything." Hill smiled and said, "Actually, I need 2 favors. First, I have a large number of prisoners and people in the area, and resources aren't sufficient. Buy me a large food supply that's enough for everyone for a long period. Second, reduce Manti blood exports from now on." Dibble was puzzled. "Why? That's a very important resource." Hill said seriously, "Do what I tell you. You'll understand my meaning later. This step is very important in my plan." Dibble agreed and said, "All right, everything you want will happen immediately." The scenes begin from inside the kingdom, where the Silver Knight squad prepares with all their equipment for travel, and each member knows this mission is the most important in their history. High Priest Dyer stands beside Duke Riyadh, thanking him warmly for answering the call and apologizing for interrupting his training. So Riyadh replies confidently, "Riyadh, don't worry, Dyer. This kingdom is my home, and we'll do whatever it takes to retrieve the saint and the knights." Dyer then goes around to the priests and mages traveling with the mission, strengthening their resolve. "The mission is dangerous, and the kidnapped knights expect a lot from you. Work with one spirit and you'll be the kingdom's heroes." Everyone shows enthusiasm and commitment. Then Riyadh begins activating the instant teleportation package with their magic abilities, and he and his massive force teleport to the outskirts of Finta Valley and Count Robus's area. There, they arrive at the county, located between Finta Valley and the kingdom of Meton. The last place contact was picked up with Priest Paul and his knights. Riyadh discusses with his soldiers saying, "Paul reached Finta to valley and his news was cut off there. We'll enter the valley ourselves. Get ready. We'll face an unconventional danger. Count Leon turns to the soldiers. Be ready from now. Any small mistake could mean many people's end. They all move forward and deploy the first exploration group into the valley. Leanne's voice trembles with astonishment. 6 of our greatest knights, with 50 paladins, and not one survived? There's terrifying magic inside that valley. Riyadh insists on entering the fog himself, despite Leon's warnings. This fog is so thick, like an invisible wall. I have to see for myself what's hidden inside. The rest of the knights and mages follow him, driven by courage and fear at the same time. Riyadh begins entering the heart of the fog, and feels deep isolation, as if the entire world has vanished. He calls to his forces but hears only echoes. He gets angry, pulls out his hammer, and strikes the ground with all his power. A mighty golden wave of light spreads out, clearing all the fog from the area and revealing a complete city with a magic tower and buildings from ancient times. Riyadh is terrified. What is this place? This land was crawling with manti beasts and no humans lived here. Who built a tower here? Hill appears before him, smiling lightly, watching his reaction, and says, "You ruined my game, Duke. You know, if you'd been a few minutes late, I would have captured your entire army." Riyadh is shocked by the wizard's youthful appearance, then sees his commanders and soldiers stunned, their senses shattered, and having lost any ability to fight. Hill laughs. "If you'd stayed in the fog a bit longer, you would have become like them, powerless and mindless." Riyadh, clearly confused. "What are all these powers, and who are you? Show yourself immediately." Hill circles around him, and suddenly appears behind him. "I'm Hill, master of the magic tower and ruler of this entire region. Welcome to my personal kingdom." Riyadh asks in a tense voice. "Are you responsible for the fog and the magic that weaken the soldiers? Why do you use magic so cruelly?" Hill answers sarcastically. "How should I receive my enemies on my land? You came to steal my family by force. You should have expected traps." Riyadh sighs and accepts the situation. "True, we didn't come for peace, so I don't blame you for your actions. Tell me honestly, is the saint here with you?" Hill smiles. "I don't know anyone by that name. I only have a member of my family, and I won't give them up to anyone." Riyadh tries to convince him. "I appreciate you protecting your people, but that girl was chosen by the ruler himself. I must obey orders." Hill replies defiantly, "And does the ruler give orders to lunatics like you? I've never seen anyone stupider." Riyadh's eyes narrow and he draws his golden hammer, which glows with frightening power. "I could have reasoned with you peacefully, but you chose war. I'll crush you and get the saint back, whatever the cost." Hill smiles and summons Tilna from magical space. Then, "Welcome to a duel you'll never forget. Tilna, time to work." Tilna lunges with mythical force at Riyadh, strikes the ground and sends the Duke flying. Hill summons his golden arrow and shouts, "You came here to die, and I warned you." He attacks Riyadh with the golden arrow, but the Duke converts his hammer to golden power and deflects the arrow at enormous magical cost. Riyadh in shock. "What is this weapon? I've never seen power like it before." Hill laughed. "That's just a simple arrow. If you're scared of it, then I'm disappointed." Riyadh's eyes gleam with challenge, and the great confrontation between the Tower Master and the Kingdom's Knight escalates. As the confrontation intensified, Duke Riyadh witnessed how his army was unable to move, and the voices of his knights were fragmented from inside the magical barrier. Riyadh frantically calling out, "Are you gonna stand back and watch me? You're knights of the kingdom. Move!" But one of the soldiers screams while struggling, trying to move. "Duke, we can't. There's a magical barrier stopping us, like we're chained. This is definitely a trap." Riyadh was amazed, then pulled himself together and regained his focus. Hill, who was watching the situation with the calm of a victor, interrupted the conversation with a cold smile. "I prevented the easy prey from approaching, because they're worthless. This battle is between you and me, Kingdom Knight." Then he brought out from behind him the group of priests he had captured from the exploration squad, bound in magical shackles, and threw them to the ground in front of Riyadh, saying, "These are the fate of every weakling who challenges my territory. You shouldn't have sent exploration squads before you. This is my message to the rest of your armies." Riyadh became enraged and shouted, "How dare you challenge the power of the kingdom with such contempt?" Hill laughed mockingly. "Enough talk from old men and geezers. Everything the kingdom has is worth nothing against me now." Riyadh, shocked by the description. "Old man, I won't allow you to insult me. I'll show you the power of the kingdom's knights." Riyadh notices his forces are restrained and his anger increases. So Hill says, "Take care of yourself. No one will save you. And if you want to flee, the door is in front of you. As for your soldier's fate, I offered you justice, but you chose war." Defiantly, Riyadh replies, "We won't run away, and we won't forget what you did. You'll pay dearly." Hill suggested with a casual smile, "Let's settle this with a real duel. With a wager, you'll face my golden golem. If you win, you'll get your hostages and take them out safely. But if you're defeated, I'll keep you prisoner with your soldiers." Riyadh scoffed, laughing. "A stupid bet. A foolish golem against a kingdom knight. right, I'll smash it in seconds, Hill replied confidently. This arrogance of yours will cost you dearly. Remember, even after you defeat the golem, you won't get the saint. You'll face me after that. And Riyadh began charging all his aura, his hammer growing brighter, and Tana prepared for crushing. The confrontation began. Tilna with his magic sword meeting the attacks of Riyadh's legendary hammer. The auras of power clashed, and the collision created an explosion of energy, sending the wave back several meters around them. The knights behind the barrier, their eyes widening in shock. The golden golem is matching Duke Riyadh. This is unbelievable. What the is happening? Riyadh was thinking. I didn't expect to face a golem with this power. This is incredible. Creatures like these only exist in legends. Suddenly, Riyadh threw the hammer to the sky, then it descended in front of him and transformed into a terrifying black aura. Sounds of shock among the soldiers. It's the true form of the legendary hammer, the Demon Slayer's hammer. One of the 3 weapons. How is Duke Riyadh using it here? Hill was surprised and felt something dangerous for the first time. 3 weapons in the whole world. The strongest of them, these 3 weapons. And if they hit anything they erase it from existence instantly. Tilna is in danger. Even I would be destroyed in an instant if hit by it. Riyadh raises the black hammer and says to Hill, my use of this power is recognition of your ability and your golem. I've only used it facing the continent's champions. Now, prepare yourself. So Tilna avoided the attack quickly, but half the area turned to ruins from one strike. Hill shouted tensely, Tilna, retreat immediately. Don't go near that hammer. Riyadh laughed mockingly. The golden golem retreats from my hammer? Scared? You know its effect. Now one strike will crush you. Riyadh tried to pursue Tilna, and Tilna cleverly and quickly dodged him and stayed as far away as possible, but each strike left massive destruction around them. Then Hill commanded, no close combat, use only long-range attacks. Assassination mode, quickly. Tilna began appearing and disappearing around the battlefield, casting magic from afar and disappearing over the hill, and Riyadh followed him with his eyes expectantly, then threw the hammer toward him with magical force, but Tilna avoided it again and again. Riyadh, having reached the peak of battle, shouted, nothing will stop this hammer. Surrender, Hill, while Hill prepares to use new magic or a new trick, and all eyes are fixed on the end of the confrontation between the strongest knight against a supernatural golem, and surprises are about to happen. Hill stood before Riyadh steadily, determination in his eyes, and said, I entered the duel because you used a tool. This wasn't part of the agreement. You now guarantee victory by using a legendary weapon. With a sarcastic smile, Riyadh replied, it doesn't matter, I'll allow you to intervene. But anyway, I'll destroy your golem no matter what happens. Hill said with insistence, no, stop the duel immediately. The golem, even with its power, won't stand against your hammer. You brought out enormous power and all it can do now is keep you busy. I could have ended my golem with magic, but I don't want to destroy it in this situation. Riyadh laughed, saying, arrogant to the end. Fine. But Hill gestured in concession. I consider the golem defeated in the duel, and I'll fulfill my promise. These are your hostages. I'm releasing them as we agreed. Amazement in the eyes of Riyadh and his soldiers as Hill frees the priests and soldiers who were prisoners from the exploration force. Riyadh immediately shouted, take care of the wounded and injured quickly. Then Riyadh approaches Hill, asking him sharply, where is Priest Paul and the rest of the force? I bet you're holding them too. Hill replies coldly, hiding a sarcastic smile. Maybe I know where they are, but that wasn't part of our wagers. Riyadh's anger flared more, and he said, you're really a provocative person. I wish I could break your neck here. Hill laughed without fear and added, I thought I was generous when I returned your men, but you're still looking for a fight. Anyway, you can withdraw with your army, but remember, you'll return without victory, and you won't take the saint from me. Riyadh left while looking threateningly. This isn't the end. We'll return, and we'll reclaim what's rightfully ours, and you'll regret it in the end. Hill watched the forces as they withdrew from his borders, and deep thought overcame him. I'm in real trouble. Riyadh's hammer is a dangerous weakness for Tana and the golem. In a direct confrontation, it will remain the deciding factor no matter what I do. I need to find a counter method. Outside Hill's territorial borders, the kingdom's army camp. Count Leon was examining the injured soldiers and said to Riyadh, the forces don't suffer serious physical injuries, but their internal power has completely vanished, probably due to mana weakening magic. Their recovery will take at least a month, sir, Riyadh said with a frown. I've never faced an opponent this terrifying before. Hill's territory is like a demonic fortress. Leon answered, we must retreat and recover, or our forces will be annihilated. What shall we do, sir? Riyadh said in a determined tone. We retreat now, but the battle isn't over. The saint and the sanctuary will return to us soon, in the kingdom of Desik, one of the 5 great kingdoms. Controversy erupted in the Renhard temple due to shortages in Manti blood supplies. In Priest Henry's palace, he was receiving reports of events. Sir, Dable has reduced the incoming shipments of Manti blood. Magical potion production has declined terrifyingly. Henry, shocked. Impossible. Prepare the procession immediately. I must meet Dable face to face. Henry went to Nizar City to meet Dable personally. They sat at the table, and Dable served him fancy tea to calm down. Henry said after relaxing a bit, "But tell me, Dable, why are you reducing the Manti blood? If money's the problem, we'll raise the price. Our company is in danger with this crisis." Dable replied coldly, "It's not about money or anger at you, just temporary production problems. Haven't you noticed something strange in the continent's market?" Henry was puzzled and insisted, "What kind of production problems? We're partners and friends. Tell me the truth. We're in this together." Dable finally said, "Fine, but on the condition that no one knows about this or I'll cut off your supply permanently." Henry swore by all the temple's values to keep it secret. Dable whispered, "All the Manti blood that comes to you is from the monsters of Venta Valley. My friend is a seven-circle wizard who owns the tower there. To establish the tower, he hunted all the Manti monsters, captured them, and extracts their blood." Henry's eyes widened in shock. "A seven-circle wizard? And an unknown magic tower in Venta?" Dable continued, "He used to supply me regularly, but lately, he's had a crisis. The appearance of the Saint and his explosion into war with the kingdom has disrupted everything." Henry gasped. "The Saint? This means wars will increase and Manti blood will disappear. The future of our trade is in danger." Dable sighed. "I didn't expect what happened, but we have to be patient and wait for the crisis to end. Everything won't return quickly as you'd like." Henry started thinking nervously. The continent's future, medicine, and treatment, all of it could be destroyed if the crisis continues. What will I do now? Henry felt extremely worried after understanding the danger of the situation, and asked Dable, "The situation is very dangerous for all of us. Do you think we can do anything?" Dable answered calmly and confidently, "Don't worry, we've actually started thinking of a solution. No one expected the Saint to appear at this timing, or a powerful magic tower like Hill to intervene. But you've surely seen how the kingdom of Jaya can threaten all kingdoms, and if it issues an order, you'll find all the great kingdoms forced to enter war with it. This means total destruction across the entire continent." Henry asked with greater concern, "So our trade depends entirely on Manti blood. If the situation continues like this, our temple's potions and the entire temple's life will be destroyed. Do you have a suggestion, Dable?" Dable smiled. "Exactly, that's why I have an opinion. First thing you need to know is that my friend, the master of the magic tower, is actually very powerful, and even if the kingdom launches all its force against him, it will likely fail against his magic. The war will be long and difficult, but we can speed up Jaya Kingdom's defeat if we work correctly." Henry's eyes widened in surprise. "You mean we can actually stand against them? This is a very dangerous decision, are you sure?" Dable laughed. "Why are you afraid of Jaya? You're the one person on the continent who has influence almost like their temple. The 5 great temples are equal in power, and maybe even superior if you unite your ranks. The idea is simple. Cooperation of the other 4 temples together will easily surpass Jaya's temple." Henry kept thinking before saying in amazement, "Your words are accurate. If we all gather and coordinate together, we can isolate Jaya and stop their plans, but why haven't we cooperated like this before?" Dable replied, "Because no one needed to intervene strongly before. Now the danger threatens everyone, and if you unite against Jaya, all kingdoms will submit to your words. And to prove I'm serious, I'll give your temple 150,000 boxes of Manti blood over the next 3 months on the condition of cooperation and alliance." Henry couldn't believe his ears, his eyes sparkling with hope. "This is salvation for our temple, and our history agree, and I'll gather the high priests and send to our colleagues immediately." The events shifted after days to Jaya Temple itself, where High Priest Dare was in severe anger, holding an emergency meeting after receiving warning letters from the continent's 5 largest kingdoms. Dare, annoyed. "Warning letters from the 5 great kingdoms because of our search for the Saint. This kind of move has never happened in our history." Jaya priests in confusion. "What will we do, sir? All kingdoms are against us, plus temples and magic towers are withdrawing from the search, and our army is wounded and restricted," one of them said. "The Blue Tower officially withdrew from the search after the warning. Everyone's running away and their wizards are withdrawing. Something bigger than us is happening." A discussion ensued, and one of the high priests, Ardmiz, presented his viewpoint sharply. "Something dangerous is happening in secret. The kingdoms should have benefited thousands of gold from the Saint's return, and naturally they'd pressure and support us. I think the warnings aren't from the kings themselves, but from a more powerful group, probably the temples themselves controlling the king's decisions, and if they agreed against us, we'll be in real trouble." Dare was shocked. "This explains why the 4 temples backed down from cooperating with us. If the Saint's influence becomes ours alone, we'll erase their influence on the continent forever. Naturally, they're terrified and conspiring against us." Voices rose. "So, we'll face everyone alone? A continental war indeed," Dare replied firmly. "We need to prepare a plan and try to contact Duke Riyadh. Make sure of the latest developments. We won't surrender." At Riyadh's camp outside Hill province borders, he was unsuccessfully trying to treat his forces injured by Hill's deep magic. Riyadh asked Count Leon, "Did you send a message to the kingdom?" Leon with frustration. "We used carrier pigeons because we can't risk sending messengers amid the crisis. We haven't received a reply yet, and recovery needs a long time, and the knights hits and soldiers' strength is completely drained. Riyadh with calm defiance. We have no choice but to wait, but next time we'll be more prepared for Hill and his crushing tower. Suddenly, a pigeon lands with an urgent message amid the tension, so Count Leon rushes to take it and shouts with joy. Finally, a reply from the kingdom. As soon as Riyadh reads the message's content before his officers, a state of shock and amazement prevails. One of the knights whispers, trembling, "Impossible. The entire army, 200,000 fighting soldiers, to eliminate the wizard's tower and recover the saint." Riyadh looks toward the horizon with blazing eyes. So, the war will be the end of the old world. This is a battle of everything or nothing. At Hill in the wizard's tower, spy knights inform Hill of the news. "Sir, the kingdom has started mobilizing all its soldiers toward us, and the information is confirmed. All leaders and kingdoms heard news of the army's movement." Hill is shocked for moments. "My goodness, I thought they would withdraw temporarily. It's clear I underestimated their military drive and cunning." The knight warns him. "The knights are famous for their brutality, and if they start war, they'll turn our region into complete ruins. There must be a plan to face them, sir." Hill with Serena. Serena is in intermittent unconsciousness, fighting the mana transformations in her body, and Hill pats her hand. "Your power increases with each day, Serena. I fear that no matter how much I lock your power with the strongest magical traps, your energy doubles. I promise you, when you wake up the problem will be over, and I'll protect you whatever it costs." Then Hill meets Lena, who asks him worriedly, "Are you okay? Do you have a plan?" Hill smiles, reassuring her, "Don't worry, I'll find the solution. Protect Serena, and if anything new happens, contact me immediately." He embraces them reassuringly, then teleports using magic, heading directly to the capital of Jaya, Nyaya, and the main temple. Hill arrives at the capital for the first time, puts on his special magic glasses, so he discovers through their magical lens the deception of ancient light, and the main temple appears in its hidden reality. He approaches the guards. "I came for an important matter. Inform your leader of the necessity to meet me immediately, or else." The guards mobilize upon seeing the golem beside him as soon as Hill summons Tana, and the emergency state begins. And Hill orders Tana to drop the guards without killing them, and Tana, with the golem's extraordinary power, knocks them unconscious smoothly. Hill enters and is quickly surrounded by high priests with their wizards and trained units. Their leader shouts, "Arrest this scoundrel immediately!" But Hill and Tana together fight them skillfully. They throw light attacks and hammers, and Tana confronts and defeats them easily, and Hill warns not to inflict serious injuries on them. Hill surprises Duke Najim, who sneaked skillfully. "You're not an ordinary wizard. Who are you?" Hill replies, introducing himself for the first time before all of them. "My name is Hill, master of the magic tower, holder of the 7 circles. I'm the one holding the saint." Amazement sweeps over those present in the blue magic tower. Tower leader Rajil was monitoring everything happening through teleportation magic, so he issued his orders. "Everyone prepare. We'll immediately move to storm the capital and arrest the golem and its maker. I want to know how to manufacture that power." But suddenly a mysterious person appears stronger than everyone. He asks to go himself to meet Hill, and reveals himself as a 9-circle wizard, shocking Rajil, who immediately obeys him. We return to Jaya Temple. The final dialogue takes place between Rajil and Hill. "Did you come to assassinate the high priest?" "Maybe. I'll decide after meeting him. If he agrees to my talk, we'll spare you. Otherwise, everything will be destroyed." Rajil rushes with his followers with all their energy for the magical hammer attack, and Hill asks Tana to defend himself with force. And an amazing magical battle begins inside the temple hall, where walls collapse from energy attacks. The showdown is now at its peak. A 7-circle sorcerer with a legendary golem against the most powerful priests of the kingdom and some high-circle mages. What's coming could shake the history of magical powers forever. In moments when the confrontation reached its climax inside the temple of Gaia, anxiety hung over everyone. One of the leaders ordered all the present mages to focus their entire magical powers into his hammer, confidently assuring them, "We'll wipe them all out with one attack. Release all your powers." The mages gathered their energies and savagely attacked the golden golem Tana, creating a storm of magical forces. But despite all that, they couldn't penetrate the magical shield surrounding Tana, ending up defeated one after another. Tana stood afterward, ready to complete the attack, showing no signs of weakness, but rather seemed like the power made him more solid and steadfast. Najim stood shocked by the horror of what he saw, and said in a voice shaken by shock, "How can we deal with this monster? This is truly impossible." He rose with his soldiers and declared with determination, "We won't allow this stranger to do whatever he wants here. We'll sacrifice our lives for the high priest." Najim began performing sacrifice power rituals, preparing to direct them against Tana, but he suddenly stopped when High Priest Dare entered the scene. Everyone turned in amazement and bewilderment and asked him, "What brought you here at this time?" Hill also turned and said with a wicked smile, "So you've finally shown yourself, Dare." Dare approached him and asked sternly, "What are you doing here? You have no right to spread chaos in this place. Who are you, scoundrel? And are you the one who kidnapped the saint?" The priests' voices rose, demanding Hill show respect before their leader, but Dare shouted at them, "Enough. Let me me handle this." Then he turned to Hill and said firmly, "Yes, I'm the one who issued the order to hunt the saint." Hill stepped forward and spoke in a calm, powerful tone. "I am Hill, Lord of the Golden Tower, responsible for protecting the saint, and I've declared war on your temple in her defense." Dare's features changed, and he said in amazement, "You're the one who faced our forces? Do you realize what your actions will lead to? The saint is wanted by orders issued from the supreme ruler, and she's a symbol of the highest authority in our temple." Hill replied with confidence tinged with defiance, "I'm not interested in all those titles. I won't allow you to forcibly take my fiancée from me, as she never chose to have her energy converted to mana or to become your prisoner again. I won't allow this fate," Dare said in a decisive voice. "Retrieving the saint is unavoidable. It's the ruler's command, and we have no choice in refusing it." Hill replied defiantly, "Try then. I'm capable of destroying you all, and your power or positions won't stop me." Dare sighed and said as if he was certain the negotiations had ended, "It's clear there's no room for agreement today, but you made a mistake giving us a chance to talk with you instead of fighting. This will be your last chance. We won't give up the saint, and we won't allow you to disobey the ruler's orders. We'll face you with all the power we have until death." Then the voices of soldiers and priests rose, and everyone prepared for the final confrontation, chanting oaths and obedience to their leader. As for Hill, he looked at them with a gaze mixed between regret and defiance and said, "If this is your choice, I know I'll never regret defending my people. I won't show you mercy anymore." Hill pulled out from within himself a massive collection of golden arrows, then launched them in a swift strike toward the soldiers and priests, while they were stunned by this unprecedented scene. The arrows began hitting them with irresistible force, and many of them fell bloodied, overcome by amazement and terror. Najim retreated while saying in shock, "He's using 5 magical schools at once. What kind of power is this? We can never face him." Dare watched chaos and death hover around him, so he shouted, urging his followers to move quickly, and requested help from the kingdom's strongest knights. "Dodge the arrows at maximum speed. Summon the elite knights." Hill turned to him and asked mockingly, "What are you afraid of now? Didn't you tell your soldiers they were risking their lives? And why then, when I brought them death, did they start fleeing? I've decided without return your fate and your temple's fate." After these words, Hill summoned the golden arrow of blades mixed with lightning magic and sent it in a direct strike toward Dare, shouting, "Time to die." One of the knights rushed with all his might to receive the arrow instead of Dare, but the hammer he tried to block with shattered immediately, and the knight fell dead from the sheer horror of the blow. Terror seized the hearts of everyone in the hall, and their voices rose in shock. "What is this destructive power? We're in serious trouble," Hill said while feeling the weight of the exhausted magic he used. "This magic consumes a huge amount of my energy. I must finish this quickly and rest." Dare insisted on confrontation and said, "Do you think destroying us will end the hunt for the saint? Even if you burn our temple, the rest of the temples will never stop hunting her." Hill replied curtly, "I don't have time to argue with fools like you. The energies I'm using drain all my power. I must end this chaos now." With Dare's last scream, Hill issued his commands to Tana. "Bring out the golden eagle now. Time to end this battle. We'll show the world our true power." Tana answered powerfully. "Ready." For a moment, he shook the place with his spell and summoned a great golden bow, the second most weapon after the golden sword. The golden phoenix aura launched from the bow, sweeping the knights and priests wildly, so none of them could stand against it. Najim tried using his hammer to stop this magical hurricane, but he was easily defeated before the phoenix's legendary rage, and it continued on its way toward Dare. Dare gathered what remained of his powers and launched the greatest defense spell for resistance, and managed, barely, to stop the attack for some time. But Hill said to Tana in a firm voice, "Increase the attack's power. We must end these people's existence quickly." Tana responded immediately, and the golden phoenix's power was enhanced, so it began sweeping through defense lines mercilessly. Hill announced to those present with unmatched pride and confidence, "I'll destroy the entire temple of Gaia, and the whole kingdom if necessary, and I won't allow anyone to harm my family." Between the echo of destruction, falling of the dead, and screaming of the defeated, the writer concluded the 4th part and end of the 1st season at the height of the fierce battle, leaving everyone in confusion and shock. No date has been announced yet for the 2nd season, so we'll continue waiting for new developments, and we remind you, don't forget to support, like, and subscribe. Peace.